welcome back to another episode with Fight Night Picks. As always, we're brought to you by SimBody. Vertiball is now SimBody. If you head on over to their website, simbody.com, you're going to get all the great products that you know and love, including the SimBody Vertiroller and the Vertiball that you have seen most likely here in studio. Look at that. Place it, lock it, attach it, Vertiball, all sorts of great stuff over there if you want to roll out those old tired muscles and you don't want to go with that old lacrosse ball. They're also coming out with that very new product that you can see right in front of you. And if I head on over to my cart, look at that. I've already got a Vertiball over there. Little bit of a deal right there. And if you hit the try for 60 days risk-free, use the promo code FNP, you're going to get 20% off your order with that code FNP at simbody.com. You're really helping out another local company here in New Brunswick, Canada. Can't wait for it. The new name, SimBody at simbody.com. And as we always say, let's get into it.
Oh, big time right here. It's Michael Chandler.
Oh, they've both been hurt this time.
Oh my goodness. Already. Oh my gosh. Glover Teixeira is the light heavyweight champion of the world.
He's missing a lot, though. He is missing a lot.
Oh, he put him down. Dustin Warren beats Conor McGregor. The down. Has done it. He put down. Stephen A. Smith wants this fight. That's the best 155 pounder I've ever seen.
Holy Bear is going to get through.
Oh, he dropped Chandler. Oh, here's Michael Chandler. The first punch he's done. Oh, he gets him. Chandler's turning against the game. Oh my God, he dropped him. Oh, Chandler, look out. Oh my God. Oh, Charles Oliveira, your champion. Holy smokes. And just like that, we're back, we're set, we're live for UFC 273, headlined by the Korean Zombie, and he's taking on one tough out in Alexander Volkanovski. Already tonight, we've had some really fun fights. Co-main event of Sterling Yan. Fight of the night so far, probably Aspen Ladd, Raquel Pennington, but it has been a good one so far. And thank you so much for joining us. As we speak, Darian Weeks turning on the pressure on Ian Gary. It's the way to beat the man himself, and we're seeing that play out right now in front of us. But like I said, a big time card moving and shaking and happening forward. And thank you so much again for joining in. Derek all over that Mike Malott. We've got to send Mickey Gall over to AEW. And Phoenix saying that you'd really like to see Mike Malott and Kevin Holland. I think that one's just a tricky fight. But you never know.
Yeah, tricky one for Malott, let's be honest.
And I mean, even Kevin Holland got rickety rocked over there by Alex Oliveira before he was able to get the finish. Kyle OM hanging out. You hit up the super chat over with question mark kicks. And Matt, it has been quite the card so far.
It really has been. I can't believe Alexei Oleinik has 60 professional wins. Even he can't believe that he has 60 professional wins. Just a wild milestone that we don't often see get crossed in MMA. Like, MMA is not really a sport that really celebrates its landmarks because you're not really just tied to one organization, you know? So, like, they'll sort of celebrate, oh, this is their 18th UFC win. And for Oleinik, he has been sort of that underground king, but in the heavyweight division. He's bounced around promotions, divisions, weight classes. He's been all over the place and all over the world. So it's just nice to see him sort of get a little bit of recognition with them saying it's the 60th win, but just wild that old man is still able to get submission wins at the UFC level.
Absolute insanity, as you know, when it comes to some of those bigger fights. We're going to be flipping it on over to the regular fight companion view. I've got my Fight Night Picks baseball jersey on. I'm ready for the season. Eagles 1985 saying it's a good fight right now. But again, just a reminder, logo goes out of the middle. We have the 5-minute timer when we need it for those fights that are on that main card. We can pause it if there's a stoppage in the action. Get it going once more. But we'll flip it on back over because, yeah, Ian Gary, Darian Weeks, absolutely going at it. I mean, first round seemed to be a pretty darn good one for Darian Weeks, a guy coming out of Hewlett House. He's a Missouri guy. He's taking on Ian Gary, the pride of Ireland, or at least that's what he wants you to know. And he's representing Sanford MMA. And I really did look at this as we get a nice kind of step and jab there. Another nice one there from Ian Gary is the fact that he kind of, before his UFC debut, made that switch over to Sanford. We talked about a guy that's somewhat in close proximity to Ireland in Mason Jones making the move from Wales over to Team Alpha Male. We even saw Poppins make that Wales to Team Alpha Male transition as well. It's Corey McKenna. But when you do look at it in those big camp changes, sometimes they pay off in spades. Sometimes they take a little bit of time to mature. And for me and Gary, we haven't really seen a giant jump in his game just yet, but it could be too early to tell.
It definitely is too early to tell. And in this fight, I'm curious to see why or when he will go for an offensive takedown, because he's just been on the defensive a lot, especially in that first round. And it's hard to win a fight, even if you do successfully defend all your takedowns. Let's say you go 5 for 5 defensively with your takedowns. If you didn't really do anything in the in-betweens during the round, it is going to be really hard to win that round. And he has looked a lot better starting out this second round. Really nice active lead hand for Ian Gary. He hasn't really been able to set up any of his power shots since, but you're right. Normally a lot of times when guys go to Stanford MMA, they immediately add a body kick to their game, and they'll start becoming maybe not more wrestling heavy, but they'll at least employ a little bit more of the offensive takedown every now and then. And I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen that at all from Gary so far.
Yeah, Gary's starting to pour it on here, starting to get the hands moving, but it just doesn't seem like he's really committing to much. He's circling away, and now he's on the back foot again behind those black lines. So it really is a tough one for Ian Gary to really kind of pick up on the pressure of his opponents so far in his just 2 UFC fights. I mean, listen, Darian Weeks, I said it on Question Mark Kicks, and I was serious. Ian Gary was my least confident big favorite that was on this card, because Weeks, if there's anything that he's good at, offensive pressure, offensive takedown, and his boxing combinations. And so far from Weeks, that's what we've seen out of him. Now, when Ian Gary's been able to land those bigger shots, he gets quite a reaction out of Weeks, so we'll see how it plays out. But I mean, 2 minutes, 45 seconds remaining here in this second round. Gary looking to kind of turn the tide. And you talk about it too. I mean, for a guy in Ian Gary, upper body strength, judo black belt in his back pocket. Yeah, we haven't seen that offensive out of him so far. And even in the Jordan Williams fight, took him a little bit of time to get it going. Really did sustain a little bit of damage. But I mean, even like a guy like Mike Malott, 2 fights out of the UFC, a little bit of damage. Mickey Gall, bust up that nose. And then Mike Malott's able to really pull it all together. That
was a nice elbow there in the exit.
Nice elbow on the break. But Ian Gary in a good spot here in the middle of the cage.
And the thing for Gary, and this is something that people don't talk about enough, when you talk about somebody's reach, it's not that it's always a benefit to have a really long reach. It's just a fact what your reach is. And it can sometimes be a positive, it can sometimes be a negative. And if you don't know how to effectively use your own reach, it's not really a benefit if you have really long arms and your opponent is on the inside constantly, because you can't really create any separation to get some power on your shots. And for Gary, he doesn't really have any offensive tools to hurt Weeks once Weeks gets on the inside so far.
I mean, Ian Gary's most effective shot here so far, the 1-2, nice head kick there. But every time he goes in the reset, and I know the broadcast even mentioned it, like Gary loves to reset. When he resets, he gives up inches, and he gives up a lot of ground. And now all of a sudden having center of the cage, big 1-2, now all of a sudden he's behind that black line again.
And he's a tall guy too, and a lot of the time when he's defending, he is pulling back with his head straight up and his chin out, just because when you're tall, you do have that benefit. You are the rangier fighter, so when you can get your head out of the way, it can be a benefit, but also it's one of those bad habits, you know? It's a positive, don't get me wrong, but if you're always in the habit of pulling out of exchanges with your hands down, you're eventually going to get caught. Like, Luke Rockhold was way better than Michael Bisping, but Luke Rockhold had one really big hole in his game. And if you're a smart fighter and you are able to capitalize on a hole in someone's game, it doesn't really matter how skilled they are if they do have that one sort of Achilles heel.
About 50 seconds left. Darian Weeks kind of chasing here with Gary, and if the round ended right this second, Gary's probably come back to get it, but now Darian Weeks goes back in. Looks like he's got the lock. Is he going to be able to get the trip for the takedown?
But you see what I mean? Gary's almost punching past
Gives
Weeks.
his back.
He's trying to throw that straight right, but at the extension of his punch, it's almost like a foot behind Darian Weeks' head if he is able to slip to the left or the right, and that is creating a huge opportunity for Weeks to counter.
Yeah, you got about 20-odd seconds left in the round. Ian Gary gets out of a bad spot.
Hook,
nice left hand from Weeks. We've seen that. The elbow on the break, the left hook on the break. Darian Weeks definitely with that complete skill set so far tonight, and hasn't had that takedown defense tested whatsoever with about 10 seconds left.
And Gary is trying to set up his straight right quite a bit, but a lot of these shots are just glancing off the arm of Weeks. They're either hitting off the elbow and going low, or just going high to the left.
So 2 rounds in, I mean, by chance of saying Gary's missing a lot, and he is so far. So, I mean, if I'm scoring that, it's either 20-18 Weeks or it's 19-19 apiece. I mean, Ian Gary definitely had the better of the striking. For Darian Weeks, he had the one takedown that Gary was able to pop himself back up off. Sharif's hanging out saying, what's up, boys? What's up, Sharif? How's your night going so far? But yeah, I mean, for Ian Gary, I mean, looks to me like he drew back. But again, you could give Darian Weeks that round.
Yeah, exactly. It was a close fight, and it has been so far. Just really interesting to see, because Gary was such a big favorite going into this fight, and I didn't see a lot of public support for Darian Weeks. I don't know about you. So it's been nice to see Weeks put up such a competitive fight so far.
Niall McGrath throwing it out there on Twitter. Ian Gary needs to start flushing that jab more often, follow more combos. Very tentative and close opener, but the deadliner takes the second round. Niall McGrath would be the guy to know if the guy from Ireland's getting the round.
He definitely would be. And for Gary, he's loading up on that right hand, and when he's missing, he's just sort of pausing with it out in the open. And Weeks hasn't really been able to get his range just yet to be able to counter that all that effectively. He has been able to land a few good shots here on the in-betweens, like you had said, but in open space, neither guy's been able to land much of substance just yet.
So it seems like Twitter's split on this one because Sean Bitter's got a 2018 Gary, Jason Hagholm's got a 2018 Gary, so
all over.
I mean, maybe, again, for me, I missed it. Bloody Elbow saying feels like Judge is going to have a 2018 Gary. He's not landing much that's clean. To me, again, like I said, I thought Gary had the second. I thought Weeks had the first. Sharif saying, good man. I hope the boys are having a great night. Can't wait for the real fights. The real fights are big fights. Not much is true.
Ooh,
front kick for Gary.
Right hand, too.
That 1-2's lightning when it lands. It really is.
And when he is getting dedicated to that leg kick and when it is landing, it's having a big effect on Weeks.
Yeah, now he's starting to land a little bit more. Is the Irishman in the red corner, Ian Gary, as Weeks is starting to push forward. But trouble for Weeks when you talk about it, and it's a big talking point, especially with the higher level athletes, is always foot position. And here, Darian Weeks kind of chasing a little bit. Now, it has worked because we've seen Ian Gary give up so much distance on these.
Well, foot position's a little less important when they are in the same stance, but you're right. Weeks is having a hard time at least just getting on the inside and staying there and landing shots, but Gary has been able to land much of substance in open space, other than that one front kick landed or followed by the straight right.
Yeah, and then right there, I mean, Ian Gary goes for a kick with his back up against the mat. Darian Weeks goes for a takedown off it. He's unable to get it. Gary back open in center. And now he's hanging out by the monster logo. Bottoms up, and the devil laughs as Darian Weeks pushes the pace. Nice kick up the middle, too.
Good counter left hook there by Weeks. That was nice. Didn't really follow up with the right hand, but that was a good shot.
And Sharif brings up a great point in saying both solid prospects in this fight, though. Respect given both ways. It's a shame, really, when you look at it. I'm going to assume, and let's play this game. Let's say Darian Weeks loses this fight.
Ooh,
eats a head kick for his troubles. He's 0-2 in the UFC, but he lost to Brian Barberena and Ian Gary.
On like a day's notice, too, that Barberena fight.
Yeah.
But no, you're 100% right. Like, the context does matter. You can't just look at the 0-2 and think, wow, this guy's no good. But it would be really tough to see, okay, who do they match him up with next if he does go 0-2 against Gary and Barberena? Just because Barberena's not some world beater anymore. Like, he had a really close fight with Matt Brown not that long ago. Now, for Ian Gary, it has been interesting because this is one of those fights where you're right, both guys are sort of hyped up prospects, but is this really a fight that makes you reevaluate their ceiling or place them any higher? Personally, it doesn't for me.
It doesn't for me with Weeks, but it definitely brings it down again for Gary. I mean, we saw him in his first fight get chin checked by Jordan Williams, came back, big time knockout win. You love to see it. This one against Darian Weeks, I mean, you know, the Jack Grant win was a big one. He was a lightweight at welterweight, so it just, you don't see that clear-cut, like, Khamzat Chimaev-ness. Now, that's once in a lifetime.
He's
never,
not Wilt Chamberlain, eh?
No, you never get to see a prospect like that, but really interested to see the skill development out of both
That
of
was
these
a nice
guys.
uppercut there in the clinch.
Phoenix saying that Ian Gary was a minus 2,000 at the start of this round on Betway, just saying.
Wow.
That's something. I mean, again, start of the third round, Kay Hansen. Oh,
Big
Ian
right
Gary.
hand by Ian Gary. That one stumbled Darian Weeks.
Big right hand backing up, too. That's some big-time power there from Gary. But Rodriguez was a minus 1,400 at the start of the third round against Kay Hansen, where it was 1-1. So kind of crazy to see that.
That was a big shot by Gary. That's the biggest shot of the fight either way.
110%. Gary's still on the back foot, but now it looks like he's starting to gain a little bit of that confidence. You see the movement in the feet, backing in and out of range. Darian Weeks looking to clinch up here. Minute 25 remaining.
I'm curious what you guys in the chat think of Ian Gary and his ceiling overall. Like, do you guys think he will break into the top 15 one day? Do you think he is just sort of like a Paddy Pimblett level prospect? I'm curious where you guys evaluate him in the whole grand scheme of things.
100%. I mean, Paddy the Baddie's in an interesting spot for sure. I mean, Kazula Vargas definitely chin-checked him a little bit in that fight. But he was able to come back, get the W as well. Gary looking to gain control of that upper body. About a minute left.
Gary's been a lot better in this third round. Definitely built as the fight's gone on.
Water bottle, hanging out, having a good time. Big time fight. Less than a minute remains here for Ian Gary. Ian Gary.
And he's running away with this round, I would say. This has been the most clear-cut round of the whole fight.
Gary really doing a good job here. Now Darian Weeks just trying to cover some of that distance and gain some ground back. You get Ian Gary shimmying away out of distance. And listen, I gotta say this for the UFC's part. Really liking the graphics they've gone with.
I do like the new ones.
They're doing a great job. OMC saying, how bizarre, Paddy Power.
Do I think Jan can win inside the distance? I do. If you can TKO Jose Aldo, you can TKO pretty much anybody. And I know he's been TKO'd by like Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, and Petr Yan, but those are three pretty darn good fighters in my book. So I definitely do think he can win inside the distance. Jan's a monster.
Ian Gary playing peekaboo on the outside. He wants nothing from Darian Weeks. We have the end of the fight, Matt. So assuming, and again, let us know over there in the comment section how you scored that one. I got a 29-28 Ian Gary, but again, it seems like the internet probably will have a 30-27 Gary.
Ian Gary, Sean Brady. I think that's too big of a step up.
Phoenix, yeah. I mean, if we can really get to some of those questions over there. So, I mean, yeah, hitting on Phoenix. I mean, Sean Brady's a top-ranked guy right now. Just picked up a giant win in his last fight. I think Ian Gary, you got to have him on. And listen, some people might roll their eyes.
Chaos William Sharif is a pretty good idea.
Like, the AJ McKee roll at the start of his career over with Bellator. Just make it a slow roll. Ian Gary's still a young guy, still undefeated. You don't have to jump up into big names so far.
I don't think Chaos Williams is big. Like, that's why I think that'd be a good fight, though. Because with Williams, he has very clear strengths, but also very clear weaknesses. So I think that'd be a great test for someone like Ian Gary. Now, I understand when you're dealing with someone who has such volatile power like Williams, you might not want to put him in with someone like Gary, just in case he is able to spark him out, because he does have such incredible power. But I do think that's a winnable fight for Ian Gary, just because, again, with Williams, we know how good his knockout power is, but there's some weaknesses that come along with that style. Like, he's not the most active guy at all, and I think that'd be a fun fight for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very tricky one. Matt in the comments section by chance saying I'm not as high on Gary as most are. He misses a lot and wings on his punches. Bruce Buffer reading us the decision here.
I don't want him to fight Vicente Luque. That'd be like a bad matchup.
That'd be really bad. The winner by decision, Ian Gary?
And he is the funniest man alive. We do all have to remember that.
Did he say that?
No, he was like, I'm one of the top 3 talkers in UFC. I just, don't talk about it, be about it. I just don't get it. Chael Sonnen was never like, I'm the best talker in the UFC. He just told a lot of jokes and promoted his fights very well. And then other people gave him that label.
Richard Gagno asked us on Twitter, all right, I need your expert opinion. Surely one of those rounds is 10-8 for Fluffy. No, not so, say the judges. Love to hear your take. They're discouraged from doing a lot of 10-8s. I know I saw that here in the last couple of cards, but to me, the third round
rules though they're almost.
Listen, I understand, but in the commission meetings, like they've been kind of trying to discourage. So for me, again, I had the third round as a 10-8 for Hernandez, but I'd like to get your take on that one.
I gotta be honest, when it's one of those cases where a guy won every single round, I don't get too caught up in whether he won around 10-9, 10-8. Again, the third round, I would agree with you, was definitely the most one-sided of all of them. So if you wanted to give that one to him, it's almost one of those weird cases where you'd like to have, like, did he win by, like, 10 against 8.5? Because it definitely was on the borderline between the two.
Over in the comment section, Joe saying this is like 30-plus seconds delayed. Joe, so we can have a good, so it's all nice and the picture's good. There's going to be a bit of a delay. All you have to do, pause it, sync it, hang out, and then we're going to be tuning into that big time card coming up with Fight Night Picks Sidekick. So really, again, I mean, we're looking at a big card. We're looking at a pay-per-view card. This is a view that you're going to get out of us. You know what's going to happen. The logo's going to disappear from the middle. The timer's going to come up. Matt, when it comes time that there's a foul, if there's a foul, what happens?
We can pause the timer.
We can. Look at that. So if there's a nut shot, if there's a knee below the belt, whatever might happen, eye poke, you got it. And then we can start the action back up once more. Get rid of that. Toss that logo back in the middle. Very, very easy. Joe saying very lackluster performance there. Eric saying nice to see you guys streaming tonight. Kyle O.M. saying Semmelsberger would be fun. That's a great pick. Or again, we were trying to figure out, like, who do you match up Mickey Gall with next if he fights again in the UFC? And
who's an unranked guy in Bellator?
There's some names that are out there. Jimmy Underwood is saying Gary's no McGregor.
But this is my thing with Mickey Gall staying in the UFC. No matter who you match him up with next, they're probably still going to be one of those entry-level guys in the UFC. And I don't think you're doing Mickey Gall any favors like as Mickey Gall the fighter. I don't think he gets any better by just continuing to fight these sort of entry-level UFC fighters, and he might win one, might lose one, and we just keep on going on from here. Like, I honestly think it might be better for him to go to an LFA, go to a Bellator, like, actually develop your skills a little bit more, because that was the biggest problem. He had one fight on the regional scene, and then got signed to the UFC. Most of the time, like, Alex Pereira doesn't have very many MMA fights, but you understand the type of background that he has to get him the opportunities that he has in MMA and in the UFC. For Mickey Gall, he was like a one-and-done guy in college, but only on the regional scene, so I'd like him to almost take a step back to then hopefully take a step forward in the future.
Dimitar saying Conor versus Usman is the only fight that makes sense. Dimitar making jokes in the comment section.
Do you hate Conor McGregor?
Island Boy Tony saying, what's up, guys? Hope everyone's parlay hits. I hope so as well. And Sharif hanging out for the card. And Anthony saying, let's go mustache. So Matt, let's talk about the mustache. And we have some big fights. So what we do with Fight Night Picks question mark kicks, we give ourselves a little bit of time to recap the action that was. It seems like Mickey Gall got to hit reset on the career. Kay Hansen threw out an Instagram post. She will hit reset on the career. Incredibly poor performance after missing weight. And she had a good early start, and then it just wasn't there at the end. She was getting taken down. But, yeah, I mean, when we do look at this one, Vinc Pichel taking on Mark Madsen. And for Vinc Pichel, we've beleaguered the point at this point. 25% takedown defense in the UFC. It's always normally off of odd takedown angles or guys just coming up and pushing him like the wind. And then he falls, but then he gets himself out of some of those bad positions. He's able to out-wrestle. If you look at the two losses inside of the UFC's octagon, Rustam Khabibulov as well as Gregor Gillespie. And for Mark Madsen, since coming in against Danilo Beluardo, giant submission win, fights Austin Hubbard. He's able to pull out the win. And then his last time out, split decision in a co-main event of a fight night against the Carpenter, Clay Guida, a guy who used to play spoiler for people's title shots way back about 10 years ago. And now we're here. So Matt, Mark Madsen, Vinc Pichel. We know Mark Madsen, silver medalist in 2000 and what was it, 16? He was an Olympian. He got it done in Greco-Roman. But
I thought it was London.
Yeah, it was London.
So 2012.
No, it was 2016. 100% 2016. I'll go back and watch.
Okay.
But Matt, when we're focused on this fight, this is kind of an interesting matchup, I'd say. Although if you combine their ages, they're 76.
This thing with Mark Madsen, he's not going to get any better at the UFC level. Like, the fighter you're getting today is very similar to the fighter who came in at the UFC. The thing is, the level of competition really just has determined sort of how his performances have gone. Because when he has fought the lower level guys, he's been able to look really good. And the thing with Hubbard is, you might look at Austin Hubbard and think, wow, he's a better fighter than Clay Guida. But stylistically, I think we can all agree. Clay Guida is a tough matchup for Mark Madsen. He's a very active guy. He's very good with MMA wrestling. He might not be the traditional wrestler that Mark Madsen is, but it is different when you involve punches, kicks, clinch work that MMA does have. So, this fight, of course, comes down to how long can Madsen have success with his wrestling before he doesn't have any more success. And for Pichel, he's really interesting because I think he has good power on the feet, but he's not somebody who's really going to wow you with his shots. He's someone who will rely a little bit more on his combinations, and that's really the only thing that I think is going to hold him back a little bit. I think if he can damage Madsen a lot early, I think it will pay off later in the fight, and it'll help him sort of separate himself even more in the later second and third round. But I do think if Madsen is able to secure that first takedown, or at least if he can go 1 for 2 or 1 for 3, just get an early takedown and make Pichel hold his weight and be the active guy in the bottom, I do think it will even their cardio a little bit as the fight goes on and make it a much more winnable fight for Madsen later.
I think we're going to see that out of Madsen in this fight. Again, everybody would have assumed he would have done it against Clay Guida. He barely even went for one. He fought behind the jab. He ate some shots for his troubles. And King AJ throwing out the praise and saying this fight could have been on the prelims. At the start of last week when we taped the videos, this was supposed to be the second fight on the prelim. They popped it up to the pay-per-view. But when you look at the prelims, kind of made sense to me that they actually did move this one up. So I know it's not big names, but it's one of those ones that I'm really excited for on this card. I think it's really well matched. And King AJ saying we needed Calvin versus Duplessis. Okay, I do really hear you there. That much is true. Chris is hanging out over there saying, what's up, boys? Go ahead.
So I have a question for you. You've been on the Dricus Duplessis train. You've been saying how good he is, and you've been right so far. Is Kelvin Gastelum the guy you would like to see him sort of introduce to the top 15 against?
Honest to goodness, I would have picked Kelvin Gastelum, and I'll tell you why. It's because Kelvin is such a good wrestler. And Dricus Duplessis, when he just kind of stands there and he's waiting and he's static with his muscles all flexed out, he really is a liability to get taken down. It hasn't been a giant issue so far in his young 2-fight UFC career, but for me, I would have taken Gastelum in that fight, and I think that would have been a really, really... It's a big test, obviously. It's former title challenger. It's Kelvin Gastelum, for goodness sakes.
I mean, he hasn't been good in about 3 years, but...
But other than, other than the good performance that he turned in against Ian Heinisch, it really is tricky. So for me, I would have taken him there. But I was really looking forward to that fight. We'll move on to the next one, Max. Things are going to get rocking and rolling here shortly. We have Mackenzie Dern taking on Tecia Torres. And for Torres, the losing streak against 4 great fighters. The last one, probably future title challenger. I know Zhang Wei Li is going to be taking on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. We got Rose Namajunas dancing with Carla Esparza at the top. I would think Marina Rodriguez is next. But regardless of that, Torres has come back. She's won 3 fights in a row. Angela Hill. You've got Brianna Van Buren. There's a little bit of a gap there in terms of skill from Marina Rodriguez to where we're at now. But Tecia Torres really has looked good in those 3 performances. Sam Hughes obviously there as well. And for Mackenzie Dern, coming off of her second career loss against Marina Rodriguez. Obviously, Dern looked quite good in that fight.
And it was a really good fight.
It was a lot of fun. For a main event, you know what? The best part about it was, and this is what I'm going to say to hand it off to you, and I'm going to kind of play around with our graphics here for just a second. People will probably forget that fight a little bit because that fight was the question mark kicks where I had a tube sticking out of my hand. That was the Wasp Sting episode, and I watched Mackenzie Dern.
About you, Craig.
I watched Mackenzie Dern against Marina Rodriguez in an emergency room, waiting room. So that was a lot of fun. I did enjoy that fight, but continue.
It was a really good fight. And again, it was sort of one of those ones where you go, really? That's going to be a 5-round fight? But it paid off, and it was a great performance for both ladies. And it was one of those fights that you don't really lose a lot of stock in Mackenzie Dern because she lost to Marina Rodriguez. Like, she did really good in the grappling early on in the fight, and then once Marina Rodriguez was able to really use her range, use her distance management, and put her strikes together, she was able to pull apart late. But we all know how good Marina Rodriguez is. So for her to be able to pull apart or pull away at the end of a fight, we don't really mind that. Like, that's a really good sign, if anything. So I think for Dern, there are still a lot of positives in her career. I would just love to see her wrestle a little bit more and not have to pull guards so often. Because for Dern, she's one of those fighters who relies on her opponent making mistakes. She's in the old Paul Craig category. Of course, Paul Craig is the face of this category. But for Dern, it'll be interesting because Tecia Torres is just so well-rounded. There's not a single weakness in her game. She's a good wrestler, grappler, she's a good striker. With Dern, she's one of these fighters who she sort of lays on the extreme. She's like Chris Davis. She has good stand-up, insane jiu-jitsu, I would say poor defensive striking, and weak wrestling. So she has very clear strengths and weaknesses, and that's why this fight is so interesting.
It should be a good one. And I mean, really, you're talking about these ones, and if we have a look at Fight Night Picks, threw it up there. 266 total votes for Dern, 247 for Torres. That's roughly 52% for Mackenzie Dern in this one. We move into a fight that, Matt, the fans don't have it as close. The odds makers don't have it as close. 82% of the fans going with Khamzat Chimaev over on the Instagrams. And this is one of those fights, I mean, I'm excited for it because we finally get to see a super tough test for Khamzat Chimaev. Now listen, in his time away, when he had the issues with long COVID, it seemed like Chimaev was going to take on Leon Edwards, and that would have been a hell of a fight. But here we are, a little bit later. Chimaev has to take on Li Jingliang, who's, listen, he's cage side. He's got the microphone in ear. I was going to say in hand, so it's got to be a little bit awkward for Li Jingliang. Like, there has to be a couple awkward chuckles on commercial break, which there are not on a pay-per-view.
It was great.
But, Matt, Khamzat Chimaev, Gilbert Burns, I mean, such a great fight. I really am looking forward to this one.
It's going to be a phenomenal fight. Most people are more looking forward to this fight than either title fights at the top of the card. Like, that's how exciting this third fight is. And it will be interesting. Like, we've never seen Khamzat Chimaev face any adversity in the UFC at all. And I don't even mean, like, he's been taken down one time and immediately got back up.
One time.
And it wasn't even, like, that clean. You know what I mean? So it's not like we've seen him get dropped and then get up. So he's in a category of his own right now of, oh, I'm pretty good at everything and I've yet to show you any weakness. But the great thing about Gilbert Burns is that when we kind of talk about Mackenzie Dern and how she lives on the extremes, Gilbert Burns is like that, but he's a lot more colored in, you know? Like, he has the other well-roundedness game that will be interesting to see. This is what I'm curious about. Do you think we'll see Gilbert Burns try an offensive takedown on Khamzat Chimaev? Now, I don't think he can out-wrestle Chimaev. Let me get that out of the way right now. But I wonder if we will see Burns at least try to test him in that capacity, because that's the thing. For Chimaev, he just runs across the cage and takes everyone else down. I'll be curious to see if Gilbert tries to switch it around on him.
Yeah, I think Burns is going to go for a takedown in this fight. Again, it might seem a little bit crazy. Over in the comments section, we've got Philip Casillo hanging out the Robs. Rob Lawrence, Rob G as well. Fearless Red 25 saying, let's go. Cammy Slice saying, thoughts on the Canadian brother. Michael Malot's brother, who plays for the Manitoba Moose, is probably amped AF for his brother's knockout win. Mike Malott trying to go out there, put himself on the line, talking about a cancer patient. The Florida crowd boos at the start. They cheer at the end because Florida.
They don't get it.
They don't get it. They're the type to, they had the old USA chant going. You love it. But OMC saying Burns got a weight advantage.
I don't know about that.
I'd love to see him on the scale. But again, I found it interesting. Kay Hansen weighed quite a bit more. I say quite a bit more in terms of the overall scope of things. Then Pierre Rodriguez. Rodriguez steps into the cage weighing more on fight night.
I'm curious how much Chimaev weighs in at. Because I remember one time, because when California, they were trying to cut down on really strict weight cutting. And when Gegard Mousasi fought Rory McDonald, Douglas Lima, I forget who he fought on that card, but they had released their weigh-ins for like the weigh-in day, but also what they weighed in on fight day. And Douglas Lima weighed in at like 203 pounds. Like, he had gained 30 pounds in a day. It was a number that made zero sense to me whatsoever. Chimaev's the only other guy that I can think of who's in that category to where, like, I wonder if he does pass the threshold of, like, 195 on fight day, because he genuinely is as big of a welterweight as I think you can be.
Sterling taking on Jan. I don't believe we have a lot of time before Pichel, who's taking on Mark Madsen, but Aljamain Sterling, Piotr Jan, another great title fight. I know both of us going with Piotr Jan, there was a little bit of confusion because I said both of us going with Aljamain Sterling, click, but we were talking Jan, we were talking Sterling. Both of us on Jan here. I'm at just the last one before we really start to break down that Pichel fight against Madsen. We have Volkanovski, we have Chan Sung Jung. Volkanovski's line went from a minus 330 at open, this was back in like January, to now ballooning. He was about a minus 700 favorite tonight.
Minus 330 I could agree with. I don't agree with minus 700. And maybe you can talk me out of it. Like, maybe you really do think Volkanovski's going to blow the doors off him. But in my mind, when you think of, like, a minus 700 favorite, he better look darn good and finish the fight in the first 3 rounds. Be dominant for the whole entire fight. Like, when you're dealing with somebody who's that big of a favorite to win their fight, I don't expect their opposition to have much success whatsoever. I don't think that's going to be the case with Zombie.
Wow.
He always makes it a tough fight no matter who you are.
And I mean, that was really the trouble for me with Ian Gary. Like, I didn't see it. And yeah, he was able to get the win. It was a close fight. But Matt, first fight on this card. This was originally scheduled for UFC 271. They loved it so much that they moved it. They loved it so much that it went from second prelim to kicking off the main card of the pay-per-view. So you're tossing out $64.99 Canadian, or the new price in the States, $74.99 American to pay for Vinc Pichel and Mark Madsen. And the one thing that I will say about this fight, and as much as I didn't like the booing of Mike Malott in the post-fight interview, I will give the Florida crowd this. They showed up early in the prelims for these fights, so give Jacksonville a little bit of credit. A lot of country music fans in Jacksonville.
Could you imagine if people thought it was cool to, like, not go to an NBA game for the first quarter and just, like, show up midway through the second and be like, I'll watch it now?
I will say
baseball
fans do it too. Like, they'll show up, like, halfway through the first or halfway through the second.
19 hours long, though, so it's forgivable. You know, it takes a long time.
Fights. The fights are just as long.
I get it, but if you're going to spend that money to be a UFC fan that doesn't come to your city all that often, because for a baseball game, they play 81 games in the city that they're at. For UFC, it's a traveling circus. They're all over the place. So you would think you'd want to go and watch all the fights while they're
2016 Olympian. He was able to get it done. Silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling in Rio, Brazil was 2016. But Mark Madsen, the craziest part about that is the conversation around Madsen, who's a younger guy than Vinc Pichel, is the fact that if he's going to get it done, he's got to get it done right now. You see Santino DeFranco in the corner, Eddie Shaw there as well. You're going to see that representation of the fight ready in one half of your main event's corner. That is the Korean Zombies corner, and a lot of fighters making the move down to the Phoenix region to get things done. But Matt, for Mark Madsen, craziest part about it, really factor that in. 6 years ago, he won the Olympics. He was into his 30s winning Olympic medals in wrestling. And sometimes wrestling, we see it. It's a young man's sport. But for Mark Madsen, able to get it done at that age. So when we look at this one, Voodoo is saying, my friend who got me into MMA only watched the main card. LOL. I get annoyed if I even miss one fight. Voodoo, way back when, we're talking like 2016, 17. I used to fall asleep
I'd
for
have
a
a
couple
nap.
of prelims. I'd have a nap, just get myself amped right back up. Rob G saying, Burns, I agree on that underdog pick. Rob Lawrence is saying, here comes Mads. And listen, Mads Burnell doing the damn thing over with Bellator. Bellator actually on Fight Matrix has a higher card rating than the UFC's card. And Ryzen also has a very highly ranked card as well. I know Johnny Case is up near the top of that one. But Mark Madsen, we're talking about the guy here. You talk about that Olympic level wrestling for sure. Didn't lean on that crutch though in his last fight, and that was a little bit of a surprise.
But it was nice to see, because he did finally show us that other part to his game, because we only knew him as the wrestler up until the Clay Guida fight. And again, when you're going in there and you expect someone to wrestle Clay Guida, they're probably just going to get really tired early on in the fight, and then Clay Guida is going to be just moving around real quick for 2 rounds, and he's probably going to get them on the judges' scorecard. So I kind of like the performance out of Madsen. It was a close fight, don't get me wrong, it was extremely close. I did believe Madsen was able to do just enough to squeak out the win, but it'll be curious to see. Do you think he'll strike for a matter of minutes, or do you think it will be another one of these just boom, go for the takedown?
I think if Mark Madsen wants to win this fight, you gotta tucker out Vinc Pichel, which is a hard thing to do. Like, Vinc Pichel, even as old as he is right now, he's not shop-worn because he doesn't fight very often. That's a big thing about him. He's got cracking power on the hands, and he throws these odd, I don't even know if you call them hooks, but they're just long, and he just gets a little bit on that pop at the end of his shots. You saw him kind of really start to wobble Austin Hubbard in their fight, even early in that one. He's got great kicks, too. Now, it's a positive, and it's a negative. The negative is he throws a lot of body kicks when he's at distance, but the negative is if you're a halfway wrestler, you catch him, you drop him. He takes a little bit of time on those resets. They're giving you the stat. 8th highest takedown accuracy for UFC lightweight history. I mean, I had him as 6th. That was before any fights have taken place. But
could you imagine he goes out there and tries to offensively wrestle Mark Madsen?
That's what I was going to go with, Matt. That's honestly my point. So Vinc Pichel talked about it, expects Madsen to wrestle, and then his cardio to be kind of an advantage where the fight goes near the end of it. I can see Vinc Pichel getting takedowns in the 3rd round of this fight.
I don't think that's going to happen. This is why. For Vinc Pichel, the rate might look good, the percentage, but just technically, it's going to be really hard for him to get Madsen down. Because A, Madsen is a Olympic gold medalist, but also, he's the much smaller guy, which really Silver. He's the smaller guy and is the lower center of gravity. So I do think it's going to be tough for Pichel to A, dig underhooks and get underneath of Madsen. Because I do think if Pichel's going to score any offensive takedowns, he's going to have to use the clinch a little bit, either offensively with his strikes to then set up his own takedowns, or just try to position Madsen, try to burn out his arms with that. So I think he can have success in the clinch. I'll meet you halfway with that, but I don't think he's going to be able to score a takedown on Madsen, just because I don't think anybody south of like Gregor Gillespie is going to be able to have a good time taking Mark Madsen down.
It's going to be a heck of a fight nonetheless. Lightweight action, really tough to tell where these guys are in terms of the division, but having this on a pay-per-view and with Mark Madsen, they're kind of giving him a little bit of a promotional push. He did, in his last fight, have his Khabib versus Ally Quinta fight, so we'll see how he pairs up in this one. 37 against a 39-year-old in Vinc Pichel. The height, the reach, it goes the way of Pichel. Reach being created equal. Matt, I will say this before we start. As the people know, we have the timer, the ability for the timer. We also have the ability to pause the action. Maybe you have to skip forward. Probably not. But the other thing here, there will be a delay between us and the show that you guys are watching as well. So keep that in mind. No spoilers in the comments, and just try and pair up and sync up with us as we get set for the first fight on the pay-per-view card. Again, at lightweight, Vinc Pichel, 7-2. Sneaky little run in the UFC. And for Mark Madsen, 3-0. Vinc Pichel, one of the best mustaches you will find in the game. Can you think of one better?
Dan Severn back in the day.
Still Dan Severn.
Keep it there. Can you think of any like modern day UFC stashes? I can't.
One that's better, Don Fry. I mean, that's...
But I mean, modern day, though.
Ledge. Modern day, there aren't a ton of mustaches. No. If Cowboy had one, maybe.
But he doesn't.
He's had one, I guess, before. It really is tough to say. Let us know your proper mustaches.
Give us your top 5.
Phillips saying that Volkov won.
He certainly didn't.
Yeah, no, he did not. Yeah, that, like, Alexander Volkov, I mean, Tom Aspinall, leveling up.
So, my best friend moved to Wales, and he's a teacher there, and he thought he'd be able to get tickets to UFC London, because he didn't get it, but, like, if you're not on the website immediately, they all get sold. So he thought like
dice.
Yeah, he thought like 3 hours later he'd be able to get tickets to the O2, and then he texted me, he's like, they're getting resold for $700. I'm like, yeah, you dummy. So he wasn't able to see Volkov Hospital, but
It's like trying to get Metallica tickets. You thought you'd be listening to one in front of a crowd, but here you are, sitting at home on the couch. Eddie Wineland. Yeah, that one's
good call. Yeah, he did have a really nice one, or he has had one lately.
Lucas letting us know who's got the best mustache in the game as we get set for the first round of this lightweight action between Vinc Pichel and Mark Madsen. Sometimes they go Marco Madsen, sometimes they go Madsen, but he is the man. And
Dan Hardy always said, "Oh, Madsen," and it really got MMA Twitter upset.
One big-time fight here, lightweight. You got tricky long stance there for Madsen, who gets that lead leg chickadee chopped down by Pichel, and he returns with a light kick of his own. You love to see it.
Rapping there.
No.
It really will be interesting, again, to see when Madsen does go for a takedown, because I don't think it's a matter of if. I do think it is when, but he has had more success as of late with his stand-up, but I really don't think he's going to be able to go out there and beat Pichel for 15 minutes on the feet.
We've got Debbie over in the chat. Much appreciated, Debbie. Cool Banana Boy, Eddie Wineland Stash, and Phoenix saying, smash that like button. Let's go. Vinc Pichel looking to get those arms moving. He's got to shake him out because he's also 39.
He is. An old man. That's the wild thing. You always think Madsen's going to be the older guy going into every matchup, but like you said going into this, like Pichel is the older guy by a couple of years.
And when you watch Pichel strike, kind of one of those things, you look at it, gritty veteran, so on and so forth. He's blasting those kicks out there, and so is
though, too.
Madsen. A good job there. But Vinc Pichel's one of those guys, not a lot of time on his resets, and he can reset and switch his stance at the same time to keep it fluid. So
is he like a leveled down version of Sean Strickland?
No,
a little bit.
Sean Strickland's got the takedown defense.
Well, it's a level down version, but like their stand-up is a little bit similar. They're not flashy, but they are extremely effective with how they strike.
Yeah, and you look at Mark Madsen, I mean, striking a little bit like Alexei Oleinik did earlier tonight, just kind of throwing those hands out there.
The leg kicks have been nice for Madsen, though.
Love the leg kicks, so yeah.
They've been landing for both guys, too. Not much defense from either guy for the leg kick, but it does seem that Madsen's are landing a little bit harder.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that moves. I mean, Pichel's already switched stances a couple times, just trying to throw a different look. Not uncommon for a Pichel fight, but he really is throwing nice straight shots, crisp down the middle, really going for that body kick, so it doesn't seem like that's a big sticking point that he's worried about.
Pichel's got a bit of that tie leg going on that left leg. Like, he is bringing it up a little bit, so I do think those leg kicks are affecting him quite a bit.
Mark Madsen, waiting, watching, thinking, loving. 2 minutes 55 seconds remain in this one. TMI's couch saying, I smashed it with a punch. And Trench is saying, I've got Vince.
Big leg kick.
100. Another leg kick there from Madsen. Pichel turns out of the way. Nice leg kick from Vinc Pichel.
Both guys are just spamming circle in UFC 4.
Another nice leg kick there from Vinc Pichel.
Just no tomorrow.
This is one of those fights that you'd see on Fight Circus. Forget the takedowns. We're only throwing leg kicks. First guy to go down loses.
I don't know how they get away with what they do.
Love myself, John Nutt's Fight Circus.
It is a fun show.
Pichel, admiring his work, having a good time.
Seems to be talking a little bit.
Vinc Pichel. 2 minutes and 10 seconds remain in the first round.
And I'm surprised we haven't seen a takedown attempt up until this point from Madsen. Again, I know he didn't go for many against Clay Guida, but still, it's just such a fundamental part of his game that you'd assume he'd implement it by now.
Nice leg kick there from Madsen. Eats one for his troubles, and that landed clean for Pichel. Madsen looking to clinch, eats a knee for his troubles. Madsen rushes forward. Good shots from
left hook
Madsen.
by Madsen. That was a big clean hook.
Good shot by Madsen there. Now we're into a fight. Mark Madsen is tossing his right hand out there like there's no tomorrow.
Mark Madsen, I hope he doesn't just become a striker now, because I do think that would affect his ceiling overall.
Another nice leg kick from Pichel. Nice leg kick from Madsen.
Just back and forth.
Trading and going and moving and weaving and bobbing, and here we go. You got Vinc Pichel pushing the pace, and Madsen able to get his own takedown there. So now he's working from side control on top of Pichel, and that was knife through hot butter.
And I'm glad you brought up that he landed in side control, though. Those are the great takedowns. When you can avoid somebody's guard as you take them down, you're basically completing half the amount of work that you want to for your takedowns.
Now, Pichel able to get out of that spot, and it looks like you have a submission attempt here from Madsen. Pichel looking to try and get out of this spot.
Got him sprawled out now.
Madsen grabbing a front stroke. Pichel able to get out of it. And now Pichel in on his own attempt. Nice knee up the middle. So really for Madsen's takedown, unable to get a whole lot going. But again, the big moment in the round, it's been Madsen's right hand.
It definitely has been. That was a really nice shot that he landed a little bit earlier. And the difference, too, is you saw how fast Madsen was to fight those underhooks, or the hooks of Pichel. He got them off immediately and created some separation.
Yeah, we've had a pretty competitive first round here so far. About 30 seconds left. You never know what way the tide could turn. Madsen tossing
nice
that right hand out
Madsen.
there.
That one landed clean.
Vinc Pichel, I didn't train for this.
Really good fight, though, so far. Entertaining one.
12 seconds remain. Pichel looking to land strong. Finish this one out on the right note. Good kick to the body. 5 seconds remain. Madsen hanging out. 2 seconds left. Hanging out. Big right hand there from Pichel. Everything's legal when Folsom's the ref.
I think Madsen was able to squeak out that round, though.
Yeah, it's a really, really close one. We'll get those total numbers so you can see them up there on screen. Really close in terms of the overall strikes. You saw the takedown from Madsen. Pichel able to get out of that one fairly quickly. But, I mean, as you take a drink, comment section saying VT 10-9 for Madsen. John is saying thank you, guys. Andrew's saying good job, fellas. And Dallas is saying zombie with the KO upset.
He could. That's the thing. I will say this, and I've been a big believer in the Korean Zombie's going to do better than most people think. I don't think he can win a decision, though. Put it that way. Like, if he does win, I do think it's probably going to be inside the distance.
Matt, 212 tuning in so far. This could be a very successful Fight Night Pick Sidekick. Toss a like, tell a friend, let
I'm glad
them know
you guys are having fun watching.
that we're hanging out. Cartel saying Weeks got robbed. I don't know about that one.
I don't either. He
I
got
don't know about
rocked
that one.
bad in the third.
That much is true. We get set for our second round. I'm going to say 10-9 Madsen as well. Very, very close round, though. It could have swayed either way. Maybe we'll get to see one of those live lines. They've been kind of all over the place here recently. We get set for round number 2. So here we go. As Mike Goldberg used to say. I miss him. He's doing those Diamond BYB bare knuckle fights now.
Not for me, I gotta be honest. I'm not a big bare knuckle guy.
All right,
I enjoy boxing, but...
About 20 seconds into this one, Cool Banana Boy saying Madsen will get stronger each round. A little bit of an eye poke. Are we going to have a stoppage in play? No, Folsom lets them play on.
Pichel, good sport about it.
30 seconds in. Pichel playing around on the outside.
Switches stances quite a bit, too, on the outside. Good right hand by Madsen down the middle.
Who would have thought? All you need is a jab, a heavy right hand, and some takedowns.
Wow.
Bread, meat, butter.
I mean, Chad Mendez went very, very far with those things.
In bare knuckle boxing as well.
Exactly. He's good at cross-combat sports. The timeless Chad Mendez.
All right, Matt. 4:05 left in this second round. Both guys really feeling it out. And listen, we haven't really seen either guy establish distance. They just kind of meet in the middle. Nice leg kick there from Madsen. Nice right hand from Pichel.
And neither guy's been very good defensively. I feel like that's something that does need to get brought up. Because you had said before the episode, and I couldn't agree more. With Madsen, he's a little bit older. He does have a bigger name coming into the UFC. It's not like just some stranger off the street.
Madsen just walked into a right hand from Pichel.
I'm curious to see who and if they do give Madsen a top 15 guy next. Like, do they try to do that fast build? Because so far he hasn't given me much confidence to think he can go up there and really take on those top tier guys at 155.
I mean, he's got a heck of a fight in front of him right now. Nice left hand lands for Madsen, but I mean, he eats 2 or 3 shots for his troubles. Pichel's starting to turn it up a little bit here in this round.
Again, both guys are landing really clean shots. Not much for defense from either guy.
No. Vinc Pichel's hands down by his side, moves out of the way of the kick there from Madsen, able to clip it a little bit. Madsen just dedicated to the old orthodox. We don't need to train southpaw for this. Eats a leg kick.
Wow.
1-2 attempt there from Madsen. Underhook from Madsen. Unable to get anything going.
Pichel's doing a lot better at range, though. You can tell when he is the one being able to set up his jab and then set up his power shots, he's doing a lot better. It's just with Pichel, the power shots are never really as powerful as you think they are, but they are starting to accumulate as this round goes on.
Yeah, that much is true. I mean, 2 minutes 40 seconds remaining here in the round. Madsen's really employing a pretty good jab here. We saw that in the Guida fight, too. He was really able to just pop it out there.
He's doing a good job ducking under the shots of Pichel, too. That's how he's been able to capitalize with both of his takedowns so far. Hasn't been able to get a lot of control time, but it's just a really good job timing his takedowns because cardio was such a big talking point for both of us going into this fight, and that's a great way to reserve some of his cardio. You don't need to go 1 for 13 on your takedown attempts if you just have really good timing off your opponent's strikes. Like, Madsen hasn't really had to expend a lot of his energy in his wrestling.
Yeah, and we've seen it here. I mean, Pichel just on an errant throw. And we saw that in his previous fights as well. He'll get a little crazy with those looping shots and has no defense for some of those takedowns. As Madsen just really trying to look to get that upper body in place. He's able to keep Pichel out of a bad spot. Pichel looking to get that whizzer, not able to get it. Now he rolls. He's going to go for a leg. I don't think he's going to get it. He's too low. Madsen trying to shimmy ya, and shimmy yay out of there. And he's almost in a Phil DeFries Narcoon-esque spot where we could get the copper tone short pull.
Well, I think we're getting it right here, actually. I forget what I was going to say. Here's the thing about Madsen. He has been able to really implement his wrestling a little bit better, but again, I'm curious to see if this type of a tactic would work against someone in the top 15, because at 155, like, we talk about 135, 45, and 55 as really being like la creme de la creme in MMA, so to really crack into the top 15, you've got to be extremely impressive and go out there and really state your case and make a really big statement win. So for Madsen, I feel like he's almost got to get a finish, and then the UFC will reward him with that opportunity.
Yeah, CDF's waiting there in the wings. He needs a fight. Pichel back up to his feet. 55 seconds left. Really close round so far.
It has been.
Really close fight. Pichel looking to pressure forward. Both guys just trading fire with fire, and eventually somebody gets burned.
Wow.
40 seconds left. Pichel pushing the pace. Ooh, uppercut there for Pichel. Now he's starting to land. Mark Madsen on the defensive. Pichel going for a takedown.
I'm not sure if that's the right idea.
Pichel, knees touching the floor. Will he be able to finish up on this one? 23 seconds remain. They call him from hell. He gets the takedown.
Yeah, he screwed up against the fence. That was nice by Pichel.
Vince Pichel, crabbing him. Just crabbing him, but not Boston crabbing him.
What?
Looking to get in there. He just secures the takedown, less than 10 seconds remaining. Mark Madsen in the worst spot he's been in so far in this fight. Vince Pichel, time elapses. So we'll have a look at the numbers, Matt, after that round and see if they paint a story. In terms of total strikes, Madsen was up 19-18 after the first round. They're 39-29. He was able to get a takedown himself in that round. Wasn't able to do much with it. Pichel able to get out of it and earn his own takedown. What are we saying over there in the comments section? How do you guys score this one, Matt? Matt, how do you score this one?
I said, okay, I gave my scorecard first in the first one. Who do you have that round for?
I had the first one as a 10-9 for Madsen. The second one, I got that one for Pichel.
So I thought Madsen was winning the round until the last minute of it, but I do agree with you. I thought Madsen won the first round 10-9, but I thought Pichel won the second round. But again, I do think this fight's really close going into the third round. It's either guy's fight so far.
VT saying 1-1. Fix it again. Tony saying, yeah, 1-1. Joe saying Vince takes round 2. And Nordebeck saying something I don't know. So, something I don't know in a language I don't speak, Matt. C'est difficile quand tu le parles pas. And we get set for our third and final round at lightweight action between a couple of guys digging at the cusp of one.
Fix it again, Tony's living in the future.
Fix it again, Tony. Living in the future. Madsen 2-1. Matt, Vince Pichel throwing the kitchen sink at Mark Madsen.
Clear game plan for Pichel coming into this round. Put a lot of pressure on Madsen. I think that landed the chest.
Jump knee from Pichel. Looks like it landed the body. And we even saw, Vince Pichel landed a couple of good shots at a Madsen who returns fire with a good right hand of his own, where Pichel landed and Madsen kind of did a little skip to my Lou with the footwork there.
I think that was more just the force of the knee more than anything.
Vince Pichel turning it on, going for another takedown attempt here. Madsen's back up against the fence. Single leg from Pichel. Is he going to be able to get it? It's tricky. It's tight. E. Spencer Kite saying 1919. Mike Heck, friend of the show, saying 1919 as well. Grueling battle. Ooh, big right hand for Pichel. Madsen going for a single leg. One would think he'll get this takedown attempt, but we'll see what Vince Pichel can do as he fights the hands. He might be able to get out of this one.
Really active fight, though, especially starting out this third round, and that's what Pichel needs. He wants this fight to be at a higher pace because that's going to give him a much better chance of winning.
Vince Pichel turning up the heat in the oven. Kyle Kelly saying, we are Canadian. That much is true.
Do you think Vince Pichel and The Undertaker know each other?
Takedown from Mark Madsen.
From hell.
Vince Pichel grabs. Madsen gets it.
Good takedown by Madsen. And again, he needs more control time on top, though, because he has been able to secure a few takedowns up until this point, but he hasn't done anything with them. So he really does need to sort of prove to the judges that he's been able to do something with these takedowns.
And Vince Pichel brushing Madsen's teeth with his forearm. You got Pichel trying to fight the hands. He might try and get out of the back door on this one. Looks like a half guard situation for Madsen. Now you got guard from Pichel. He's going to go triangle.
Throws up a triangle. Does not get it, though.
Now he's in just an awkward spot. Side control on top for Mark Madsen. He's trying to land some shots here.
But this is a tough position to be in if you're Vinc Pichel. Like we saw early in the first round, in the second round, he was able to get out of some of these
Kimura
spots.
attempt Pichel, but nothing.
12, 13 minutes into a fight, it is tough to have a guy who stood on an Olympic podium to be grappling on top of you.
Madsen hanging out here in half guard. Pichel playing from bottom. Sinks up his full guard, and he's landing some shots from the bottom on Madsen.
That was a nice triangle attempt, though, from Pichel off the back. I thought that was a really nice thing, just to get the respect of Madsen.
It's going to be a really, really tricky one. Joe saying, I don't know how people wish for someone to get knocked out. I don't ever wish for somebody to get knocked out. Incognito hanging in with the commentary here.
It's like you never want to see someone get put on a poster in the NBA, but when it happens, you're not like, oh, you're normally pretty excited. I would say that's similar.
Pichel continues to land from bottom position. Mark Madsen looking to improve his position.
Got past guard. That was nice by him. Because that was the problem. He was never able to get past guard. It was either secure the takedown past his full guard, or I'm just kind of stuck here. So that was good progression from Madsen.
You know wrestlers, they love the old head and arm chokes, and maybe he's able to get something going here.
Just a lot steadier, that half guard, you know?
Looking like he's trying to sync something up. 155 left. Pichel trying to get out.
Pichel's going to get back up to his feet, though. He can't expect the judges to give him this round, just throwing up strikes off his back. If he does want to win this third round, he's going to have to get something going on his feet again.
Fearless Red saying 29-28 Madsen. Fearless Red also living in the future. Elbow strike there from Pichel. Mark Madsen hanging on. Just hanging
He's
on.
landed a few good shots on top. I wouldn't diminish them.
Pichel looking to try and sync up an arm lock here. Making Madsen.
I don't think I'll have the space.
Pichel still got a grip on that left arm of Madsen.
I'm kind of curious that we're seeing Pichel waste his energy going for submission attempts, though, because earlier on in the fight, he was having success just going for traditional get-ups. Even though Madsen is a really good wrestler, the fact that Pichel was having success with those early, I'm kind of surprised he's gone away from them late.
This is going to be a really, really weird one to try and score because Madsen's had a lot of control time in this round. Starting to land a couple right hands here. 53 seconds left in the round. Pichel looking to just push himself out of the way.
Easily the easiest round to score, though.
Vinc Pichel looking to do it. Looking to get up against the cage. Can he get up? 40 seconds remain. Mark Madsen looking to just apply some of that top pressure. Pichel getting back. Madsen riding the back. Less than 30 seconds remain. Will we get that one big get up out of the fighter representing Factory X? Doesn't look like we're going to get to see it.
That was a good mat return from Madsen. Because it did seem like Pichel was starting to build a little bit there, but that was a good job by Madsen. Sort of diminish his momentum.
Granby roll from Pichel. Looking to throw something up at the end.
Madsen able to get out of that heel hook attempt.
Pichel looking to do anything here with 10 seconds left. Madsen just trying to keep that front choke. 3 seconds remain. Pichel back up to his feet. And that's the end of the fight. So, Matt, we'll have a look at, again, those total numbers. Pichel on top in terms of the overall strikes. She had a lot of control time, though, for Madsen in that third round. VT saying, I'd say 2-1 Madsen. If it stays this way, I hope. And Debbie Elder saying, nice VT. You won that one. So, a lot of people saying 2-1 for Madsen. Michael Johnson saying 2-1 Madsen. If we have a look at Fight Night Picks, Matt, for the total votes, 57% of the fans had Madsen to get the win. 293 votes, 220 going in favor of the Danish fighter. And again, we talked about that earlier on in this one. You look at, that top 15 at 155. A lot of fighters that are inactive there at lightweight, especially that are ranked.
Isn't that the weird thing about that weight division? You have a bunch of fighters who, they're not only good, but they do have sort of big names. They don't really fight all that often because they're normally placed in that sort of main event, co-main event, pay-per-view, fight night sort of position, and those don't come around all that often. So you're right, the top 15 of 155 is quite a bit more inactive than some other divisions, but it's interesting. Listen, I think Madsen won that fight. I thought he won round 1 and 3. I thought Pichel won round 2. But for Madsen, he didn't do anything in this fight that makes me think, wow, he can go out there and beat somebody in the top 15. Even at the lower end of the top 15, we talk about someone like Carlos Diego Ferreira, Gregor Gillespie, just names like that. Like, those are tough fights for anybody. So I do think there's a big gap at 155 between people on the outside looking in of the rankings and the people in the rankings.
That much is true. We get Bruce Butt for his final call on this one. You expect Mark Madsen to get the win, one would think. Let's see what we get. Referee Folsom in charge of his hands. Mark Madsen, your winner by decision. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where they move Madsen moving forward. Because, again, seems like a little bit of a push. There was a 30-27 in there. So there's that. And picked got it total punishment. John, I don't know what you're saying there. Madsen would lose to a top 15 guy. And, yeah, lots of question marks over the scores there.
I would agree, but I do think you have to give him a top 15 opponent at this stage. Like, he's undefeated in the UFC up until this point. I know he's had some close fights, but still, wins are wins. And he is a little bit older, and he has made it clear that he does want to try to climb up as fast as he can to make as most of his prime as humanly possible. So I would like to see the UFC reward him. Whether I think he can win it or not doesn't really matter. It's just, does he deserve a chance to fight someone in the top 15? Personally, I do think he deserves that opportunity.
Yeah, I do as well, and we'll bring it up. We'll talk about that top 15 moving forward. But that was one of those fights where decision win over Vinc Pichel, where does it really put him in terms of everything? And if we have a look at this division and we really try and break it down, you definitely want to talk about the people that already have fights booked. And at lightweight, again, it can seem like it's a little bit of a log jam. You look at this fight before, Tapology's got Mr. Mark Madsen as the top 27th top lightweight in the world, but we know he's closer to the UFC's top 15 than you would think. Let's even take 15 to 10. You got CDF, Brad Riddell, Dan Hooker, Mateusz Gamrot, Arman Tsarukyan, and Fiziev. Kind of surprised that Dan Hooker's still ranked
Probably
in that
drop
division.
him out, maybe put Madsen at number 15?
No, but maybe. I mean, Gamrot's already booked with Tsarukyan. Fiziev,
that was a fast no to then almost agree with me.
Fiziev is in a spot where you would anticipate as they show who I think is Max Crosby there. Now we have Andre
I know who
Arlovski,
that
but
man is.
it's not going to be Fiziev, it's not Tsarukyan, it's not Gamrot. You get Dan Hooker, probably not ranked anymore. Brad Riddell, CDF. Maybe a Brad Riddell fight who likes to implement his offensive wrestling. I know that might sound strange
And they're
to
kind
some
of polar
people.
opposites.
That could be the fight that they want to make it. Eric's saying get Jimmy Smith in there too. There's Jimmy Smith talk.
But my whole point, though, about Madsen getting an opportunity in the top 15 is it doesn't matter if you think he can win or not. It's just no one in the UFC. How many fighters do we see? This grinds my gears more than anything. And I know a lot of other people out there share this. When a fighter says, they go, who do you want next? And they go, I'll fight whoever the UFC puts in front of me. I don't care about that fighter in the future. Like,
I'll take the pay the UFC gives me.
Yeah, well, no, it's just, especially with opponent though, because that is your future. It's not like we have a clear schedule as to who these people are going to be matched up with in the future. So when you just put it up to the UFC, they're probably just going to keep you sort of middling on the prelims, and then okay, once you've developed a little bit of a stage or a presence in social media, then we'll start getting you bigger opportunities. That's kind of how it works, guys.
To me, when I'm looking at it from Madsen, though, like, if I'm talking about matchmaking, I think Grant Dawson would be a pretty good fight.
I think it would be a good fight, but the problem is, I do think Madsen at least deserves someone with the number next to their name. Again, I don't know if he'd be able to beat them, but I just think he's at least deserved that opportunity. I gotta be honest, I think Grant Dawson's kind of a bad matchup for him, even though he is outside the top 15.
That's why I picked him.
But that is my whole point. I just think at this point, even if you think he's going to be like a plus 350, he's made it clear that, okay, I do want to try to get into the rankings. I'm trying to make the most of my 30s while I'm still in them. Let's move me up the rankings a little bit. We're looking at Tapology right now. I was just going to say, a Moicano, even a Bobby Green, those are two guys who, to me, it doesn't really matter about their wins or losses. You just kind of know what you're going to get day in and day out. Arman Tsarukyan's way too high up on the list.
And I mean, Dawson is already matched up with a really, really tricky out. If I go to it, Grant Dawson's going to be taking on Jared Gordon. And again, you've already got Tsarukyan who's taking on Mateusz Gamrot, so you really do look at it. Ismagulov, the last time he fought against Rafael Alves, he really kind of tailed off at the end of that fight, and he really didn't look all that great. Kind of compared to the guy that we knew anyway, but he was coming off a really long layoff.
I guess Joel Alvarez is outside the rankings, and he's had too many weight issues too. It's just the good problem, as the UFC announces they're going to the Air Canada Center, perhaps? Oh, no. Oh, they're inducting the Korean Superboy and Cub Swanson into the Hall of Fame, I think.
Yeah.
Nice, that's cool. I really like that. Maybe not.
Take a time out there. Take a breather. But, yeah, I mean, Cub Swanson... Looks like there's a little bit of a promo for him. And, yeah, the Korean Superboy. So, yeah, maybe there is a possibility that they're going that way. But they're showing Jose Aldo out there a little bit as well. And that fight was a heck of a fight. And, I mean, if you look at it for Duho Choi, I mean, the guy's career kind of hasn't been the same since that fight.
That's what I mean. Like, in baseball, if you have, like, 3 bad games, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, yeah, your stats might be affected a little bit, but in MMA, if you have, like, 3 Korean Superboy-type fights in a row, they do affect you and your longevity in the sport, and I do think he is sort of that case, to where you have crazy fights, we love you for those crazy fights. Well, there is a give and a take to this.
Igor is saying Mark Madsen, Pimblett, would it be a good fight? It'd probably be a good fight. They never book it. They would never book it.
I think that's a favorable one for Pimblett, though, a little bit,
Yeah.
just because of his jiu-jitsu off his back. Because that's the thing people forget about Pimblett. His jiu-jitsu is very, very legit.
Matthew Moore, is this card held up to your expectations so far? There's a lot of fights that I liked on this card.
Coming into it, I kind of realized how to me, the top 3 are as good as any top 3 in a pay-per-view that you could possibly do. But throughout the card, listen, in cards like these, there are always going to be a few that surprise. Like, we were talking before, do we still have Raquel Pennington Aspen Ladd fight of the night?
Yeah, I do.
I would agree with that 100%. And I don't think either one of us expected that coming into this. So there's always some of those diamonds in the rough that you always get out of nowhere. So
Well, and the other thing for me, I mean, I look at this pay-per-view card, 2 title fights, Burn Shemaev, those are great, and they're exciting, and you can get behind them. And then I look at next week. Next week's not that great. There's a lot of poor matchups on there. Like, there's a lot of odd ones, too. I mean, they're putting Jakar Close in there against Brandon Jenkins. Like,
here's the thing, though. I know we were texting a little bit about that fight before. It's wild that it's been 2 years since Jakar Close has fought, isn't it?
It has been 2 years, like, almost to the day since Jakar Close fought. He was due Jeremy Stevens, and then there was the push and the concussion and all the issues after that. Igor saying Pichel and Leonardo Santos, I'd be fine. But, yeah, I mean, for me, next weekend's card, like, I'll get up for it. I'll get excited. But there's a lot of matchups where it's a lot. There's so many fighters that are on the down spell on that card fighting for the jobs. That's the only way that it pays off in the end.
Doing the graphics up today, we do like the wins and loss in their last fight. There were a lot of L's that I was putting today. Like a lot of them.
Jesse Ronson beat Nicholas Dalby up a weight class. It was a huge surprise. And then they're like, okay, here's Rafa Garcia. Get excited for that at 155. And Jesse Ronson's been away due to USADA suspension for almost 2 years.
Since we do have a bit of a gap between the fights, could you pull up what the odds are for the main event next weekend? Because I am curious. I haven't looked up what they are yet, and I'm genuinely excited for the main event next weekend. I know a lot of people probably just think Luke A is going to destroy Bilal Muhammad like he did in their first fight, but I think the Bilal Muhammad that beat Wonderboy Thompson is like as good as anybody at the welterweight division.
And you guys that are tuning into the Fight Night Picks Sidekick, you guys are the real ones. We know this. You guys know this. So I will say this. Bellator, McKee, Patricio in the rematch. Corey Anderson Nemkov for the title at the end of the tournament. Aaron Pico, JBC is out.
Called it, Craig. You told me to take
a replacement. You've got Linton Vassell, Timothy Johnson, the ACA champ, making a short notice. I'm not taking that fight over there. Now I'm fighting with Bellator fight. Timothy Johnson's been on a damn roll over there, so I'm excited for that. Timothy Johnson. Tony Johnson's the Johnson I'm talking about, taking on Dovlet Sanyag Shmuradov, so I'm excited for that one. D. Edwards against Pico, that's the fight. The Gaston Boilanos, he gets an extra fight. Raheem Cleveland, Tyrell Fortune, I could go on and on and on. Bellator's card is great. UFC Fight Night, Vicente Luque only.
I like where those odds
a minus 170 over Bilal Muhammad. You've also got fights like Devin Clark, William Knight, Jordan Levitt, Trey Ogden.
Favorite of the channel, Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos.
Elizeu taking on Munir Lazez.
Few fighters I get more excited to watch than that man.
Yeah,
like a smaller Thiago Santos.
There's some fights, but I mean, you really look at it. Wuyanan, Maeda Buena Silva, loser goes home. TJ Laramie's been off forever after he lost to Derek Minner. So they give him another grappler, and Pat Sabatini not doing him any favors. Tony Laramie, he's a young guy. Maybe one day he gets to the UFC.
Sabatini versus Tucker would have been a lot of fun. That was a fight I was really looking forward to, and I'm really upset we were never able to get it. I know it was one of those fights, too, that it got canceled. You were hoping they'd reschedule it, and the UFC actually did, which they rarely do when you get 2 unranked guys. Like, if a fight falls out, they'll just sort of put it to the wayside. But they did reschedule that, and then it fell out again, unfortunately. But I thought Tucker versus Sabatini would have been a really fun fight.
And when you look at that fight, like the William Knight fight where he's taking on Devin Clark, I assume Devin Clark wrestles, and William Knight either knocks him out or lays on his back.
Here's the thing. Is William Knight the strongest man alive? Have you seen the video? He bench pressed 495
I talk
pounds.
about that every
But, like,
single William Knight video.
I know, and I know we talk about it,
There's
but, like,
zero training footage on his Instagram. It's
saying.
all strength and conditioning.
Do you know how hard that is to wrap my brain around? Just like, William Knight, no matter what it is, can lay on his back and just push it in the air.
And Halfthorne knocked out Eddie Hall.
Exactly. It's just, William Knight is a physical specimen. Like, I couldn't imagine getting hit by William Knight if he's that strong in the gym.
Getting hit by a hard lifting man, Matt. We have Mackenzie.
Luque is scary, Joe. And that's the thing about Luque. Like, even with William Knight. Like, you look at William Knight and you think, okay, that guy's probably great at MMA and has a ton of knockout wins. You look at Vicente Luque, you probably don't really think that. He's not really built like some professional athlete. But if you grapple with him, he can choke you unconscious. And if you strike with him for any period of time, he has genuine knockout power. And not only both hands, but in his feet, in his knees, in his elbows. Like, Luque, I really do put him on like a short list of the best pure finishers in MMA.
Igor asking, do you like to watch Bibiano Fernandez fights? He's my countryman from Brazil. I love watching Bibiano Fernandez fights because he trains in BC. He's trained there forever, and his last fight definitely didn't go his way. But John Lineker, bad guy.
John Lineker's insane.
Man's hot right now.
He is.
Nate Schmidt, Leafs 3, Habs 2. What's up? Hey, Schmidt. It's a
Matthews had 2
reset.
goals.
Maybe you get big time top 3 draft pick, and then we just move forward after a big time fairy tale Stanley Cup run last year.
I was reading a thing though, and it is unfortunate. They weren't hyping up this draft too much in the NHL. Like, I do like the Habs
Shane
too,
Wright is the hotness who's going number 1
Yeah, but I've
overall.
read a bunch of things that they were like, he's probably like a point per game. I thought you want somebody like a little bit higher than that first overall.
Usually first overall draft picks in most sports, it is hit or miss. I was looking at it yesterday, I want to say. The Yankees had in 1992 a
What does
number
that
1
have to do
overall
with
pick
anything I just said?
who never even made it to the majors. He
But
was one
baseball-
of 2 who never made it to the majors. There's Brian Bullington out there as well.
There's also 900 rounds in the baseball draft, so a lot of people who get drafted don't make it.
But still, Matt, we get set for pound fitness zone. Raquel Pennington up near the corner. Jag-sighted Jessica Aguilar for Tisha Torres. Matt, Tisha Torres, very well-rounded skill set. One of the first ones on the scale as well. Consummate professional.
And not a big fighter for this weight class, but just physically she does fit in quite well. She's not someone who you look at and you think she's too small, could fight at atom weight, because she is physically strong. Like, Tisha Torres' arms are bigger than mine and Craig's put together right now as she's getting the Vaseline put on her face. Like, Tisha Torres really is a physical specimen at this weight class, and that's why I do think it's going to be really hard for Mackenzie Dern to get her back down to the mat and use her wrestling in this fight, because a lot of what Dern does is reliant on her own physicality and her strength, because technically her wrestling isn't that good. She's not someone like a Mark Madsen who can just immediately go to all these different wrestling tricks in his back pocket. So when you're fighting someone who is very naturally strong themselves, I think it's going to be a lot harder to use those tricks to then take your opponent down.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun fight, and we're going to learn a lot regardless here. I mean, you've got Tisha Torres, who's been on this tidy little 3-fight win streak after a 4-fight losing streak. And for some fighters, I mean, that could just completely derail a career. That could completely ruin it. We know how good that level of competition was. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Zhang Wei Li, Marina Rodriguez, just some of those names. But this is going to be a really, really good one. And VT saying, dude, Raquel's still there with a broken hand. She fought with a broken hand and won the fight. How wild was that?
Raquel Pennington's about this life. Like,
and the craziest part was, you rank 7th, you come in on short notice, you beat number 4, and then you want to fight Sarah McMahon as a title eliminator who's ranked 8th. So, wildness there at 135.
it really is. I'm excited for this fight, though. I really am. I've been really high on Dern since she has come back from her pregnancy. I know she didn't look good in her initial fight against Amanda Hebos, but to me, I thought she just came back a little bit too early, because people forget, like, she had just had her daughter, like, only a few months before. So when you really think about it, like, you're not giving your body that much time to really train and then get back into kind of professional athlete mode. But you can tell with Mackenzie Dern, like, she really has dialed in, especially in this later stage of her career, because she does physically look way different than she did when she first started with the UFC.
And in Mackenzie Dern's corner, a guy who loves to hold the pads on video, a guy who loves to go douche 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 douche. It is Jason Perillo, coach of the Stars at the invite-only Ruka Sport. You got a guy from Ruka Sport competing next weekend. That is Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia representing Ruka Sport, but he's also been training at Onyx, getting ready with Justin Gaethje, so an interesting mix for Garcia out of Mexico. Matt, out of the United States, parents by way of Brazil. You have Mackenzie Dern. And listen, for Dern, she definitely will snatch up those submission victories. We've seen that in the past. We saw it in her last fight, some adversity, a loss on her record against Marina Rodriguez. But it was one of those performances. She had her Brian Ortega moment against Alexander Volkanovski. The choke was tight. Rodriguez didn't give up, and she was able to get the win. But Matt, again, Dern looking to right the ship. And if I think of her singular best performance in the UFC's Octagon, I would say probably, and you might laugh, and you might say, well, of course, it was against Hannah Cifers. And that much is just fact. It is fact. It's a fight that happened, and that's the one. So,
I don't know if that's her best win. She beat Vina Jandiroba.
In a very close decision.
No, you gotta stop, Craig. Every time it's a close fight, you can't just say the person who lost could have won.
The old Tisha Torres, Mackenzie Dern floating moving graphic. This stuff is real. They've made it happen. As you know, out there, we're going to be able to offer you up that timer, so you're going to want to sync up with us at the start of this fight. And we've got a zombie over there.
I wonder, people know this, big basketball fan. So I was listening to Kevin Durant's podcast, and Katie was talking about how, other players have, reached out to him, just asked for, free agency, stuff like that. And he talked about Tisha Torres and her losing streak, and I was thinking about Andrei Arlovski in the crowd. Do you ever think Tisha Torres would think to, ask Andrei Arlovski what it feels like to rebound from a losing streak? Because that'd be one of the first people I'd try to reach out to and, just sort of pick their brain and ask them what they went through.
Like Marcin Tybura when he went on his 4-fight losing streak?
Well, I just think for Arlovski's just a good example, I think, because he was a world champion who then traveled the world, won some and lost some, came back, had a lot of success when he initially come back, fought a title eliminator against Stipe, and then lost 4 or 5 fights in a row, but then has sort of reinvented himself as of late. I wonder if people have ever gone out of their way to be like, hey, got any advice for me? Because I feel like that's a resource that MMA fighters could use.
We'll see what happens, and maybe that's a question we can ask her if we get the opportunity to interview her. I think that'd be...
You rolled your eyes pretty hard when I brought it up.
That'd be a good one. I highly doubt she's ever talked to Andrei Arlovski.
No. I just asked as a hypothetical, do you think it would ever be beneficial?
We've got a 4 a.m. going strong on GMT. Local time, it's midnight. After midnight, we're going to let it all hang out. Big song. You know what? One thing, never been a big Eric Clapton fan. Wesley Santos with the hair. Looking like Carlito over there in the old WWE days. He had some great hair. Carlito's way. Eating that apple. What was his brother's name? Primo?
I don't remember.
Primo and Carlito over there in WWE. Matt, we get set for Tisha Torres, Mackenzie Dern. Every fight starts striking, and I make mistakes with my words. Mackenzie Dern is swinging for the fences like Alejandro Kirk with the Blue Jays.
And for Dern, I do wonder if and when she goes for her own takedown, because at this stage, she is more than happy to strike on the feet, but someone like Torres, she's really been sitting down a lot more on her shots as of late. Even go back to the Sam Hughes fight and see, she got her out of there pretty quick, because they were damaging shots. They were just her pitter-pattering on the back foot.
Mackenzie Dern trying to crash in there, and she is working at a frenetic pace, and Tisha Torres keeping a very, very low base, doing a great job pumping that right hand out there to get some of those counters in, because Dern, we haven't seen her go this quick in a fight.
No, we really haven't. But again, maybe she knows she has that 25-minute experience under her belt, so she's not as concerned with the 15 minutes in this fight.
SC Shoop saying, weird night watching F1 and UFC at the same time.
I finished the first episode of the F1 show on Netflix. It's pretty good.
Where did Jean Girard come from? Formula 1. As we have a minute so far into the strawweight contest, and my, like a matador, Tisha Torres with the Olay and out of the way of Mackenzie
Holly
Dern.
Holm, Ronda Rousey. Classic moment.
And it will be interesting to see. Dern's gone for a couple of takedown attempts at distance. We'll see if she's going to be able to crash in there and get one. Nice right hand lands for Torres, and she's back out of the way once more.
Yeah, just in and out like an absolute magician.
Dern trying to lock up the upper body. Torres with her own lock, trying to get herself away from that cage.
But unless you're like a Kayla Harrison level judoka, it's going to be really hard to get some kind of a takedown from the upper body, especially against someone like Tisha Torres, who's so experienced and so good with her own MMA wrestling.
Matt, glad you could hit up the super chat or the regular chat and saying, just woke up, let's go. John saying, it's on. Big John would say, let's get it on.
He would. A legend in the sport.
Legend, some would say. 3 minutes into this fight, Tisha Torres pressing the action up against Mackenzie Dern in the clinch. Will Dern pull guard out of this?
That's what I'm wondering, because I doubt Torres goes for a takedown. I think she's just trying to figure out how to get out of this clinch right now. But with Dern, like you said, she's done it in the past, so I'm sure she's thinking about it right now.
Great head position from Torres. Lands a nice shot on the break, and it's Dern really trying to make things happen. About halfway through the first round, Torres playing chess behind that black line. Dern really blitzing into some of these exchanges. Good body work there from Torres.
I feel like both these fighters are really in danger of getting hurt by headbutts right now, because they are really leading a lot with their heads.
Yeah, and this...
Something to watch out for.
I mean, realistically, Torres has been able to defend out of the takedown attempts from Dern. But when it comes to the striking, as Torres... Ooh, that's a tricky... That might have hurt Mackenzie Dern's knee. There was a straight kick right into that knee. It was almost an oblique kick. Now Dern's really trying to shake it. Ooh, another one lands for Tor.
But I think her lower leg is light enough to where she's not playing it and it's putting all the force on her knee. Like, I do think she's been able to sort of roll with it a little bit.
Dern really trying to get in there, make things happen. Dern squaring up a little bit. Tecia Torres continuing to land. But again, apart from those kicks, the striking's been relatively close. I'd like to see the numbers for Mackenzie Dern because a lot of them have just been shots to try and close the distance and winging out there.
And everything for Dern is so wide. She either misses really big or lands really big. Like, she should just watch Marvin Vettori to figure out how to strike into range because she's just crashing forward constantly.
But a minute 23 left. Dern really giving it her all. You have to wonder how the judges equate all of that, too. What landed, what didn't. It's tough to see when you're around that cage.
Exactly. There's just been a lot of movement and a lot of strikes thrown for both fighters.
1:15 remains. Mackenzie Dern continuing to push the pace. Nice leg kick there from Torres. Nice shot under the top garment there for Torres to Dern. To the ribs. Another nice one to the ribs.
That was a nice shot by Dern, though, going up top.
Yeah, Dern's doing a really good job now. Starting to straighten out some of those punches, and they're starting to land.
Exactly. They do seem to be landing a lot more accurately at this stage of the round than they were earlier.
Less than a minute remains here between Torres and Dern. Ooh, that kick there from Torres. Ooh, big
good right hand by Dern. That was a really nice shot.
About 40 seconds remain here, Torres and Dern. We get those numbers. Torres way ahead and at a much higher percentage than Dern. A lot of forward movement. Good right hand there from... Another nice right hand by Dern.
She's landed a few big shots here in the last minute.
Ooh, these kicks are really bugging Dern here from Torres.
Yeah, Dern cannot get her distance.
Another nice kick there from Torres. Less than 20 seconds remain.
Dern might have done enough to win the round, though, with those clean shots at the end.
That's the thing. Another nice one there, but Torres completely out of the way. 10 seconds remain.
I have no idea who won this round.
Yeah, I mean, Debbie's saying solid round from the females. Another nice kick there from Torres. She's taking a book out of a page out of the playbook of Manon Fiorot. That was a frenetic pace. And we have a look at the total strike numbers. Torres ahead. The good right hands that landed there from Dern. I agree with you. Like, sometimes rounds aren't that hard to judge. That's a tough round to judge.
Because I felt like Torres was ahead by ever so slightly there going into the last minute. But I do feel like Dern landed those few hard shots, and those were the hardest shots of the round. Like, Torres did a lot of busy work, but there were no signature moments that really stand out in your mind from that round. Whereas Dern at least had two, I would say, sort of over-the-top significant strikes that would set her aside from just sort of the pitter-patter work of Torres.
You're going to show some of those right hands there from Dern. Another nice right hand from Dern. I'm going to say 10-9 for Torres, but that's a tough one.
I'll say turn to be different, but...
Yeah, Jonathan's saying Dern 10-9, but that's a really, really tough round to score.
And I'm surprised Dern hasn't gone for more takedowns off the kicks of Torres, because she's gone for takedowns, but she hasn't timed them well at all. And that really has been the weakness in her game. Like, it's so strange how there's a lot of fighters that do sort of fall into this category of, my jiu-jitsu's great, but my wrestling isn't, so we never really get to see the part of my game that is my strength.
Left hand lands for Dern, but she is unable to connect with the right. Looking to push that pace and start quick. She eats a left hand for her trouble. Rather, it was a right, but Torres really did connect clean on that one.
The thing about Torres, though, is her feet are never really planted when she is throwing strikes, so it really is hard to gauge just how hard they're landing.
Nice attempt at a kick there from Dern, and off of that, it's countered by Torres. You talk about heads going together. They went together there. Sean Sheehan with a 10-9 Dern.
Is she Brian Ortega or is she Mackenzie Dern?
Mackenzie Dern trying to go Patty Pimblett. We're thinking like flying armbar.
Interesting stuff. Switching up the game plan.
Dern making Torres carry her weight.
She's going for that Ortega Cub Swanson guillotine.
Torres looking to keep it clean, looking to keep it calm.
Attacking the arm in full guard on the feet.
Torres holding on.
Listen, there's high-level stuff, and then there's high-level stuff.
You don't need takedowns when you can become a wizard.
This is absurd.
Going arm lock on this one. Torres in a bad spot.
Hi, would you like to fight a boa constrictor? No, not at all.
Another 10-9 there from Joe.
Oh my goodness.
Incognito saying Dern pushed the pace. 10-9 Dern. Mackenzie Dern cranking on the arm. Tisha Torres left arm.
She does need to get a little bit more centered on Torres, though, because she's a little bit too far off to her side, so she can't create any leverage to really pull on that arm right now.
Dern trying to do her best, holding on to that. Tisha Torres keeping things standing. Torres.
She tried to readjust there on the cage to give her a little bit more space, but Torres is doing a great job defensively, just holding on, being patient.
Oh, she's going to try and turn this maybe into an arm bar once it touches the mat.
She's got it down to the ground, though. This is where Mackenzie Dern thrives.
Could she end up with a belly down arm bar?
But she's got the arm on, like, the wrong side, though. Like, this isn't really a traditional submission, I wouldn't say.
Dern is pulling for all she's worth. Tisha Torres looking to get out.
If Dern can use this to sweep and get on top, though, this will be huge.
Torres breathing heavy. Holding on. Tisha Torres is out. Oh, my. And plenty of time to work, but you do not want to work from this position.
Yeah, if I'm Torres, I'm not playing this game at all anymore.
No, you get up and go.
Run, Forrest, run.
And Tisha Torres sticking around, playing the game.
I think Dern still has her arm, though, so I do think it is a bit of a tricky spot to be in.
The old play stupid games. We'll see what happens here with Tisha Torres lurking on the ground with Mackenzie Dern. And if you thought the first round was close, this round is scary.
It really is. Torres has been in an awful lot of trouble, too. And in weird positions. Like, Mackenzie Dern might not be good at wrestling like we've talked about, but when you can pull off submissions, or at least create submissions in the way that she can, maybe you don't really need high-level wrestling.
Torres holding on to the arm of Dern. Dern clasping both of her hands. Her own hands.
I just don't really know what Dern can get from this spot, because with her arm under Torres' own knee, she has to pull her arms down to create torque on her arm, but it's on the other side of her knee, so there's no space to go.
This is one of those positions. Who
You can
wins
stand
this
them up.
position? Not a one person.
I'd be like, listen.
Dern's really trying to get those legs involved on this submission attempt, but it's Torres defending, and our referee decides to enjoy the action. Keith Peterson.
A no-nonsense kind of guy, though.
Slight nonsense. Where's the hotel? He couldn't find it that night in
We couldn't,
Halifax.
but we helped him. We did our job.
Mackenzie Dern hanging out. Tisha Torres on defense. Torres looking to try and get out of it. Dern looking to try and lock up a leg. Torres could end up in an advantageous position if she doesn't get leg locked.
Yeah, and this is a good spot for Dern, too. Dern is one of the few MMA fighters who's proved that she can finish leg locks in MMA.
Oh, she's looking to roll for that knee bar.
Oh, my goodness.
It's tight.
Oh, yep, she's got it. Oh,
Less than a minute left. Torres looking to try and lock her feet together. Looking to try and bend the knee.
this is a tough spot to be in.
Torres riding the back. Bending the knee. Hanging and
Mackenzie
scooting.
Dern is really fighting for that leg. An easy round to score for Mackenzie Dern, though. She's been threatened with submissions for the last 4.5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Much different than the first round. Much, much more different. So it really, again, you talk about a swing round. First round, very, very close. Second round, overwhelmingly Dern. We'll see if she'll be able to get the submission here as Tisha Torres hangs out for a tricky view and her leg probably hurts.
I would imagine.
Eating a couple of elbows for her troubles. 14 seconds remain. Phoenix saying Dern has it. Less than 10 seconds remain. Mackenzie Dern, will she be able to get that submission? 5 seconds left.
Dominant round, though, for Dern.
Good round for Mackenzie Dern. So if we really look at that one, it's either tied, one apiece, or Mackenzie Dern is able to take it and she's up 20-18. So we'll see how the judges score that one. But I mean, yeah, a really, really good round there for Mackenzie Dern. Definitely put on a statement there.
I could never be a coach in MMA because I'm not all that serious and this is a very serious job. Because I'd be like, listen, you know that song by Loverboy, Turn Me Loose? Take those words. They're going to be really good against Mackenzie Dern.
Tommy Toehold saying, wow, give Torres her black belt for surviving that round. To Tommy Toehold, I would say, if she wins, give her the mic like Priscilla Cachoeira and give her a belt too.
That was really impressive to see, though, from Torres to be able to defend all of their submission attempts from someone who is so high level with their submission skills. The problem is, I think we can all agree how impressive that is, but you don't win rounds by defending submissions. You win rounds by going for the submissions. I gotta laugh at a Joe, no reaction at a Craig, but...
Apologies, Matt. The flying stuff really just perplexes me. It's wild. It's wild. It's just like Johnny Carson when you bring him over to your party. Wild. He's allowed to hit, though. He's allowed to hit. As we get set for our third and final round, this one really hinges on the fact that Mackenzie Dern had a big-time second. Tecia Torres got some ground to cover in this round. Nice leg kick there from Torres, but it's Dern really turning up that pressure, really working with that offensive forward skills in terms of her boxing in this fight.
And I do like the idea from Dern. I can be really aggressive with my striking because I don't really mind if anybody takes me down. That was a really nice body kick out of Dern too. It would just be nice to see her set up her own strikes and stay in the pocket a little bit more because she's either all the way out or all the way in and just relying on her flurries to get into space to really land for damaging shots.
Torres playing around on the outside. Mackenzie Dern just bouncing, having a good time. Kick attempt there from Dern. 50 seconds into the round.
Torres needs something big this round, though, to really swing the momentum back in her favor.
Frankie Lopez, my girlfriend and I are having a baby.
Congrats, Frankie. That's huge news.
Life's getting exciting.
Awesome. Very happy for you guys.
Tecia Torres looking to move out of the way of the action there. Not able to land. Keith Peterson very close to the action. Extremely close. Front kick attempt from Mackenzie Dern looking like Lyoto Machida against Vitor Belfort. Unable to land.
One of the most badass finishes of all time.
3:35 remains. Nice left hand there from Dern, but Torres counters back. 3:30 remains. Those tricky oblique kicks from Torres.
That really has been the story of Torres' career. The thing that does hold her back from being sort of in the elite conversation in this weight class is she doesn't really have any signature skills to go out there and get a finish. Like, for someone like Marina Rodriguez, for someone like Wei Li or Joanna, no, they might not have a lot of finishes on their record per se, because it's hard to get a finish when you're this light, but they have signature skills that they can always fall back on and really go to win rounds and to accumulate a lot of damage. With Torres, she's a good striker, she's a good wrestler, a good grappler, but she doesn't do any of those one things overwhelmingly well to where, oh, I can always try to do this in a fight.
Dern catches a kick. She's looking to try and get a single leg out of this one. Tecia Torres looking to defend. Dern trying to go for a trip. Torres hanging out here.
Interesting to see Dern go for a more traditional style takedown, though.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if she can get it. She's trying trip. She tries trip. She gets it. And a kick, an up kick there from Torres, and it looked like it hurt Dern. Dern grabs the cage.
Chest, though.
Keith Peterson lets him play on.
I actually think that was really nice by Mackenzie Dern, though, all things considered. I know she didn't secure the takedown, but for somebody who, let's be honest, we really do question her wrestling, I thought that was a really nice sign, that she was able to finish that single leg when she was deep into it.
Good one in the third round, too. But, yeah, we saw some fence grabs earlier on in a Herb Dean fight early tonight.
Yeah, but she just, got back up to her feet. I wouldn't say she grabbed it to get out anything.
Less than 2 minutes remain. Really close round in this one.
But those exchanges are where I'm worried about the head clash. Torres will also blitz in too. And when both fighters do, there's always that small window where you think they're just going to go noggin to noggin.
145. Torres up on the strike numbers. Dern, she was able to get that takedown. Torres right out of it.
Tough fight to score.
Really, really tough. Somebody's going to be mad at the end.
I think Dern's been in control, but Torres has done enough to keep it close.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be Aspen Ladd mad at losing this one.
I feel like Torres, though, has fought not to lose, though, more than been really fighting to win in this last round. I do think that's why I'd be more likely to give it to Dern.
Closing in on 1:10 remaining in our third and final round. Tecia Torres popping around on the outside, working from orthodox here. Mackenzie Dern, who's going to make the first move. Spin kick attempt, and it's a feint from Torres. Lands a leg kick. Torres, bopping, weaving. Nice shot.
But that's
Left
what Torres needs more of. She'll just do that one flurry and kind of get back out of space.
Leg kick there from Torres.
Which is sort of uncharacteristic, because normally we'll see her throw flurries of 5, 6,
Ooh,
7 shots.
Big body kick there from Torres.
That was nice.
Big
Dern's
right
walking
hand.
into a lot right now. Hard fight to score.
Torres continuing to land shots here from distance. Moving out of the way. these big-time body kicks here from Tisha Torres. Total strikes in this round, 27-12 for Torres. So it all comes down to that first round as to who won this fight, you'd think.
Could we get a draw? A 10-8 round 2, and then Torres 1-3 now?
Takedown attempt from Torres. Mackenzie Dern.
Don't grapple with Mackenzie Dern, because that was insane.
That was, that was wizardry right there. So that's going to be one of those ones. Nobody's going to be happy with it at the end. I mean, either you back Dern, you got it. You back Torres, you got it. You're going to be happy that way. But a really, really tough one. I've got it 29-28 Torres round 1 and round 3.
I picked her, so I'm hoping. But I think Dern won 2 and 3, honestly.
I think Mackenzie Dern's going to end up the winner in this one. I do. I think she's going to end up, it's going to be 29-28.
Wait, you just said...
I think the judges are going to score it that way.
Oh, okay.
Told you how I scored it. I think the judges are going to go that
Sorry, I didn't know that's what you meant.
That route. Total numbers, 67-51, the total strikes. Submission attempts, 3 from Dern.
The kicks from Torres were really nice.
It says nobody had takedowns, but I don't know about that. UFC numbers. Isaiah's saying 2-1 Tisha. Jonathan's saying 29-28 for Dern. Schmidt, 29-28 Dern. Debbie's saying, I didn't say anything. Just thought the ladies' fight was awesome. Oh, it is. You're not wrong there. So we'll get ready for that decision. But overall, really great fight. Kevin Ioli has it 29-27 Dern. Bilal Muhammad Dern. Fight of the night so far from Alex Bahunin. And John Morgan has it 29-28 Torres. So a lot of scorecards all over the gosh darn place. And, we get set for the score. Jessica Aguilar, pioneer of women's MMA, in Tisha Torres' corner. Bruce Buffer telling Keith Peterson what's real. As we get our decision here, Matt, between Torres and Dern. Torres and Dern.
Yeah, I think 29-20. You could make an argument round 2 is a 10-8.
See who gets the win here. Torres and Dern.
It's an important fight, too, for the division.
Big time important fight for sure. I mean, you're definitely not right in the title picture, but you're pretty darn close. Must be a split. Mackenzie Dern, your winner in a very, very close fight. And SC Shoop saying split decision win for Dern. If you go over to @Fight Night Picks for this one, let's see, because the numbers have probably changed a little bit. It was 51-49 for Dern before the fight, 52%. Some late additions were able to get that one, but big time comeback win for Mackenzie Dern in that one.
It was. I thought the right woman won. I really do. I thought her grappling in the second round was dominant enough to really prove that she was the better fighter in this one. I thought the rounds that Torres won, it was like, okay, those rounds were very, very close, whereas at least Dern did have that one round that was quite dominant. So I am perfectly fine with Dern winning this fight by split decision. I thought it was a good fight. It's weird, though. Where does Torres go? Because we know that she's able to beat up on people sort of at the lower end of the top 15 and definitely people outside of the rankings, but she has come up short quite a few times against people in that sort of top 5, top 6, even top 7 range at this point. So I'm really curious to see what they decide to do with Torres next, because there is a clear line that, okay, she's better than the Angela Hills of the world, the sort of, the ladies in this division who have just been around for a very long time, but she does come up short of the, he bosses in the division. So I'm very curious to see what they end up doing next with Torres, because for Dern, there's a lot of fun fights to make in the future.
Well, if you really look at this, I mean, Vina Janjidova's taking on Angela Hill. You've got some fighters who don't have fights booked yet. Nina Nunes is on a 2-fight losing streak going back a couple of years. Jessica Pene's booked with Pinheiro. You've got Kaneko Murata, who broke her arm. Ariane Carnelosi's booked with Godinez. And then if you go up, Marina Rodriguez doesn't have a fight, but that makes sense. Yan Xiaonan doesn't have a fight. So I know Mackenzie Dern didn't want to fight Yan Xiaonan. So that was interesting to see that one out there in the ethos. But I mean, Matt, for me, it really is tough to tell what's next for Dern and what's next for Torres, because it's kind of a logjam right now in the division.
It is, but I mean, at least for Dern you won, though, so it's probably going to be something good next. It is unfortunate, because for Torres, you have a 4-fight losing streak to, okay, the top 4 fighters in the division. Now we've just sort of added the 5th-ranked fighter in the division to that list that is sort of growing longer and longer every single year, so I just don't really know where Torres goes from this point on, because it's unfortunate that she's not somebody who's fighting at like 125 who would have more options to change in weight class, because for Torres, like we had said before, she really does fit into this weight class so perfectly. So I don't really see her ever moving up to flyweight in the future. I have no idea where she goes next from here. But for Dern, I do think there's a lot of fun fights in the future.
And that is the thing, especially with this division. If I'm not mistaken, I mean, Caitlin Chukagian taking on the former strawweight in a tough out, who is Amanda Hebos. You've got Amanda Lemos taking on Jessica Andrade in a main event that's coming up in the not-so-distant future. So it should be fun that way. And yeah, I mean, if we have a look at, Matt, this next fight, it's finally time. Khamzat Chimaev is going to be taking on Gilbert Burns. And Matt, for Gilbert Burns, coming off a giant win over Wonderboy. And that was one where, listen, he gets finished in his title bid. He had a great start to that fight when he was taking on Kamaru Usman. But he looked amazing against Wonderboy Thompson, as good as you could want Gilbert Burns to look in a fight like that. Obviously, we kind of saw the mold broken a little bit when Bilal Muhammad then took on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But with Burns, he has the win over Woodley in his back pocket. He's got that win over Thompson. It's just, he wrestled to get those wins, and now he's taking on Khamzat Chimaev, a wrestler.
That's something I do disagree a little bit. I don't think Burns looked all that great against Wonderboy. I know he got the win, and Wonderboy is really tricky, but when you look at what Bilal Muhammad was then able to do to Wonderboy, it does leave you wanting a little bit more, because Burns is thought of as one of the top guys in this division, and when you look at what Bilal Muhammad was able to do to Wonderboy, who is thought of as sort of a mid-tier, top-ranked welterweight, if you will. I know that's a very specific category to be in, but still, he was dominant against Wonderboy. Gilbert Burns had like very timely takedowns at very good opportunities in that fight that got him the decision. It wasn't like a dominant performance that really left us going, wow, Burns should be immediately back into a rematch with Kamaru Usman. So I do think Burns needs to look somewhat impressive in this fight. I don't think it will just be enough to think, wow, he looked good in a losing performance, so we'll all still stay on the Gilbert Burns train. Because the weird thing about welterweight is the top 5 is very, very good right now, but it feels like I was listening to a podcast, they were saying about how, like, the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL, a lot of it's just based on, like, what team you're on and who your quarterback is. And when you get traded, a lot of guys in that top 5 category sort of fall off just because the role's a little bit different on a new team. With Khamzat, we've never seen any fall off. There's just kind of perfection inside in the cage time and time again. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Gilbert Burns can show us any little chink in the armor of Khamzat Chimaev.
Kurt Tyer saying Shogun versus OSP in the rematch on a pay-per-view. That's People's Main Event right there. There's going to be like a small tear that comes out of the corner of my eye when I watch that fight, because Shogun got whooped in his last fight, and you don't see Paul Craig beating guys until they submit due to strikes. But he did that to one of my all-star legends in his last fight. It hurt.
Is Paul Craig the most dangerous man on the mat, though, in the UFC? Like, he genuinely
There's him, and there's Alexei Oleinik, and then there's the field.
Really, honestly, like, I was trying to think of just, like, some of the best grapplers in the UFC, and not just who has the best, grappling credentials, but who uses their jiu-jitsu the best in MMA, and Paul Craig's probably top 5 right now. He really is. Like, it's such an integral part of his MMA game. Everybody knows it's coming, but nobody can avoid jumping into his full guard with reckless abandon, but Paul Craig, doing the sport justice. Like, it's wild that he named his daughter Maya out of respect to Damian Maya for what he's done for the sport.
SC Shoop saying, I think Chimaev wins, but the odds were off on Burns. Had to send one. VT saying, where's the jelly beans? They're over on the other table, but you shouldn't eat and talk at the same time, so I'm avoiding that one. I had many earlier. My favorite one is probably vanilla bean. I also like that as an ice cream flavor. I don't like Haagen-Dazs, but I do like Haagen-Dazs vanilla bean. Matt, we're settling in for Gilbert Burns, Khamzat Chimaev. We talked about it. The John Phillips fight, the only time that anybody's gotten a shot off on Khamzat in the UFC. He's got the Li Jingliang fight. He's got the Gerald Meerschaert fight. He's got the Reese McKee fight. He has 4 fights in the UFC. He also has 4 UFC performance bonuses. For Gilbert Burns, when you look at bonus winning material, Demian Maia, Tyron Woodley, Alex Oliveira, Christos Yakos back in 2014. It goes all the way from an Andrea Stahl win in his debut, a decision UFC on Fox, Lawler versus Brown. That was when Matt Brown was on a 7-fight win streak, only to lose to Robbie Lawler.
Fight, unfortunately.
But you look at the overall career, the losses, Rashid Magomedov, Michel Prazeres, Dan Hooker, and then, of course, Kamaru Usman for the title. Let me know who you think is going to win. Debbie saying Chimaev is the truth. VT saying it's going to be wild. And Prince Vegeta's son saying can't wait for Khamzat. Chad Robertson saying I thought Torres pulled out the win in the 3rd round. So did I, but hey, You can't win them all. Mackenzie Dern getting the win there by split. Close fight. A good fight. Really good
It was
fight.
a really good fight.
So Burns taking on Chimaev. I mean, yeah, is it going to be Hamzat, playing touch butt in the park, trying to impress Darren Till, or is he going to run across the cage and impress the boss and toss Gilbert Burns down?
I don't think touch butt in the park would impress Darren Till. I think taking him down and like beating the brakes off him would impress Darren Till quite a bit. I just physically there becomes a point where it doesn't matter how skilled you are. If you're against someone that much bigger than you, it is going to matter. And maybe you are a lot better than them in jiu-jitsu. But when they're in Hamzat Chimaev, someone who's so dominant with their own grappling, it's not like I'm worried about what Hamzat's going to do if he is getting put in one of those like weird in-between positions, similar to what we saw Torres and Dern in that second round of their fight, where it's one of those, oh, should I just not move because that's better than moving and putting myself deeper into submission? I do think Hamzat will be at least intelligent enough to get out of some of those tricky spots if he is put into them. And the other thing too is physically he is so much bigger and stronger than Gilbert Burns. It's going to sort of be the X factor that, okay, if it is a little bit tricky here, my strength can get me out of it.
And the one thing, and I've seen this, Safwan is saying it over there in the comment section, only question is Hamzat's conditioning, especially after his COVID run. Yeah, I mean, I go.
A while now.
And I watched the Jack Hermanson wrestling match. It was 2 rounds, and like it's intensive. It's very, very intensive, and you're wrestling the whole time.
I wouldn't compare that to an MMA fight.
All I'm saying though is if your cardio and conditioning can hold up for that, where you're wrestling and expending a ton of energy to a fight like this, we'll just see how it plays out. So Hamzat, probably if he wins, the last time we ever see him in the blue corner, that much is true. He's jumping the queue at welterweight. He really is getting a giant opportunity. And again, this is one of those fights against Gilbert Burns that kind of gets everybody up in the morning. I see it in the comments section. Prince Vegeta's son, did you see DC talking? Yeah, that was weird.
Who cares who anyone's
TMI's couch saying Chimaev by submission. MPTV saying Burns is too petite. Hamzat Chimaev outrunning security. They're not down for it. Chimaev looks like he's running down the lady who's got a camera. Scaring her.
Very excited.
Hamzat Chimaev wants this to be done and over with quick so him and Darren Till can go out to like Benihana and get to see the food get whipped up and around.
Do you think they go to the spa or spar? Is
Oh,
there any
I thought
confusion?
you said spar. Yeah, I don't think Mike Perry hangs around those corners anymore.
No, I don't think he does. I think he'd have a tough time in the training room against someone like Hamzat Chimaev.
Big time camp, big time corner for Hamzat Chimaev. Reza Madadi's own All Stars MMA, a name that you don't get to hear much anymore in the corners of MMA. And Matt, this is a big time opportunity for him, of course. And I mean, when you look at it for Hamzat Chimaev, this is going to be the opportunity where we get to see sink or swim top competition.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And here's the thing. The last thing I was going to say when you had brought up just about him and the COVID and people worrying about his cardio. It does affect some people early on. But even go back to like Jason Tatum's a good example. He was someone who openly admitted he had a really hard time sort of getting his lungs back after his battle with COVID. But after a couple months, he was able to get back to his prime form and kind of get over it. With Chimaev, I understand early on in the aftermath of it, it is something that I'm definitely concerned about. But it has been a long enough time at this point to where personally I'm not too concerned about it, especially at this level. Because you know he's training pretty hard every single day with guys like Darren Till and over at All Stars. Like those guys don't just play around. So I'm sure Chimaev is in as good a shape as possible.
Chimaev, listen, winning by KO or TKO around a plus 110. He's more favored to do that than by submission or by decision. They got the old Hamzat Chimaev to win by knockout.
So the only value to put money on him is really just trying to predict the method
Under
of
the
victory.
distance.
Exactly. So what do you think is the most likely? Knockout, decision, or submission right now? Like, do you think there is a chance we see Hamzat really prove a point and like try to submit Gilbert Burns?
I have a hard time other than saying Chimaev is going to win. I got to be completely honest. Like, when I look at this fight, I could see Hamzat going out there, getting the TKO, getting it going, getting that done. But that's easier said than done. Now, Burns, later in his career, got finished by Usman, landed some good shots of his own. We've never seen Hamzat get hit in the UFC. Obviously, we did see Hamzat get tested. I want to make sure I get the name right because he competed on Eagle FC here not that long ago. But when you look at Hamzat Chimaev and the guys that he's beat, the only fight that I was like, oh, okay, was the fight against Ikram Aliaskarov, where he finished him in the first round. Like, he beat Mzwandili Khalongwa, who's a striker. He submitted him. Then he ends up in the UFC, beats John Phillips, beats Reese McKee, beats Gerald Mearshart, beats Li Jingliang. Statement performance, all of them. All of them.
Without
Really?
a doubt.
And for Gilbert Burns, we know the level of competition. We know the two different weight classes. So we'll see how Gilbert Burns makes out. As Khamzat Chimaev sits on top of the cage, the cockiness.
I don't think it's cockiness, though. I just think for him, he just doesn't, it's just another day. I don't think cockiness and confidence are very, I don't think they always have to be the same thing. And I think for Chimaev, for him, he's not too bothered by the moment, I guess. I really don't think this is him trying to one-up Gilbert Burns. I really do think this is just him sort of realizing, okay, this is a big opportunity. And it really is. We don't look at unranked guys fighting top 3 fighters all that often. It never happens. Every now and then on a rare occasion, you'll get maybe the 10th ranked fighting, the 4th, the 3rd ranked. They'll get that big opportunity to jump up a few spots. But it's very rare that someone in the top 3 is willing to take a risk and fight someone outside of the rankings like Gilbert Burns is willing to do.
So Gilbert Burns, big time chance. Khamzat is in the rankings, and he is ranked currently at 11 at welterweight.
So yeah.
Chiesa, Magny, Brady, Masvidal, Thompson, Muhammad, Luque, Edwards, and then Burns. So a lot of guys between them right now. And Gilbert Burns, 10 first-round finishes. As we see, he is a master black belt when it comes to his jiu-jitsu. Haven't seen it all that often out of him. I mean, statement performance over Demian Maia, where you get, again, the Patrick Roy, where we're putting our arms up there, and then we're going to launch into that.
I'm curious. I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think Leon Edwards would have been a harder matchup for Khamzat Chimaev than Gilbert Burns will be today?
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I do. The question from Fearless Red, what beer is that? The beer of Gatorade? And I'll give Matt one, but the beer of Gatorade. And maybe for the next title fight, I'll reach into the beer fridge that actually is in the office. And you know what? This is a test. It hasn't been that noisy. It's probably going to stay in here. The fridge is going to stay. So the fridge is going to stay.
But just to go back to the Leon Edwards thing, because I wanted to finish that really quick. I genuinely think Leon Edwards is the hardest matchup for Khamzat Chimaev. I know Usman's the champ, but please hear me out. What's Leon Edwards really good at not doing? Getting hit or getting anybody close to him. I know Nate Diaz was able to hit him in the last minute of their fight.
Not a lot of personal relationships.
No, but you get the idea. With Leon Edwards, he's extremely defensively sound, and he's just very technical in every aspect of his game. So I really do think that he has one of those styles to where he's so well-rounded, he's so crisp with his boxing that he would give Chimaev trouble. I'm not saying he'd beat him, I'm not saying he'd run away with it or anything. I just do think that'd be a really fun matchup, and I am a little bit disappointed that we were never able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, Matt's going to walk MPTV, and I'm going to walk 10 steps to my bedroom. Yeah. So don't drink and drive.
No.
Ever.
It's not worth it, guys.
I don't even chance
Get a cab, call a friend, stay the night. There's better options.
Uber, Lyft, whatever you need to do.
Exactly.
Gilbert Burns is a man. He's 35. Khamzat Chimaev coming in here.
And we got out a good message today, Craig, so that's
27. Good. And hot sauce shot tonight, incognito. But why would I?
I'm glad VT agrees.
But why would I? So, yeah, the Leon matchup would be good. I'd love to see it. I think if Khamzat blows Burns out of the water, he gets the title shot.
And you know me,
Edwards
Craig.
Goes, see you later again.
I need to see Shavkat fight Khamzat at some point. I understand I've been too much on the Shavkat train, but here's the thing. No one's been able to prove me wrong yet. And that is the truth. That's the one thing I can constantly go back to. I might have too high of a ceiling for Rakhmonov, but up until this point, no one's had any success against him. So I really do put him in that top tier of prospects. And it just so happens that physically these guys match up very similar. They're huge welterweights, and they're extremely well-rounded and proven finishers.
Gilbert Burns hanging out. Brazilian flag behind him. The Royce Gracie Brazilian flag that was in the other office is sitting on a shelf. I can see it. There's one here.
It's a nice piece.
That's what she said. But a big-time opportunity for both these guys. But again, if Burns beats Chimaev, he doesn't get another title shot.
Does he fight Dan Hooker again? No, I'm kidding. You're right, he doesn't get a title shot, but he probably gets Colby Covington next. That's what I feel comfortable saying. Covington's coming off a win. He's trying to fight Adesanya, and that's never going to happen. Perfect. But if Burns is coming off a win, that's an easy fight to put together, because I agree with you 100%. I do think if Chimaev looks good, he's immediately in a title shot.
All right, Chimaev's looking ready. Make sure you sync up with us.
I'm so excited.
Over 200 tuned in for this big-time fight. Toss a like if you would. but a big time opportunity, like we said. Front kick attempt here to the body of Chimaev. He's working quick. Ooh, big time right hand attempt there from Chimaev. He's going for the takedown. He's got the lock behind the body. Gilbert Burns.
Good defense by Burns so far, and he does have one underhook.
Chimaev really fighting for all he's got. Only 20 seconds in.
Gilbert Burns isn't a small guy by any means, and Chimaev looks like he's 2 weight classes bigger.
He looks like a much larger man.
He certainly does.
Sharif saying, let's go, boys. Dylan R saying, have fun. Chimaev working deep for the takedown here.
He really wants it. Burns doing a good job defensively so far.
Burns trying his best to stay on his feet. Chimaev looking to wrap one leg. He's got one. These guys are punching away.
This is a wild pace to the first 45 seconds.
Normally you see the man who's going for the takedown punching in that exchange. And Gilbert Burns really trying to land some shots of his own. And Khamzat Chimaev just drugged Gilbert Burns down like that.
That was really nice. But here's the thing, though. Burns has phenomenal cardio, and I feel like that's something that isn't talked about enough. So if this fight does go late, you could definitely see a world where Burns is able to build and take over late.
Burns back up to his feet. He rolls to try and get out of it. Chimaev keeps that body.
Isn't it fun, though, how we're seeing Chimaev finally find a grappler, though, who can hang with him a little bit on the mat? Because up until this point, Chimaev's just blown the doors off everybody.
Little rabbit shot there from Gilbert Burns, the old rude boy Randy Brown. We're tossing those hammer fists up, and Chimaev's back up. And now we're going to let Gilbert Burns up to his feet.
I think Gilbert's confidence is starting to grow.
Let's start seeing them hands. Khamzat Chimaev in here. Gilbert Burns playing around by the black line. Chimaev in the middle of the cage.
And it's interesting because Chimaev's the much bigger guy, so you would think he'd have a lot more success at range, but Burns has really good leg and body kicks, so it will be interesting to see what range does Chimaev feel comfortable with on the feet.
Chimaev. Ooh.
That's a big leg kick from Burns. He had a lot of success against Woodley with those early.
Chimaev gets hit with a leg kick and comes back and lands one of his own. We'll see if Chimaev's able to close the distance here. Ooh, Chimaev hit him good. A couple of clean shots there.
Burns threw a big counter right. It almost landed, but he pulled back a little bit.
Burns switches stances. Switching back.
But this is best case scenario, isn't it? You're seeing Chimaev, he's doing what you think he is, but he's facing adversity against one of the best fighters in the world.
Khamzat Chimaev, about halfway through our first round.
Really interesting fight so far.
Good leg kick so far
Good
by
left hook by Burns.
Left hook by Burns. Uppercut attempt there from Chimaev.
Chimaev's really trying to set up his takedown right now, doing a lot of that fake up, go low.
Good right hand there from Burns, but a couple of good shots from Chimaev land before that.
Starting to see Chimaev have a little bit of trouble figuring out when he wants to go for his entries. I wonder how much that comes down to Burns successfully being able to defend that initial takedown. I know it took a lot of energy from both guys. There was a scramble that ensued, but that's going to be a massive confidence booster for Burns, just knowing he can get out of that situation.
Burns looking to land a couple of these big shots from out far. Seems like Khamzat Chimaev's striking defense is doing a pretty good job here.
Very high hands, and that's, I guess, with someone like Chimaev, who is such a good wrestler, you probably don't want to throw a lot of body kicks, but that is a huge tool that Burns has.
Ooh, Chimaev going in there, landing a couple of good shots, and then it's Burns with another big right hand. He's been able to counter the good couple shots of Chimaev with a big right of his own every time.
You know who they remind me of, Craig? Douglas Lima, Andre Koreshkov, big counter right
Whoa! Gilbert Burns sends him down. Not necessarily a knockdown. Chimaev's got a smile on his face, but he did get countered in that exchange.
Chimaev can't just walk in and think he's going to be the brute and the bully in every single exchange. He's got to be tactical at some point.
Burns doing a good job here, landing his own shots. Will Chimaev make it out of the first round?
A question I never thought I'd hear Craig ask.
Less than a minute remains.
Good body kick by Chimaev. Not really something we see in his game really at all.
Oh!
Jab!
Chimaev dropped Gilbert Burns with a jab!
That was a hard shot. We have seen Burns go down from jabs before, though. Usman put him down with
Oh, they're both landing!
These are harder shots for Chimaev.
Big time elbow from Chimaev. Remember that? Can Chimaev make it out of the first round? He passed that test a little bit.
That was a big strike, though, from Chimaev. That hurt Burns.
That was the strike that probably won the round.
And that's always been the knock against Gilbert Burns. His durability, I wouldn't say, is at the elite level where a lot of his other skills are at.
Burns is back up. Chimaev wants to play. Chimaev and southpaw. Burns switching stances to Chimaev. Burns coming out, trying to land that 1-2.
Burns is throwing a lot of power behind his strikes, which is going to give him a better chance to win, but it's going to open bigger windows for Khamzat to land.
Less than 10 seconds. Will either guy throw it out there on the line?
Good leg kick by Khamzat.
Less than 4 seconds remain. Burns looking to turn it up. And that's the end of the round. Nice uppercut attempt there from Chimaev. So first round is done. Looking like a 10-8 Chimaev. Big time drop there.
That was a nice knockdown. So, but Burns was having a lot of success in that fight up until that point.
If that round kept going that way, Gilbert Burns would have won that round.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Yeah. If the round had kept on going that way, he definitely would have. But I do think the knockdown was enough for it to shift over to Khamzat.
Again, 82% of the fans at Fight Night Picks had Khamzat Chimaev to win this one. Jonathan saying 10-9 Khamzat. Let us know in the comments section who you have so far winning out in this fight. Quite a few of you tuning in live for this one. Hopefully you can stick around for the co-main and the main, both of those title fights. And Matt, hopefully they can sync up as well when the second round gets started. But a competitive first round.
Shows how much power Khamzat has in that right hand, though, because most of the time he's fighting from a traditional stance or from an orthodox stance, so that's his power hand. Now he's using it at the jab and showing that he can use it as more of like an accurate rangefinder, and it can still put damage on his opponent.
All right, here we go. Mike Beltran, a referee for the people's main event.
Really good fight so far.
Beltran with the beard tuck in the shirt. Classic. We haven't seen Frank Trigg on this card. Seems like a Frank Trigg card.
It does. Nice to see Frank Trigg still involved in the sport.
Khamzat opening up with the kicks. Gilbert Burns opening up with some feints.
Burns
Takedown
going for a
attempt from
takedown.
Burns.
Wow.
Doesn't get it.
Close, though. Definitely putting that in the back of Khamzat's mind.
Profile 1 saying 10-9 Burns. It's like a game. Khamzat has some good skills. 5 stars.
Good right hand by Khamzat. That caught Burns on the way in. Burns got a little too wild with the strikes now.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see if we're going to see those big looping shots out of Gilbert Burns. We're going to see some straight up the middle because you got that big high guard there from Khamzat. And around some of those big long-range weapons from Burns, he's been able to defend them pretty well.
He has been... Oh, good right hand, though, from Burns down the middle. Khamzat almost crowded too much distance, and Burns met him on the inside. That was nice.
Ooh, big-time hook there on the right-hand side from Khamzat, working out of southpaw.
Fair to say, though, neither one of these guys is going to be feeling good tomorrow. Like, they both got some clean shots in.
Nice leg kick there from Chimaev.
Which, again, is nice to see, because the thing about Chimaev was, how is he going to look in not even, like, a grueling fight, just, like, a borderline tough fight. So, we are learning a lot about Chimaev today.
3 minutes, 40 seconds remain here. Club of a right hand there from Chimaev finds the target.
Burns rolled with it a bit.
Ooh.
Big right hand by Burns on the inside. That was a nice strike.
Some nice leg kicks from Burns, and then a big-time right hand. Chimaev closing distance. He's mad. He's biting down on the mouthpiece.
He's closing distance, though, with a lot of power, with some big looping shots. Like, someone like Vicente Luque might be able to counter that.
Burns trying for a single-leg takedown attempt here on Chimaev. Not able to get it.
Interesting part of the fight, though.
Burns starting to really string together some shots, but it's the pressure of Chimaev.
Good point. And that's what I was going to say. Burns not discouraged at all after that knockdown, which is a really promising thing to see, because how many times do we see a fighter get hurt?
Oh, Burns hits Chimaev hard.
Right hand. That might have hurt him bad.
Chimaev's still in this
Burns
one.
is landing big shots. Chimaev is hurt on the back foot. Up against the cage.
Hammering away.
I cannot believe we're seeing this right now.
The chin of Khamzat Chimaev.
Well, he weighs 240 pounds.
Oh, man, these guys are slugging it out, and Chimaev's starting to land.
These guys have both eaten some clean shots. I don't know how either guy's standing
Oh,
right now.
Chimaev's going to the body. The uppercuts from Burns.
Burns is just putting a pace on him.
Chimaev looks dusted, but so does Burns.
He really does. But here's the thing. Going into this fight, I thought there was a good chance that at the end of this, I thought Chimaev would be like future world champ no matter what. I'm not sitting here today telling you he would beat Kamaru Usman like 10 times out of 10.
About 2 minutes remaining here in this round. OMC's saying Khamzat exposed. I don't know about
He's
that.
fighting a great fighter, and I think that's something we have to remind ourselves.
2 minutes left in this round. Burns has thrown the kitchen sink at him, and Chimaev's still there. Big right hand lands for Chimaev.
That landed on the inside, but again, Burns is just right back in his face no matter what. You'll love to see that from anybody, really.
Takedown attempt here from Burns. Chimaev
went for a Darce choke.
Defends
almost.
it. Now Chimaev got... Ooh, Burns landing these big hammer fists. Nice kick there from Burns.
Burns, the physicality of Gilbert Burns is getting to Khamzat Chimaev, and that's not a sentence I thought I was going to say
Both
tonight.
guys smiling, having a time.
This is fight of the night without a doubt now.
Yeah, 1:30 left here in the second round. Mike Beltran is a witness.
Incredible fight.
Nice leg kick from Chimaev.
But that's the thing, like, okay, you can beat the brakes off Reese McKee. Let's see how good you are against Gilbert Burns. And Chimaev has looked really good up until this point, but Burns has proven that, like, he deserves to be at the top of this division.
Gilbert Burns really doing a good job in the second round. If the first round was close, he's definitely coming back. And question about a third round for Chimaev, it's not really anything we've really seen.
Ever. And I've seen Gilbert Burns hurt his opponent in the 5th round like he did against Tyron Woodley, so interesting to see where this fight's trending right now.
50 seconds.
Shamaev's exhausted. These are some lazy strikes.
Oh, these guys are both slugging it out. Another nice right hand there from Chimaev. Another nice right hand for Chimaev.
Just not the power on them, though, that it seemed to be early. Isn't it weird how there's no rhyme or reason for who has a good chin in MMA? Like, Gerald Mearshart ate one clean shot from Hamzat and went down. Gilbert Burns got knocked out by Dan Hooker, and now he's eating power shots. It's very interesting.
Burns landed
Left
great.
hook.
Chimaev landing that right hand.
I think Burns won this round.
No way, yeah.
You don't think so? Oh, okay.
No, he did. About 10 seconds remaining
That
here.
was a good shot
Uppercut
by
from Chimaev.
Burns
Chimaev's
hurt.
firing
Big right
away.
hand by Burns, though. Between. He's still.
Ooh, that looked
He almost
illegal.
went for a soccer kick, but I don't think he landed it. Burns won that round with a knockdown.
Yeah, Burns won that round. So we got it 19-19. Burns looks hurt. Chimaev looks hurt.
They're both
Everybody's mad.
Okay, Chimaev looked to have hurt Burns on one of the in-betweens with a strike, and then Burns hit him with an absolute bomb of a left hand that looked like it, like, face planted Chimaev. Like, I thought Chimaev was out. This is some
Chimaev's corner throwing the ice. Burns' corner yelling at him. Darren Till's yelling.
This is the thing, though. I've seen Gilbert Burns be in a tough fight and still look good later on in it. We have never seen Chimaev get tested like this.
They're going to give you that final
What a
second.
right hand.
Yeah, Chimaev is absolutely pouring it on.
And then
Burns lands
Oh
a
my
giant right hand.
goodness.
Chimaev's still good. Then he gets dropped by another right
this
hand.
is the biggest shot of the fight, though. Oh my goodness.
These guys absolutely swinging away. Burns pushing Chimaev off. Little slappy slap there from Chimaev. We're in for a big third round, 19-19.
Edward Kelly, I think that's a really good point. Really good point. Weight cut could possibly be affecting him. Like, where does the pendulum swing to where you're cutting too much weight and it does affect your cardio?
All right, here we go. Third and final round. Wish we had 5.
Phenomenal fight so far. in our
Nick
third
Diaz,
fight.
Robbie Lawler got it. Burns taking on Chimaev. All tied. Big time ending to that round. Both guys connecting. Burns getting the knockdown. Chimaev ending up on top, which is absolute wildness.
The level that Gilbert Burns' striking is at now compared to where he was when he first came into the UFC is almost like unbelievable.
Chimaev looking to push a pace here.
It'd be like if Mackenzie Dern just went out and like outstruck Joanna for a 5-round fight.
Good job there from Chimaev. Burns looking to land those big time right hands again.
You know, both guys have huge power though. Both been able to hurt each other.
Absolutely insane fight. Ooh, big uppercut there for Chimaev.
That was clean too. Burns looked like he took a misstep, but he's right back in the pocket.
Gilbert Burns, toughest man alive.
And again, both guys looking tired, but again, when they land, there is a big effect.
Chimaev pressing forward. Remember how Chimaev out-grappled a lot of guys?
I do.
Now he's in there just throwing with Gilbert Burns. This is a wild fight. Burns going takedown. Can Chimaev defend it? Deep single leg here from Burns. Chimaev looks like he might have it defended. Burns presses forward. Center of the cage. Chimaev.
Wow, that was high-level
Wizard.
stuff from both guys.
Wow.
Really good job by Chimaev to get out of that takedown attempt, because I would say everybody else in the top 15 is probably going to be on their back.
Ooh, Chimaev landed a big-time step-in jab. Burns in a bad way. Right hand lands for Chimaev. Burns in a bad way.
Burns looks like he's trying to rely on that one
Chimaev's
counter
pulling
shot
away.
right now.
Chimaev's clubbing him. Can Chimaev get the finish?
You don't
Gilbert
love the body
Burns is
language
hurt.
right now from Burns. He is exhausted up against the cage.
They're both throwing, and Hamzat Chimaev going for a takedown?
I mean, Burns is exhausted. Not on the feet, though. Like, Burns countered him with a big shot the last time they were throwing like this. So I probably wouldn't want to just throw strike for strike with him.
3 minutes remain here in our third round. Giving Gilbert Burns the time to recover is Chimaev. Another nice left hand lands for Chimaev. Burns is all right hands at this point.
That one almost landed, though. And you know what's going to happen if it does land. Like, Chimaev's been hurt in this fight a couple times now. Just an absolutely insane brawl these guys are involved in.
Half
Nice
a
left
round
hook.
remains in the third.
Burns still has pretty good speed on his hands, though, I'd say, for how tough of a fight this has been up until this
Yeah,
point.
no, he's starting to move a little bit, looking a little crisp that way, but the trouble for Burns is he's eating that left hand of Chimaev.
Yeah, he really has been. It's just been the accumulation for Chimaev in this round. Burns hasn't been able to counter all that effectively with his power shots.
Good right hand there for Chimaev. Chimaev starting to pull away again. Ooh!
That was a good jab by Chimaev. Again, Burns is just trying to rely on that Douglas Lima back foot Hail Mary shot.
Big time left hand lands for Burns. Dwayne Johnson makes a curse word onto the broadcast.
He's excited. Good right hand by Burns landed
Burns
there,
is
but Chimaev
hurting.
landed an uppercut.
Burns is hurting and bloodied and eats another left hand.
Guys are putting it on.
Hamzat Chimaev eats a big
Clean
right hand.
by Burns, though. Every time you think he's done, he's able to land that one big shot.
145 left in this third round. This is absolutely insane, this fight.
Just
These
an
guys are
incredible
going
fight.
at it.
Honestly, the winner should fight Colby Covington no matter who
Ooh,
wins.
couple of good shots from Burns. He goes for his big right hand. He's not able to get it, but peppers a jab in there.
And again, it's very, very unique for both guys to be able to land these many strikes this late into a fight.
Chimaev tossing it on like he hasn't. Left high
head
kick
kick.
from Burns and then a right hand.
Just,
Chimaev lands a nice left hand. Chimaev putting on the pressure.
I would say this fight's a great example of like cardio preservation.
Ooh, both guys hammering away. Maybe a clash of heads. Chimaev presses him off.
Burns is getting some close with those big hooks. But Chimaev's being a lot steadier on the in-betweens. I can't stress that enough.
Less than a minute left. This is Gilbert Burns' fight to win back. Ooh, big right hand lands for Burns.
That's another clean one that landed.
Chimaev wants it.
Chimaev's eating a lot of big shots here.
40 seconds left. Burns is swinging.
He's going for the win, though.
Ooh, big right hand lands for Chimaev. 30 seconds left. Big right hand for Burns is ducked out of the way from Chimaev. Will anybody go for a takedown?
Be interesting to see, could that seal the round?
Burns looks for the timer.
Burns looks like he's thinking, okay, what's the big shot I can throw with 10 seconds left?
Ooh, uppercut lands for Chimaev.
It's
15
been a nice
seconds.
strike for him, hasn't it?
Chimaev really doing a good job. That lead uppercut with his left hand. Burns landing a couple nice ones late. Ooh. Chimaev looking to end this one. End of the fight.
Just an incredible fight between
I get
Gilbert
it.
Burns
I get
and
it.
Hamzat
29-28 Chimaev. But I mean, if Aspen Ladd, Raquel Pennington, Dern Torres, we're talking fight of the night. That's your fight of the night right there. so
Without
far.
a doubt. That was an incredible fight.
Wow.
And that was everything we wanted it to be. Hamzat Chimaev showed that, hey, I am the guy people thought I was. Maybe I'm not like the mythical figure who isn't ever going to get hit in every single fight. But like, I don't think anybody's leaving this fight thinking Hamzat's not deserving of being at least what? I'd say top 6 is the lowest I would spot him right now.
Again, he just beat the second-ranked fighter, so I would say you just leapfrogged a lot of guys, and you're going to fight Leon Edwards.
So you think Edwards is the next matchup? You would go him over Covington?
Debbie saying Burns won that. Jonathan saying Hamzat 29-28. Abdulaziz saying go. Matthew Moore saying fight of the year. Voodoo saying wow, what a fight. Debbie backing it up saying Burns wins. VT saying Burns wins. And Pete
Just a great fight that was.
Pete doesn't
though.
like Hamzat Chimaev. He's been against them from jump.
I don't know how you can't watch that fight and at least like watching him fight. Like, that's the thing. You don't have to like or dislike the person personally. Just like, do you like watching them compete in the cage? I couldn't imagine watching all of Hamzat Chimaev's fights and being like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah, this guy, his cardio is probably pretty bad.
Like, I heard somebody at my work the other day say that they don't like Shohei Ohtani. Have they never watched him play baseball then? Like, there's just
Wild.
no example. You know, there's no reason.
Yeah, amazing fight
That
for
was.
sure. Flavio saying, what a fight. SC Shoop, what a fight. This is what we want. Hamzat versus Colby, that'd be great.
I would love
Chimaev won round 1 and 3 is what Kurtar is saying. And
I agree with you. I think Chimaev won. But let's say in a weird, bizarre world, they give the decision to Gilbert Burns and he loses.
he also fights Colby Covington. All right, we get the decision. That was pretty quick.
Why would Colby Covington fight a guy off a loss?
Bruce Buffer telling it to Mike Beltran, a guy who was in a Geico commercial arm wrestling a middle-aged woman.
My
He
question
lost.
is, if Chimaev doesn't get this on the scorecards, could you go back and do Rachmanov versus Chimaev now?
No.
I'm trying to make it happen.
All right, we get the final decision here from Bruce Buffer, brother of Michael
I would say 29-28.
Let's see who it's for. Khamzat Chimaev, your winner. So a big time win for Chimaev. Darren Till's friend. He jumps the line from number 11 to number 2. It's not often you see something like that. It really isn't.
And Gilbert Burns has nothing to be upset about in this fight, by the way. Like, I cannot make that more clear. Gilbert Burns did everything humanly possible to, like, make Chimaev look like a human. He got hurt early, could have just phoned it in and been like, okay, I'm a plus 700 underdog, I got dropped, like, I don't really need to fight my ass off for the rest of this. But no, like, he immediately gets hurt, gets back in the pocket, starts trading power shots with Khamzat. Like, I really think for Burns, this is one of those losses that I don't think is going to hurt him in the grand scheme of things whatsoever.
VT is not happy about it. Flavio saying yes, sir. Incognito saying, I need a rematch. I don't think we'll get it. Need 3 more rounds. I wish it was 5 rounds.
That'd be great.
That would have been a lot more fun. But, yeah, one heck of a fight there. And we've got a damn, they robbed that boy. I don't know if you can cry robbery on that one. Spence saying 29-28. It was for someone. Dana White saying something.
Yeah,
Dana White
I'm
doesn't
happy
normally
Dana-
come into main card fights just to say a piece.
I'm happy though, like what I just said. I really hope people give Gilbert Burns his respect after this, because normally when someone's a plus 700 underdog, they lose in the first 30 seconds, and we question why the fight was ever put together. The fact that he made this not only competitive, but like people really do think he won this fight. Like, he did everything you could ask him to and more. Like, this is a great performance by Gilbert Burns, but Khamzat really proved that his physicality is a big difference, especially in a 3-round fight. But then you will start to get that argument of, okay, against Usman, it has to be in a 5-round fight. Usman is arguably the best cardio of a high-volume striker and wrestler we've ever seen. Even if Chimaev has success early against Usman, like he did against Burns, I don't know if he'll be able to take over late like he did against Burns, against someone like Usman, who has such a high work rate and such great cardio.
Look at those numbers. And you talk work rate and you talk cardio for both of those guys.
Goodness.
Super, super high for both of them. An amazing fight. And I mean, that'll be up there on those fight of the year screens. Like Matt Brown, Brian Barberena threw down a couple of weeks ago. This was another one of those fights. It's just blood and guts. And if you have a friend that doesn't watch MMA, show them Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns and they'll get excited about it. Or they're not going to like MMA.
He loses to Usman and Izzy. Now, VT, I don't think that's the craziest hot take in the world. They are ranked 1 and 2 on the pound-for-pound scale. Not to give you a hard time. It's just, yes, he would probably lose to those guys. But, like, I feel like people are a lot lower on Khamzat after this fight than I thought they would be. Like, I don't look at this as a negative against Chimaev. I just think, okay, Burns looked really, really good, like he should, because he's a world-class fighter.
Yeah, I mean, if you thought Khamzat was going to dust him, I didn't
In
think
the back of my
Khamzat was going to
mind, I
dust
thought he
him.
could.
So, listen, I'm cool with it. I love that fight. That was an amazing fight. And hopefully for Gilbert Burns, like, there's never any talk of retirement. We get to see him back out because he had a super, super competitive fight with a blue chip of a prospect as we've ever seen. So, great fight out of Gilbert Burns, and I can't wait to see, more to come. Obviously, maybe if Bilal Muhammad drops the fight to Vicente Luque, they go, hey, pal, you get him. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I mean, Gilbert Burns, great performance there tonight.
Burns is a tricky guy for anybody because his grappling's so good. His striking's really good. It's just really great fight. That was by far fight of the night.
Neato!
That was a great fight for both guys.
Sex
But again,
pan.
so you would say Leon Edwards most likely next for Chimaev over Covington. Now, would you do Covington versus the winner of Edwards Usman? Like, to me, I think you would try to do the Covington fight, but it's weird. What does Colby Covington versus Khamzat Chimaev do for the UFC? I don't think those press conferences are going to be that great, to be completely honest. I think some people might like them, but I think it would be a lot of yelling back and forth and no good quotes or anything from it. And I really do think that type of stuff matters because then the UFC can share it
The
around.
Usman or the Masvidal Covington presser wasn't all that great.
But I just mean, like, with Chimaev, he does speak very good English, but I don't think he would go back and forth with someone like Covington, like, word for word, having quick lines back and forth. And with Covington, it is a lot of just, like, screaming, and then he needs somebody to sort of have the rebuttal back to what he says. So for the UFC, it's weird. The fight makes itself, neither guy's booked right now, but I don't think that fight would be as big of a money fight as it might look like on paper.
Chris Weidman hanging out with a guy that has an Aljamain Sterling. You got the governor there. And a guy with an orange shirt behind him.
It's a bright shirt, isn't it?
That's a bright shirt. I don't know. You got TJ Dillashaw who's here because he wants to fight the winner of this fight. Looks like they're probably gonna set that up. A Dillashaw.
Killishaw,
Dollar Dillashaw.
Let's
Maybe
go.
they're gonna set that fight up. Karen Bryant, where you at? You know what I
That
like?
was so funny. That was so cringy.
Karen Bryant, Alan Joban, Karen Bryant, whoever, on her YouTube channel. It's always enjoyable. I do watch it.
Just a little fun banter. No one's getting their feelings hurt.
I like Karen. They don't have enough of Karen on the show.
Wow.
They don't.
I hope your wife's not listening, Craig.
You know what I mean? I do like her as a part of the broadcast. I wish we get to see more Karen Bryant.
Karen Bryant. Shout out to Karen Bryant.
MMA Heat. A real one. Karen Bryant.
I definitely didn't wake up this morning thinking I'd dedicate a 45-second segment of my life to shouting out Karen Bryant.
A real one. So we have the rematch. In the first fight, it was what it was. Petr Yan, illegal knee, Aljamain Sterling, bantamweight champion. Next weekend in a main event, you have a rematch. It's Vicente Luque, Bilal Muhammad. Vicente Luque, surprised he needs a rematch because he dusted him in the first fight, UFC 205. McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, where there was a lot of yelling. It was by one woman, and she yelled Eddie a lot. Kind of like Petr Yan when he hit the scales yesterday. I went, ah! That is...
Quiet screams. Like, do you ever
No.
watch Rick and Morty? There's
Yeah,
a commercial in it called Tiny Bites, and that's immediately what it made me think of.
I gotta be
That's all.
completely honest with you.
Tiny Bites.
I'm gonna give away a segment of a video that I have, or a part of the video that's gonna come out next week. And when I look at Trey Ogden and Jordan Levitt, when I look at that fight, it's one of those ones where both guys submit. The majority of their wins are by submission, and to me, that's one of those fights. And I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna put it up on screen. It's Don King, Jeff Munson fight. Somebody's getting for free. So I will play that video because I love it and I think it's the greatest. But when I look at this one, Matt, Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan, it's a fight where Aljamain Sterling threw it all out there early, and then he started to slow down a little bit. Yan made the reads. I make the McGregor connection. You can make a Canelo connection. You can make any damn boxer connection that
Triple
you want.
G from this morning.
That takes it easy in the first few rounds because they know they got 12, and we're here for a good time. So when you look at it for Petr Yan, he does that. He can throw from either side. It's almost like he's ambidextrous, like he's Pat Vendetti. Like we're going out there and throwing out those mixing looks and the weirdness. But Matt, when we look at this fight, I mean, Aljamain Sterling, he can really get it done in so many different ways. He can get it done at all three levels when it comes to the striking. He has good wrestling. He has really good submission abilities. He is one of the most well-built athletes in this division. And for Petr Yan and for anybody else, it's not easy to beat Aljamain Sterling.
It definitely isn't, but I do believe Petr Yan was on his way to beating Aljamain Sterling in their first fight, and that's why he is such a big favorite this time around. Like, we've all seen this fight once before, and Sterling was having success early, but again, it's one of those cases to where, are you willing to give up a round early to start gaining or later on in the fight? And for Yan, he was willing to do that. You can show me everything, and if you go back and watch the fight, like the UFC showing the highlights right now, and Sterling was able to land a couple glancing shots, a lot of the strikes of Sterling do not land clean in that fight whatsoever. Like, it's a lot of glancing shots off the arms, off sort of the elbows. Jan's rolling with a lot of them. And on the flip side, when Jan lands on Sterling, he's putting him on his butt every single time. Excuse me, he drops him 2-3 times in the fight, and they're from different angles too. That's the thing I really like about Petr Yan. You bring up him being ambidextrous. Did you know Mason Plumlee switched his free throw hand midway through the season? Fun fact, he used to shoot them right, now he shoots them left.
No, but I look at Prince Vegeta's son's comment saying, again, Aljo should have brought Bryce Mitchell in for this camp or gone to Arkansas. But, I mean, he's got Marab in his corner. Marab's better than Bryce Mitchell, in my opinion. So
I don't know if you win that argument, though, just because you said it.
No, but to me, like, you know...
I'm saying, like, Bryce Mitchell just beat Edson Barbosa.
We have Marab at home. It's one of those types of situations where I don't think you need Bryce Mitchell just to get some different looks, especially to prepare for a guy like Petr Yan.
And Aljo's the jiu-jitsu one. Like, if anything, you'd think Petr should be the one training with Bryce Mitchell to help him with his jiu-jitsu and for some of the weird submissions that Aljo goes for. Because Aljo, to me, like, if anything, you should train with like a Chad Mendes to defend his wrestling, because with Jan, he's a great offensive and defensive wrestler. He is a good grappler. It's not really the part of his game that we see all that much be implemented offensively. He's more get into that really heavy position, use my ground and pound to then soften you up. So for Sterling, I really do think that if it is on the mat, he's going to be the one in control. It might not always look that way, but if I'm Jan, I just get up every time I'm on the ground with Aljamain Sterling. Like, we know how dangerous he is.
Prince Vegeta's son and Debbie Elder, you're not in my brain. My point is, when you already have Merab and you're facing a guy who's primarily a striker in Piotr Jan, I just don't see the benefit to paying the money and flying another guy in. That's just it to me, when you already have the Merab connection. But Matt, when we do look at this fight, again, for Aljamain Sterling, once Piotr Jan started to roll, like, that tide, like, it really is hard. Once Piotr Jan gains the momentum, you're going to have a really, really hard time to gain it back.
It's like Randy Johnson in 1999, the second way through the order. Like, the first time, he's just figuring out what, like, your kinks are as a batter, not the other way around like it normally works in baseball. And then the second time through, he'd make you look foolish.
And then the third time through, forget analytics from now. He'd still dust you.
Randy Johnson was a real man standing at 6'11", and he'd throw 120 pitches every single start. I love Randy Johnson so much.
Piotr Jan making the walk, your interim champ. He's got a corner that I love in Marcos D'Amata, a guy who can definitely get it done. The underrated coach of ATT, but I think he's starting to get his shine. I think we can all say that, or at least we talk about it enough. Because Conan Silveira, Mikey Brown, and the crew. Mike Brown out of Maine.
So hot right
He's
now.
a Mainer. And a big-time opportunity here for Piotr Jan to clear his name and really kind of get from out from behind that illegal knee. You know, everybody in the corner's thinking it.
How well do you know Mike Brown's MMA career?
Well enough, I'd say.
What's your favorite win?
Ronnie Yaya, he fought way back when, so there's that one. I don't know, Matt. What's your favorite Mike Brown win?
I like he knocked out Uriah Faber. That's definitely mine.
Oh, Uriah. Uriah's comeback, it was good, and then it was bad. It was so bad.
Awful.
Piotr Jan, though, big-time guy. Debbie saying 10-second opinion of the World Series Blue Jays. Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball. They go down 7-0.
Craig changes his favorite baseball team like he changes shirt size. So.
Got to catch them all because he's Danny Jansen. Hits a home run to cap it, 10-8. Big-time win there. Prince Vegeta's son looking for the Jelly Bellies. Again, it was a Costco purchase. It was an impulse buy because they were close to the front, but I do like the Jelly Bellies, and I do like the Costco. Great store. Never met him.
Wow.
But Matt,
story.
Big time fight. I mean, Piotr Jan standing on the Trojan logo, and when you talk about it,
and he stays protected at all time with his defense.
He needs a lot of protection when it comes to his defense. You took the words right out of my mouth. A quote from
Meatloaf. Here's the thing,
TJ Dillashaw standing in the background, mean mugging, not paying attention to Piotr Jan, keeping it low, just like Mike Napoli in like 2012, 2013. We got to get that batting stance out there. We got to ruin some hopes and dreams and extras, tossing out those big-time shots. But when we look at this one, Matt, interim champ, bantamweight champ, I need some refreshment, please.
What do you
in
want?
The fridge. They're green. Big clink clank. There we go. But Piotr Jan, again, looking to really affirm himself as that top bantamweight.
I think Piotr Jan's the best fighter in the world, so.
Yeah, you got a lot of pushback on that one.
That's
the
fine.
John Jones fans, the Usman
John
fans.
Jones? When was the last time John Jones fought?
2 years ago.
And he almost lost to Dominic Reyes. So
was-
if you're coming at me with that argument, you're out of here. Usman has a very good claim, but other than Usman, there's not a lot of people out there that you can honestly come at me and say, wow, skill for skill, they're better than Piotr Jan.
What type or what kind of player is Jung Chan Sung? All right, this is mine. Jose Iglesias. Why? Because he's been doing it for a long time. He's got defense on his side, and when he needs to do it, he has some very, very timely hits. And you always want to have a guy like that on your team. So for me, it's a guy like Jose Iglesias.
Sam Cassell. Two guys who have made all-star games and who at their peak are like genuine difference makers in their division and at their position. But the issue is, they look good at big opportunities, but have never really won the big thing. Now, for Sam Cassell, he was able to win an NBA title later on in his career with the NBA, or with the Boston Celtics. But, like, when I think prime Sam Cassell, I think of the guy who played with Kevin Garnett. I guess he won with Hakeem earlier on in his career. I think of the guy who played with KG, though, who came up a little bit short. Good, but not great, sort of in that level. Let's think about Chan Sung Jung. I think we're going to remember him more as sort of the action fighter for his Fight of the Nights than we'll remember his wins and losses and where he was in the division as a whole. Because for Chan Sung Jung, like, I couldn't tell you what his record is off the top of my head. I know a bunch of fights that he's had that I love rewatching all the time. So
17-6? 17-6.
Just trying to make a point, Craig. That it really does come down to, like, records in MMA don't matter whatsoever. I can't stress this enough. And for Chan Sung Jung, he really does prove that. Like, his level of popularity has reached a level that far exceeds his 17-6 record.
I mean, records don't mean anything. Jay Ellis has 100 pro fights.
But he's
and
awful.
over 80 of them are losses, but he continues to fight. So, Matt, Aljamain Sterling makes the walk. He has Ray Longo in his corner. Matt Serra, no longer a staple of that side. And when we look at it, he also has Al Iaquinta. Interesting stuff there. Former title challenger at 155 pounds. Yes, that happened. UFC 223. We also have Merab and another fellow that personally I don't know. I don't know him personally. I don't know him otherwise. But Matt, Aljamain Sterling, he is your champion. He's been around for a very, very long time. And that's one of those things. It was almost a slow burn for him to get to the top.
It did. It took him a really long time. Like, he had to submit Corey Sandhagen in 2 minutes to get a title shot. And it really was weird because he was near the top of the division. He came up short against Marlon Moraes in their fight. That was a wild knockout. People forget about how crazy that was. And it did sort of take him a while to have that slow build back up to the division. But I do feel like this time around, people are starting to give Aljo the respect he deserves. He is a little bit older. Of course, he has the belt now. But people are starting to respect that Sandhagen win, I think. I think in the immediate aftermath, I don't think people gave him the respect that he deserved for that win. But I do feel like it's aged extremely gracefully over time.
79% of the fans going with Piotr Jan in this one. He is the favorite if we have a look at the odds on Best Fight Odds. I will refresh them just so we can get a little bit of an idea. But Piotr Jan over a 4-1 favorite in this matchup. The average over there, he is a minus 423. Aljamain Sterling plus 325 as your champion. And again, it is not often that you see champions as an underdog, let alone that big of an underdog.
No, like, normally when I think of a champion being an underdog, it's like Stipe versus Francis the first time. And even that, it was like Francis minus 120, Stipe plus 110. Like, the odds were still very close in that fight, even though you did have the challenger being the favorite and being the guy with all the hype behind him. So you're right. It's not the it is uncommon to see the challenger being the favorite, of course. But this is one of those unique situations to where, like, it's not like Piotr Jan's some guy who's just recently worked his way up the ranks. Like, he's been there and done that and been able to put it on some of the best fighters in the world.
Frankie... Ugh. I don't know what you're gonna have, pal. I don't want to put some like jinx on it or a curse. Chris wants to see it, so he gets it. Come on, Merab! And we have referee Keith Peterson in this co-main event for the Bantamweight title. Matt, arguably the best division in the UFC right now. It is. To me, it is. It's my number one. It is.
135, 45, 55. It's really hard to pick between any of those three, personally. I really do think that all three of those just sort of represent the peak of the sport right now.
We'll have to see how this first round plays out. Once more, Piotr Jan, a little bit of a slow starter because he likes to really dial in the game plan, likes to learn on the job, which is something that some fighters just don't like. I mean, we saw Mackenzie Dern, her fight against Tish Torres, run across the cage and just try and get it done lickety-split.
And she left with a dub.
And Piotr Jan, not quite that fighter. So we'll see how it plays out for him. We also had Alexander Hernandez run across the cage and make it gritty and ugly. And I meant to say Anthony Hernandez, but the UFC also made that mistake and put it into a graphic.
Piotr Jan's NBA comp would be like Chris Paul. Just because he does. He thinks everything. And his physical attributes aren't ridiculous. You don't look at Piotr Jan, and he's not bigger than everybody else in the division. Like, yes, he's in very, very good shape. But you don't look at him and think, wow, he has any physical attribute that really gives him an edge over someone like Aljamain Sterling. But it is his way to think the game in a unique way. And it is his way to build upon rounds and upon moments in fights that really does set him him apart from just your average fighter. And that's what I go back to. I wish, because Jan is the perfect 135er, right? Like, he's too big to go down to 125. That'd be a big weight cut. He's not really big enough to fight at 145. Some of those guys are big. But if Jan was just a little bit bigger naturally, and if he could fight Volkanovski, to me, that is the all-time super fight skills-wise the UFC could put on. I really think that would be amazing.
Bruce Buffer feeling it. Keith Peterson calling him in. Voodoo, to give you that, I'll give you a damn it, Bobby. But Matt, when we do look at this one, propane sales and propane accessories notwithstanding, Sterling in the red corner, Petr Yan in the blue, and I will pop that timer up here. We can pause it. We can have a little bit of fun. Everybody for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you as we get set for the first round of 5 in our first of 2 title fights, Yan versus Sterling. Sterling opens it up with a body kick.
I think we'll see a lot of body attacks from Sterling, because again, he's not worried about getting taken down, so he can sort of let his game flow a little bit more, especially early on. But we did see Yan take him down off a lot of those kicks in their first fight, so it will be interesting to see what kind of a game plan Aljo has coming out this time.
Yan feeling it out, pushing the pace here a little bit against Sterling. Nice leg kick from Sterling early. He had those body kicks on point, couple of them out there. Looking to feel out that distance. You do not want to see an illegal shot from either guy. I don't want eye pokes. I don't want cup checks. I don't want oil checks. I don't want any of it.
No one does.
Leg shot attempt there from Sterling, and it's Petr Yan doing the skip to my Lou.
Much slower pace from Aljo to start this first round, though, compared to the first fight.
Really long takedown attempt there from Sterling that's defended and sprawled out from Yan.
And he normally tries to get the respect of his opponents a little bit more with the striking early on in the fight, but maybe since their first fight, he doesn't really want to play in that range at all with Yan. Because that is the thing, like, Sterling was able to land some strikes on Yan in their first fight, but he didn't hurt him with anything. Yan hurt Sterling on multiple occasions in their first fight.
Yan switching stances, closing distance. Sterling playing around with the kicks.
And when Yan gets out of range defensively, it's not like he's running to the other side of the cage. He's getting just out of range of the punch or the kick, and then he's right back in your face.
Good job with the kicks here so far from Sterling to the breadbasket.
Good right hand by Sterling. A lead right, too. Didn't set it up with anything.
Nice right hand from Sterling, and it's a good job by Yan to land a good one of his own.
And Sterling is doing a pretty good job at moving laterally on the outside, but Yan is doing an equally good job cage cutting. Like, these are just 2 really high-level fighters.
Another good kick there from Sterling. Another good kick from Sterling.
Really spamming those body kicks, but they're working to great effect.
Seems like that might be a theme for tonight. Yan working out a southpaw here.
That's the thing about Sterling. When he's having the most success, he's going like body kick, right high kick into an overhand left. Like, nothing he does is all that traditional, especially on the feet.
Yeah, a lot of movement here so far from Sterling. About 2:45 remaining in our first round of 5. Remember, this one's a title fight. To unify the belts. Ooh, big time.
Kick. And that's the power difference between these guys. Like, they land the same strike, but Jan's hits a lot harder.
Left hook from Yan and a body kick to follow in very quick succession. Nice straight shots here from Sterling. Good body kick.
Okay, these body kicks are starting to add up. I wonder if they will pay effect later.
Yan continuing to pressure. Switching stances. Working from southpaw here now. Sterling content playing on the outside. Good lateral movement so far.
Went for that one takedown early, but not much grappling since.
Goes for another one. Yan out of it.
And Jan's good at just not backing up with his takedown defense. He will exit on an angle, so you can't just continue to wrestle him.
Good leg kick there from Yan. Less than 2 minutes remain here.
Good strike from Yan. Got on the inside with a right hook.
Nice 1-2 there from Petr Yan.
Isn't it wild how the Jose Aldo fight almost unlocked Petr Yan's southpaw for him? It wasn't something we had seen a whole lot of.
The kick is defended there from Petr Yan. He checks that leg kick from Sterling.
He's learning.
Couple of good shots there from Petr Yan. Sterling out of the way.
Crashed
Sterling
in a little uncharacteristically there for Yan. Normally he's a little bit more patient with his entries.
Minute 25 remaining in the first round. Sterling looking to judge that distance here. Pawn out with his lead hand. Eats a left hook. Good shot at the body there from Sterling. Minute 10 remains in our first round. Yan looking to pressure the pace. Been a close first round so far.
Sterling been the much more active guy, though, off the back foot in this first round.
Petr Yan walking him down. Minute left. A lot of movement out of Sterling. You have to consider, too, he said he wasn't 100% for their first fight. You wonder what you get in this matchup.
Exactly. Could be a whole new version of Sterling. I'll be interested to see if he can get it down to the mat, though, and what kind of success he will have with his grappling, because we all know how good Sterling is down on the ground.
40 seconds left. Ooh, really nice lead elbow there from Sterling. Even though it caught part of the guard of Jan, it looked like it landed.
Paul Felder, Alejandro Ricci-esque.
30 seconds left here. Jan pushing a good pace, but can he do anything to win this one back?
But similar to the first fight, like Jan didn't do a whole lot early on in that fight, almost willing to give up a round just to get a little bit more information from Sterling. But that's a risky proposition, giving up rounds against other high-level fighters.
About 10 seconds left. Petr Yan playing defense, pushing forward. Sterling going for a single leg. 3 seconds left.
Great
Left
defensive
hook.
hips by Jan.
There's the end of your round. Nice body kick there from Sterling. Fully legal. Round 1, Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, I would say without a doubt.
Get you those numbers as we're still stuck on Burns and Chimaev. There you go. Live total. Bring it down a little bit. 11-8. The significant strikes. Seems like there were a lot more to me. That's just the UFC's website.
Good first round, though. Good pace by both guys. Jan just sort of, in that classic Petr Yan, when am I going to flip the switch category. That's what you have to remind yourself, too. Like, even when he fought Jimmy Rivera, it's like he lost the first 3.5 minutes of every round and then just turned it on the last 90 seconds and really hurt him. So, but again, Aljo looked great in that first round. If he can just keep on building like this, it'll be hard for Jan to figure out what his entries are to really land those damaging shots.
Debbie's saying Aljo's dominant, quicker movement and class. Good round for Aljamain Sterling, the champion, in the first. As we get set for our second round, BT saying round 1. Aljo doesn't seem like it's much of a debate. Keith Peterson getting a set. No nonsense. No nonsense. A little bit of nonsense. There we go. All right, here we go. Second round starts off. You got Sterling going for kicks. Jan looking to counter on kicks. Nice left hand lands for Jan.
But Jan needs something big in this round. He can't just settle on the outside and keep on trying to pick up information. He needs to be offensive at some point.
Jan looking to close that gap. Sterling, a lot of single shots here. Nice body kick.
Sterling just gives you so much to think about.
Yeah, really, really good feint there from Sterling. Looking to fake the takedown. He's got Jan flinching on those. Nice body kick there from Petr Yan.
But he needs more. He can't just do that one shot and then get back in your defensive mode. You got to really stay in the pocket with someone like Sterling.
Oblique kick there from Petr Yan. Maybe he's training with Tisha Torres in the back.
Could.
But a minute in, you got to watch those fingers as Petr Yan. You don't want those illegal strikes. Sterling going for a big takedown from far away. He did that again in the first. He wasn't successful with it.
Jan made him pay for that one, though. He did land a nice strike on the inside.
Another takedown attempt from Jan. He's deep on that single as Sterling, rather. Sterling on top.
Ooh, he's in full mount. He has the back of Petr Yan.
Mounted on Jan.
Oh my goodness. This is Aljamain Sterling's best position by far.
Petr Yan in a world of pain right
Aljo's
now.
got him in a body triangle up against the cage. This is a tough spot to be in for anyone.
This is the worst place that Petr Yan could find himself, and he's there, and it's now.
Yeah, you do not want Aljamain Sterling. This is basically like having a 135-pound Damian Maia. I know it's different, but you get the idea. Like, this is the submission guy at this weight class.
3 minutes and 20 seconds remain here in our second round. It's a lot of time for Sterling to work. Where we didn't have a lot of activity in the first round, we have a big time action here.
Jan thought he could give his back and explode out of that takedown attempt, but it did not work at all.
Baseball grip there. Jan switches it up. He's looking to push out. He's looking to try and slide out.
And Jan's really good at getting out of scrambles and being really defensive with his wrestling, but we've never really seen him in one of these set positions with his defensive grappling, especially not against anybody to the level of Sterling. So this is a huge moment in this fight.
Big opportunity here for your champion. This is one of his best positions. 2 minutes and 40 seconds remain here in this round. Petr Yan looking to try and get out of a dangerous, dangerous spot.
100%. Kenny Loggins wrote a song about this position.
Aljamain Sterling's last rear naked choke win was the Corey Sandhagen fight. And if you go way, way back through it, his last rear naked before that, 2013 against Joel Roberts. So definitely something that he is adept into. Can Petr Yan get out of the spot? So far, so good, but it's bad.
Can you imagine if he Suloev stretched Petr Yan?
No.
Be one of the wildest things to ever happen in MMA.
Sterling hanging out. Now he looks like he's going to attack the neck here. Jan doing a good job of defending. Little rabbit shots from the top.
VT right now is defending Petr Yan.
And then not.
Yeah. Like, I've defended some bad acts. This is a bad position for Jan to be in. Really isn't. For someone who did kind of give away that first round, too, he probably expected to have a lot more success
Sterling
in the second.
away. Petr Yan looking to try and get out of that position. Crossface here from Sterling. Now he's looking to try and get that hand placement.
Jan's trying to fight the hands, but Sterling's really deep with this position. Now he's going back to full mount. Got him flattened out with some heavy
back
ground
flat.
and pound.
This is where fights end right here, folks.
That takes a little bit more. Sterling's all over Jan, though. Just going from full mount to back to full mount.
Really in that danger zone. But a minute left in the round.
All Sterling round 2.
Jan's in a tricky spot right now.
This is just one-way traffic early on.
Jan's got a lock on that arm. Less than a minute remains. Can Jan slip out the back door? There's still that body lock from Sterling, though.
And he's been wearing on Jan this whole entire time.
Yeah, this is tiring for one guy, and this guy in the red trunks.
Well, without a doubt. Just as picture perfect as you could have planned this round for Aljo.
35 seconds left. Piotr's feeling good.
Smiling, having the time of his life. Do you think Petr Yan's a Neo and Pitbull fan? Do you think he got down to having the time of my life?
I don't know. 20 seconds left. Petr Yan hanging around this town on a corner. He's been hanging around for way too long.
All Sterling this round. Dominant stuff from Aljamain.
Great round there from your champ.
And after Aljo, you know, I just got to get him down one time and he can't get back up.
Well, apparently so. So a giant win of a round for Aljamain Sterling. Eager to see the scores. Seems like there's some 10-8s there.
Without a doubt, I'd say that's a 10-8. Jan was defending that whole entire time.
See if we get 10-8s out of the judges or if we get a 10-9. But it was a really strong round for Aljamain Sterling there. For Petr Yan,
do you think it was enough for a 10-8?
I think that one's a 10-9.
Fair enough. Personally, I thought it was enough, but it was.
Threatened with submissions, wasn't able to lock any in.
He
Had a
got
lot
two
of
rear naked
position
chokes.
for sure.
But he landed some good ground and pound on the back, and he had him fully flattened out. He was on top of him for 4.5 minutes.
This was Faya saying 10-8. Pablo is saying, I didn't see this coming. Debbie saying, what a beatdown. VT saying, LMAO. I don't know.
Jan needs something big early on in this third round to really get Aljo's respect, because the momentum has completely shifted to Aljo's side.
Yeah, he had a close first round. Sterling with the volume. Now we get set for our third round of 5. Sterling in control of the first 2. And here we go. Jan's coming out hot. Sterling going for the takedown. Jan playing defense here. Looking to land that left hook.
Big leg kick.
That's Tiger Muay Thai, Jan.
It really is. You can tell all that training's really paid off. And his ability to switch stances but still stay very similar to the fighter from both sides is very uncanny. Because most fighters, they can switch, but there is something different between their two stances. With Jan, it is very much mirrored.
Jan, another nice leg kick. This time on the inside, oblique kick from Jan.
He's really sitting down on his shots now.
Single leg from Sterling.
That's
Jan
a deep
pressing the
entry
head.
for Sterling.
Jan able to defend it.
Wow, that was a turning point. Perhaps. Really impressive, though. And that's the thing about Jan. He does have
Another
incredible
takedown
takedown
attempt here
defense.
from Sterling. He's starting to extend for some of these.
That's a good point. He was early, but he kind of got away from in the middle where he was having success. And he's sort of going back to what wasn't working for him.
If I can pull one out of the back pocket, this is kind of like when Travis Brown was fighting Derek Lewis. I'm having my Todd moment. Get out of there, Travis, on that takedown attempt. I think Sterling landed a big-time shot on that. Jan playing defense. Sterling going for the takedown, single leg. Petr pushes up against the cage. Didn't grab.
Didn't.
Double leg.
Wow.
Can Jan
Sterling's
get back
coming
up?
down again. He is on his back again. Petr Yan does not have an answer for the back control of Aljo, and he's got the body triangle in again.
Sterling's feeling it. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. He has no reason not to be confident. Jan has not shown the ability to get out of this position whatsoever.
Jan trying his best, but Sterling's in control again. 3 minutes 15 remaining here.
Really good stuff from Aljo. And again, this is exhausting for Jan to try to get out of it. And it's going to take the ref an awful lot to get Aljo off of Jan's back. Like, even if he's not doing that much and just holding on, no ref in their right mind is going to take him off of this position. It's far too advantageous.
You got the crank here going in for Sterling. You got Jan. Again, that body lock. It just takes everything out of you. One arm in there for Sterling. Jan just trying to do anything that he can to defend here. Sterling doing a great job. Can Jan circle out of this?
There we go. Jan trying something new. He has broken the body triangle at least. But again,
Sterling gets it right back. Less than half the round remains. But Sterling right back in the spot that he was in the last round.
Jan has no answer for this whatsoever. A little reminiscent to Brandon Moreno, Sergio Pettis. Sergio Pettis had a lot of success on the feet, especially later on in the fight, but early on, Brandon Moreno took his back, got the body triangle in, and Pettis just had no answer for it whatsoever. He just couldn't get back to it.
Jan still in the defense. Sterling doing such a good job here. Body lock is in. Less than 2 minutes left.
Incredible turnaround for Sterling, though. To be an underdog in your title defense, when, let's be honest, he was losing his first fight. Like, this is a complete 180 right now. Really nice performance for Aljo. Excuse me.
Yeah, great job. And I mean, hopefully the fans really show him the support over there on the social medias. Aljamain Sterling going out there and really putting on a great performance so far against Petr Yan. He won the first, he definitely won the second, and he's definitely winning the third round here. Tight body lock. Phoenix saying VT's breathing through his mouth, so no.
Dominant stuff. Jan is not able to do anything with that body triangle right now.
Yeah, see Shoop saying Jan's neck is non-existent. He's kind of hitting it like a turtle.
He has been able to. It's tricky stuff.
Just all position here so far from Aljamain Sterling. Jan trying to get out of this, trying to turn to his side, but not able to get out of this position.
And for Jan, you would expect him to just try to explode at some point, even if it isn't the most defensively responsible thing to do. It's really hard to give away potentially 2 10-8 rounds in a 5-round fight and expect you to win on the other end, unless you're that confident in your own finishing ability.
Closing in on about 30 seconds left in this third round. It's all been the body triangle and the back take of Aljamain Sterling. A story of 2 rounds. Petr Yan playing defense. A lot of hand fighting. Petr hanging out. It's the worst ride at Universal. Sterling's got my back.
I'm trying to think what the worst ride at Universal is, though. Fun fact, on the really, hyped up Harry Potter ride Craig and I were going to go on it as kids, we waited in line for 3 hours, and we got on the ride. It was really cool. One of the coolest rides I've ever been on. And about 50% through the experience, the power went out, our seats stopped, and they immediately made us get off, and we never got to see the end of it.
And then I did with my wife.
Well, that's nice.
I returned.
Craig, triumphant once again.
Petr Yan is down. He needs a finish now. He's lost 3 rounds.
That's funny, Dylan R. Good job. Paper champ beats rock. It seems to right now. Because these could very well be up 30-25 right now. And that's not a sentence I ever thought I'd say on camera.
No, a big-time performance here from Aljamain Sterling. And you've got Petr Yan. And his ability to defend that first takedown, it's been really good. I mean, Sterling's been going for them from long distance. Jan's been able to sprawl. He's been able to push the head. But then the second time, the third time, the fourth time, Jan hasn't really had an answer for those.
And the thing that is a little concerning, too, is Aljo went from full guard immediately into back. Like, there wasn't that much time spent, kind of finagling around positions. He went from worst position to most dominant position in about half a second. So if Jan doesn't have much of a defensive guard going, you might as well just give Aljo the back every single time he secures a takedown, no matter what kind of a takedown.
We set for the 4th round. Let's see what happens.
Big strike from Jan.
Petr Yan
hurt Sterling.
Looked like he did hurt Sterling there.
That was a big left hook to start this 4th round.
Jan trying to get the back here. Might not be the smartest fight IQ move.
Well, he still has 10 minutes, though. Is that Vitor? Sorry.
Sterling looking to do his best to get up. Yeah, to knee.
To the body. We're good. Close, though.
Petr Yan.
That's
Coming
the
back
start he needed.
strong. Oh, Piotr Jan lands another good one.
He's landed some big shots early on in this fight.
Sterling's hurt.
Yeah, he's on the back foot right now.
You're not even 30 seconds into this round. Let's see how... Ooh, big time leg kick from Jan. He's got to get out of this spot if he wants to do anything.
Exactly.
Sterling really trying.
I think he did the right thing at first, putting his hand on the top of his head, trying to push off, but he might be going for his own choke.
Sterling's got a right hand grabbed. Do not knee him, Piotr! Piotr taking the back. Sterling giving it up.
Sterling, low-key playing the game right there, just like backpedaling on all fours.
Piotr's got it. Now he's hammering away at that leg of Aljamain Sterling. He's got the back. We could see a big explosive spin move here. You know when you got Merab Dvalishvili, you know there's going to be some spins in camp.
And like Piotr can throw head kicks from this range. He did it against Uriah Faber. It's really, really weird stuff.
Piotr went for his own crazy elbow. Now we're back in open space. Ooh, jump knee there from
That almost
Piotr
got
Jan.
him. He's given Aljo a lot to think about in these first 90 seconds.
I'm sorry, Voodoo. I forgot to hit the timer. I get too excited. 3 minutes and 15 seconds remain in the fourth round. Piotr Jan out of the way of that takedown. Hit him in the cup. Keith Peterson's all right.
Sterling acknowledged it.
3 minutes and 5 seconds remain. Kick there from Jan. Sterling taking him
Took
down.
the back from No, he's too high on it. Jan's going to get out the back door. Unless he can grab an arm and finish with an armbar.
Sterling's high.
Yep, it's too high.
Can Jan get out? Jan's out and immediately goes into an armbar.
I don't know about that.
Jan gets his arm out and immediately gets into guard.
A little less danger here, but unless Jan starts hammering away with ground and pound, he was doing quite a bit of damage on the feet, at least early on, so I'm kind of surprised he's not more happy to just stand at range.
2 minutes and 35 seconds remain here in our fourth round. Sterling holding on.
Wild turn of events, though, to start this fourth round, because it looked like everything was going Aljamain Sterling's way until Jan landed that one, like, jumping in left hook.
2 minutes and 15 seconds left here. Piotr Jan looking to pour on some of this pressure working from guard. You never know, it could be too little too late. Sterling definitely won the second and third rounds convincingly. Won the first round as well on his volume. Piotr Jan with 2 minutes left here. Work from the guard of Sterling.
But I'm almost in the camp of, like, if Jan doesn't get a finish, I think he's almost got... Like,
yeah.
he's off... Yeah. Because Aljo looked so good in those first 15 minutes. He really did.
Minute 45 left here in our fourth round. Championship rounds. Piotr Jan with a good comeback, though. Not really able to mount a whole lot of offense from this position.
Definitely his round, though, in a fight that he needed to win one desperately.
125 left in the round.
But it could be too little too late.
Closing in on a minute 15 left. Piotr Jan hanging out in the guard here of Sterling. Sterling's holding on to anything.
But Sterling is doing a good job defensively, either threatening with a submission really fast or just grabbing wrist control on Jan.
Some good ground and pound there. Sterling goes to stand up. Knee from the back from Jan. Jan still with the control of the back.
Don't want that back.
Sterling
punch.
looking to roll out of it. Jan still on top. Jan still in the dominant
Almost got the
position.
crucifix there, too, on Aljo. That would have been a really, really nice spot for Jan. That's how he finished Andrade.
Jan working from a half guard here.
Sterling's done a nice job defensively off his back this round, I will say. He didn't win the round, of course, but he didn't eat that many big shots after he got hurt on the feet early.
30 seconds left. Can Aljo get out of this on a single? Playing on Jan's time, but really it is Sterling's time.
20 seconds left in the round. So definitely a Piotr Jan round.
Less than 15 seconds remain. Piotr Jan on top. Not really able to do much from this position. Keith Peterson watches on. There you go. 3 seconds left. 3 rounds to 1 for Aljamain Sterling. So we have a look at the numbers. Total strikes favor Piotr Jan, but it really was the story of round 2 and round 3 with the back control of Aljamain Sterling.
Really nice stuff from the grappling of Sterling. He did get held down a little bit, and I'm curious to see what he looks like at the start of this 5th round, because he did look a little tired, at least at the beginning of the 4th round. Now, to be fair, he got hit by the first shot thrown in the round, so I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I'm curious to see what version of Aljo we get in the 5th, especially since he expended a lot of energy in the first 4 rounds of this fight, offensively in the first 3 rounds, and then defensively that last one. So I do think, not that he has to win this round, but I think we'll see an Aljo just sort of try to avoid losing, and we'll have to see Jan really turn up his aggression.
VT had it Aljo 3-0, so I'm assuming you probably have it 3-1. Pablo's saying 2-2. Name a more boring champ than Aljo, LOL, Phoenix.
Tyron Woodley for the longest time. There's been a number.
Tim Sylvia. We get set for our 5th and final round. Title 135. Unifying it. One guy's got is that an AFC hat back there? I'm just a fan of the division. Petr Yan starting out fast, drops him with another leg kick, and Petr Yan keeping Sterling on the back foot. Nice body kick there from Sterling.
Yeah, it's been a great technique for him this fight.
Yan looking to make it happen. He presses forward.
Good left hook by Yan. That's starting to land a lot now.
Sterling with the takedown attempt. Petr Yan looking to defend this with all his might.
Gotta get his back off the cage, though, because Sterling can keep on wrestling if he can hold you up against the cage.
30 seconds in, and Sterling is fighting for this takedown.
But even if Sterling just fights for a takedown for 4.5 minutes, he'll win the fight.
110%. 4:15 remains. Sterling in deep on this one. Petr looking like he's going to be able to get out, and he does. And Sterling does look tired.
Jan's doing the math in his head. He's like, is an illegal knee kind of worth it right now?
Sterling doing a good job of pressing forward. Really good shots here. Pumping the jab out.
But there's not much behind them.
Jan looking to pressure forward. Sterling going for a takedown. Jan defends it.
Some telegraphed attacks now by Aljo.
Round 4 gave him the confidence. Another takedown attempt here from Aljamain Sterling. Gets the back of Petr Yan. Can Jan defend this? Trip from Aljo. Good job.
If Aljo gets the body triangle, this fight's as good as over.
3:35 left in the round. Sterling in a good position. Jan looking to work his way back up close to the cage. Sterling doing a good job here. 3:24 remaining.
Aljo on the flip side is like, you want to know what this feels like?
Aljamain Sterling took a year off to wrestle.
It's worked out. I wouldn't want to fight him. Got the submissions, got the wrestling. Tough fighter to crack.
Petr Yan gets out of this bad position. Sterling readjusts the cup, and we have about 3 minutes remaining.
Petr's the one pushing forward right now, though. Definitely going after it, trying to win this 5th, because he needs this round at the very least.
About 3 minutes left. Both guys look tired. Good shots from Sterling.
Yeah, that was a nice shot in the in-between.
Good body shot by Jan.
But again, he needs more. Like, he really needs to hurt Sterling this round.
Sterling going takedown attempt. Front choke here from Jan to defend. Pushing the head. Closing in on 2.5 minutes remaining. You got half a round remaining with Sterling up 3 rounds to 1.
Half a round left. If Jan wants to still be a UFC champion, he's going to need this one.
Sterling doing a great job. He zapped that power bar of Jan with all these takedown attempts. Petr pressuring forward. He's breathing heavy. Jan going for a takedown. He can feint them.
Sterling thought about like a Marge Simpson uppercut. He charged that up.
About 2 minutes left. Knee from Petr Yan, and he follows it up.
Couple good strikes. But again, unless he like flatlines Sterling, I really don't know how he's going to win this fight.
Pushes him away. Land the knee. Petr Yan hammering away on Sterling here now.
Good strikes.
Minute and 45 remaining in this 5th and final round. Jan pouring it on. And we've seen in rematches this Magomedov rematch where he really turned it on in that second fight. Decisive win. In this second fight with Sterling, not so. But 1:25 remaining.
And again, he's got to go for broke Jairzinho Rosenstrike Alistair Overeem style.
Jan working from southpaw. Up elbow there from Sterling. Jan defends another takedown. Sterling might be able to get it. Jan out of there.
Jan exploded off his back that time.
Sterling doing what he did in that first fight. Good job defending so far.
Good job defending.
But a minute left. Piotr Jan, less than a minute remains. Piotr
Aljo
Jan.
looked great in this fight, especially early.
Jan unable to do much from this position where he does have the back of Sterling, but not able to mount much for offense. And we got about 30 seconds remaining. Jan looking for that opening. 30 seconds left. Expect a big action out of these guys.
And Jan definitely did take over as this fight went late, because again, with Aljo, it's just sort of a byproduct of him having such a high output, especially early on in fights. He will tire as fights go on. It's just, Jan didn't really pick the best opportunity of when he should start pouring on the pressure. He picked it a little bit too late.
10 seconds left. Can Piotr Jan throw up the Hail Mary for the submission? We'll see. Sterling back up to his feet, 2 seconds left. So 3 rounds to 2. We're thinking and still in this one.
Yeah, I think Aljo got that one. I really do. I think his ground control was really next level.
Fearless Red 25. Jan 10-8. 2 rounds, split decision. There's no way
right
that
now,
happens.
Jan to win decision, the prop is plus 140.
That was a pre-fight prop, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was active.
You don't get props active.
Well, no, I just thought those were like the live odds right now for it. That's all.
So a big time fight there between Sterling and Jan.
Great comeback performance for Sterling, though.
Big time one, especially that long away from the octagon. Great to see him perform so well. Like, I mean, for Sterling, the wrestling was on point. The striking was great in that first round. On the back foot, side to side, working in those body kicks. Really complete performance. As complete as you'll get without getting a finish, especially early.
Exactly. Just the problem is he didn't look all that great later on, and that's the real thing that sort of separates just a good champion from one of those like pound for pound greats. Like Kamaru Usman doesn't just win fights; he looks consistently good from minute 1 to minute 25, and that's the thing. Like Sterling is still on that trajectory, and he still is getting better too. So it's interesting to see. Like we have a champion right now who is still making improvements every time out. So I think there's still another level of Sterling that he could potentially unlock, but that was. I wouldn't say that was as exciting as their first fight, but Sterling did look really good, and especially with his grappling and control on the mat. Like, Jan straight up did not have an answer whatsoever for the back control of Sterling, and I thought he'd have more.
He did not. Tricky spots. So Aljamain Sterling with a big-time performance. You see it there. He had the takedowns. He had the attempts. He also had a lot of ground control time in that fight.
Aljo's like James Harden from 3 nowadays. Just firing him up, hoping one lands.
Pretty quick decision, too. So we'll see how the judges scored that one. But expect the man from New York to get the win.
I would say.
For the and still. If Piotr Jan wins that fight, then yeah, I'll shoot the hot
decision,
sauce.
It looks like. My stomach's upset. I couldn't imagine seeing anyone. I think Aljo deserves this one without a doubt. Bruce is milking it, isn't he?
Aljamain Sterling, your winner. Goodness me.
Great performance by him in the comeback. This fight reminded me a lot of Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. I know that's a weird thing to say, but Teofimo took over early in their fight, and then Loma picked like the 8th round to come back, and they did really well from the 8th until the 11th, and then the 12th, Teofimo kind of hurt him again and brought some momentum back. But it was one of those cases to where the other guy started to look really good as the fight went on, but it's almost like he decided to turn on his aggression way too late in the fight. Because we were saying early on, like, hey, Aljo definitely won these first 3 rounds. Like, you got to do something big in the 4th. And it looked like Jan had at least started to do that. But enough can't be said about Aljamain Sterling. He didn't get the win by finish, but I really thought that his grappling looked phenomenal in this fight.
Split must have hinged on that first round. And to me, you didn't see any 10-8s there. I didn't for sure. I mean, again, the back control, but no big submission attempts there. No big moments.
I thought round 2 was a 10-8, and that was it.
Yeah, I disagree, but regardless, the right man won that fight. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I would think that TJ Dillashaw is in attendance. They try and make that fight. It seems like it's one that makes sense. Dillashaw, split decision win over Corey Sandhagen, a guy who couldn't beat Piotr Jan and couldn't beat Aljamain Sterling, but he seems to be able to beat just about everybody else.
I thought he
not
beat
TJ Dillashaw.
to be fair.
So did I.
Wow, Craig disagrees with the split? kidding. I thought that was a really nice performance by Sterling, though, and I was someone who had a lot of questions about him coming into this, because, again, you have a champion on a long layoff who had a serious injury. Like, those are a ton of question marks coming into this fight, and for him to go out there and dominate is a bit of a stretch, if we're being completely honest, but I do think just the performance he put on in the first 50 minutes definitely does justify him getting that decision.
Big time win there for Aljamain Sterling over Piotr Jan. And Debbie saying Aljo won't fight Jan anytime soon again, LOL.
Well,
Split decision. I mean, it was close.
But unless Jan wins, look at it the other way, though. Like, Jan has to justify getting back to the title shot. Not the guy who has the title has to justify fighting the really hard matchup again.
It really is tricky.
Like,
and
Sterling
now
has the thing Jan wants, not the other way around.
the website won't give us that. Man, there we go. Now we have Korean Zombie. We have Alexander Volkanovski. You have a giant fight coming up in that main event. And if you like title fights, you had one at bantamweight. You had a big-time fight. You had Piotr Jan. You had Aljamain Sterling in a rematch. In the main event, it's a new one. And for Korean Zombie, the last time that he fought for a title, it was against Jose Aldo all those years ago. You had that awful injury. He loses the fight. He had the time away from mandatory military service with South Korea. And then he worked his way right back up. And there were some bumps in the road. The fight against Yair Rodriguez. The fight against Brian Ortega.
The year and a half in between the Bermudez and Yair fight because he hurt himself.
Oddly enough, he's able to beat Dan Ige, ranked in the lower tier of the division, but he gets a title shot off it nonetheless. So a good opportunity here for Korean Zombie to get one over on Volkanovski, who seems like he's leveled up, but he also does have some flaws like everybody does. So this one should be a great fight.
But the thing about Volkanovski is I don't think he has any glaring flaws in this game, and that's what makes him so unique. Like, there's not a thing Volkanovski doesn't at least do well. He's great to phenomenal at everything else in his game, but, like, even the weakest part of Volkanovski's game, he is still world-class at, I would say, and that's what makes him so unique. Like, with the Korean Zombie, he has phenomenal punching power. He does have great submission ability, especially with his defensive submissions, but unless he does capitalize on a very early mistake of Volkanovski, I don't know what kind of Korean Zombie we're going to get in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, because this is the thing. I think Zombie has a good chance to win in the first 10 minutes, but I do think his power is going to start to fade at a certain point. And with Volkanovski, maybe their power is going to be equal in round 1 and round 2, but Volkanovski has some, like, all-time great output cardio, and Zombie does fade as fights go on. Now, he fights with a crazy high level of output, so it's not like he has bad cardio. It couldn't be further from that. It's just when you fight like he does, you will tend to tire as fights go on. This is the thing, though, that I think will be a big X factor, because we've talked about the Jose Aldo fight a few times, and just about his arm popping out, because it was very gross. He got out-wrestled by Jose Aldo in that fight. That was a weird case where Jose Aldo used his wrestling offensively. Not really something we've seen really before or after. That was sort of an outlier of a performance. But if Aldo can take you down, Volkanovski's going to be able to do it, and I really do think that Chan Sung Jung is going to have a hard time defensively with his grappling, especially in some of those set positions. And I'm not just saying that because we just saw Piotr Jan do it with Sterling, but when you see how good Volkanovski is from that half guard, top guard, even full mount positions, just how strong he is on top, I really do think Zombie's going to have a hard time on his back in this fight.
So if you do look at it in this context, I mean, for Volkanovski looking for win number 21 consecutively, which is crazy to think of. He's, 10-0 in the UFC? So that's kind of crazy as well. The 2 wins over Max Holloway, though controversial, were a lot of fun. FM saying, guys, Sterling won round 1. I agree with you. If you're going to message the page to say that Piotr Jan got robbed, you're a donkey. But Matt, Aljamain Sterling, Chan Sung Jung, do you expect a finish in this fight?
It's really hard to say. Again, the odds would suggest so. But they also suggested Khamzat Chimaev would destroy Gilbert Burns, and that was a very close fight. And they also said the same thing about Piotr Jan against Sterling, and that was a very close fight where the underdog was able to win. So I think there will be a finish. I really do. I do think that Zombie's durability has faltered a little bit at this stage of his career. I don't think he can eat the same clean shots that he ate earlier on, and I think this fight could look a little bit like Volkanovski versus Darren Elkins, where Zombie's going to have some success in sort of the mid-tier of the fight, but when Volkanovski lands those big shots, I think they will have a big effect on Chan Sung Jung.
Yeah, we'll see how it happens. And again, we kind of talked about Volkanovski, but susceptibility to some of those tricky ones, sometimes they get through the middle and you see Volkanovski kind of back up. But once he's on and once he brings his game, Volkanovski's one of those guys that obviously we know he's kind of short, he's kind of compact, but he has all of the skills and all of the tools. And you talk about it, maybe submission offense, maybe that's not on like a Hall of Fame tier. Submission defense, it's pretty damn good though. We've seen that. That's pretty darn good. When it comes to the volume, when it comes to the power, Volkanovski's one of those guys. He does have all of that with him. But for Chan Sung Jung, I mean, he's one of those guys, you talk about it, great striking, odd submissions, especially you look at the rematch with Leonard Garcia. He's able to get that crazy twister. The first fight against Leonard Garcia that he doesn't win, it's probably one of the wildest fights ever.
It is.
So, a lot of great experience to draw from. 17-6, the overall record for TKZ. We talked about it when he came back. He fought Dennis Bermudez. He was able to get the win there. Dennis Bermudez, really underappreciated by just about everybody.
Korean Zombie has the best walkout in MMA, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I would think so, without a doubt.
Peter Queally has it too, but it's cooler when the Korean Zombie
when
does
they
it.
put like all the lights in, you just hear like the no, 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 no. You know what's gonna happen? The craziest fight you'll ever see.
Or not. Or not.
When Korean Zombie's about to fight, normally you're about to get something wild. So
The Dan Ige fight, not so.
it's a pretty good fight, though. I wouldn't say it was a bad one by any stretch.
Korean Zombie pulling out a complete performance, utilizing his wrestling as well. Out wrestling Dan Ige. Who'd have thought?
He looked really good, though.
Oh, he looked great.
Thing about Volkanovski, I thought right before he got put in this guillotine, he got hurt by the shot that Ortega hit him with. You don't really get a good view of it because it's so fast. It's like he hits him with a straight right, they fall down, and then he's in the guillotine. But I do worry about Volkanovski's durability a little bit. I don't look at him and think, wow, he has a bad chin by any stretch of the imagination. But again, he's someone who has been hit clean a number of times, and we've seen him hurt a few times in the UFC at this point. So anytime you're fighting against a puncher like Chan Sung Jung, you got to worry about somebody who we have seen get clipped in the past, to your point. And with techniques that Chan Sung Jung is very good at employing.
Getting a little bit more of a preview for this fight on the broadcast. Walter Sengyan won. There's a lot of people.
This is my problem with fights like this, and I really do want to get your opinion on this, Craig, because this isn't the right way of doing it, but this is always the way I think about fights, and if I'm really going to be outraged about someone winning or losing. The only things that we can all agree on about that last fight were that Aljamain Sterling dominated 2 rounds. Like, round 2 and 3 were not even close, and Aljamain Sterling definitely won those rounds. Round 1 was very close, but I would say Sterling won. He landed a few more shots with his volume. Round 4 was very close, but Jan might have edged it, and round 5 was, round 5 was Jan's. So I just think Aljo, even if you don't think that they were 10-8s, what he was able to do in his rounds were much more. Like, I just don't think it would have been a crazy robbery either way. It was a close fight. They happened.
Yeah, I think Aljamain Sterling won that one halfway convincingly. So, I mean, a big-time win for him. Jason Peters had him over on Twitter. There's a lot of people that are upset about it. Anthony G sent me a message on Twitter or tweeted at me and said, done watching the UFC, judges ruining the sport. It's becoming exactly why fans stepped away from boxing. I disagree with that one. There's some bad calls. That wasn't one of them.
I think a lot of people had some parlays busted and they're upset about it.
I'd say that's probably it. But Korean Zombie taking on Volkanovski. It is one of those fights. Like, I can't wait to see this one. I'm
more excited for this than I should be.
Yeah, it's one of those fights where, again, you have a big time favorite as your champion. Can he come through? That's kind of the big thing now.
Exactly. And he's admitted this too. Like, he had a quote earlier this week where he's like, listen, I kind of realized this is probably going to be my last opportunity to fight for a belt and be in the top of this division. So, like, if I'm ever going to be a UFC champion, it's going to be right now, and this is going to be my shot. And Korean Zombie, other than the one time against Brian Ortega where he didn't really look like himself, I don't worry about him as like, wow, he's gonna like cheat the sport. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure the Korean Zombie's gonna show up the best version of himself. And if he is able to do that, I think it's a tough fight for Volkanovski. I really do. Even though it seems like the story has been Volkanovski's gonna run over him. This is short notice. The only guy who can hang with Volkanovski is Max Holloway. And while that might be true, maybe Max is the only guy out there that you think can convincingly beat Volkanovski in a fight. I don't think Chan Sung Jung is a pushover by any means whatsoever.
No, 100%. As we get set for this big time main event, it's 2:01 local time. We still have a 5-round title fight. The Ultimate Fighting Championship doing us no favors on the East Coast, but these guys are an hour behind. No, are they even? I'm gonna check. I can't remember.
Yep, they are, I think.
Let's see what the time is in Jacksonville. 1 a.m. Yeah, so 1 a.m. and they still also haven't had the big time title fight, so it is late, and it's really late for those folks over in Europe. And that Singapore card that's coming up soon, that card is going to cater to the North American audience. So if you thought you were getting a favor in
Korean Zombie with mid-afternoon energy, though.
in the Southeastern Asia regions, you thought New Zealand, Australia, you guys are going to get a break as well. You won't. You won't. Ash saying Burns got robbed, right?
I don't know about that.
Please stop with the
Not
robbery
everybody
talks.
who loses a close fight got robbed, guys.
Harry Powell saying 602 here, my man. Yeah,
Wow.
it's insane. Insane.
I'm really excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a good one.
TKZ getting a big gulp of water.
Did you see him pull like the Kawhi Leonard not sponsored by Gatorade move?
No.
So there was a monster can. Have you seen? I don't. Forgive me. I don't know exactly what company it is, but it's like the South Korean equivalent of like 7-Eleven. It's like a corner store, and they're running a Korean Zombie energy drink, a burger, and there was another thing involved too.
I think I did see that.
It was
yeah.
a really big deal. At Korean Zombie, there was a like Monster Energy can on the table. He took that off and said a thing about his own energy drink. I just thought it was funny. It reminded me of Kawhi at the All-Star game.
E. Spencer Kite says, you're both insane and I adore you for it that we're staying up this late to watch this card. E. Spencer Kite, his tweets get on the TV. My tweets, never. But Invicta, yes. And Bellator. Matt, big time opportunity here though for TKZ as he stands on top of the Trojan picture. And the last time I mentioned that, it was for Piotr Jan. He lost his fight. Not that those two
And here's
things
the
are
thing,
correlated.
I will say, I think Trojan probably offers better protection than what the Korean Zombie does, on the feet at least. Because that's the one part about his game. You don't get the nickname the Korean Zombie by being a defensively sound fighter. You know? He'd be called like, I don't know, the Korean Floyd Mayweather, not the Korean Zombie. Just, it doesn't implement his style. It's like with Justin Gaethje. You don't get the nickname the highlight reel by being defensively sound and working behind your jab. Like, he got this name for a reason. He does fight in that style. It's just, at 35 years old, I don't think we're getting the same Korean Zombie that we got, like when he first came over to the UFC, or even when he first came back from his military service in that initial Dennis Bermudez fight. And it was weird, because you almost have to think of it in like three different parts, you know? Because there was the initial rise of the Korean Zombie. He had the military layoff. But I do look at the layoff between Bermudez and Yair as its own layoff. He had a very significant knee injury in that time off. And it was a significant amount of time. So in reality, we've lost out on almost like 4.5 years of this guy's prime, which is wild to think that he's still been able to stay at like the world-class level, but miss out on that much time.
I never thought that the Korean Zombie would fight for UFC title again. If you told me 3 years ago, hey, it's going to happen, I would have called you a liar.
You're like, hey, he's a good fighter, but that's too far.
Yeah, and it had been so long away, and then losing to Yair Rodriguez after winning, 24 minutes and 59 seconds of that fight. Like, it is crazy. And that Denver card was wild. That was a lot of fun to watch. So, Alexander Volkanovski making the walk. He's got a big-time opportunity here, of course.
People still arguing about the Aljo Jan. This is the problem. First round, Jan had pressure and significant strikes. Significant strikes can win you that argument. Pressure is the last thing that judges are supposed to use when they're scoring a fight. So pressure really only comes into the equation if you think they are exactly tied like 50-50 throughout the whole entire fight up until the end of that round.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Sterling landed really well from the outside.
Really well, I feel like we're tipping it too far the other way. I just think he did a little bit more of this volume, especially with his pitter-patter. It's just, Jan didn't do anything big enough to really say, wow, he won that round. I think Aljo or Merab helped Aljo big time. He definitely did. And that's a great relationship to have, too. Like, in the same weight class, not that stylistically they're similar. They both offer their own thing to the table, but that's just great work that I'm sure those guys are getting in with each other day in and day out.
Alexander Volkanovski making the walk. And listen, and again, it's kind of tough with fight bookings and everything that's out there. Obviously, Yair Rodriguez doesn't have a dance partner. Max Holloway doesn't have a dance partner. It's not necessarily the way that my question goes, because I would think Holloway, T-City, Cater, Rodriguez, Allen, Emmett, Chikadze, Bryce Mitchell, none of those guys have fights booked right now. But nobody's done anything big enough to wow Volkanovski to really think, hey, I got to fight that guy next. So really, he is kind of teasing the move to 55, or at least entertaining a fight with Charles Oliveira. But it is tough to try and matchmake for Volkanovski. What's next? If he wins this fight.
It is, because he's been around for a while, but the good news is this division is really deep. And you're right. No one really has a solid claim to getting a title shot. There's a lot of these like half title shot earners, if you will. Unless you do want to give it to Max Holloway since he was able to beat Yair in his last fight. But I think you should do Calvin Kattar versus Yair to figure out who the next title challenger should be. I think that'd be a really fun fight. That's a fight for the fans. That's a fight that'd just be phenomenal between those two guys. Because Kattar looked so good against Giga Chikadze that you need to give him a big opportunity next. And Yair had one of those very rare fights where you lost, yes. But guess what? Not a single MMA fan who watched that fight cared about the result at the end of it. Everybody thought, wow, Yair Rodriguez has like improved his inside boxing, and he was genuinely able to like crack and hurt hurt Max Holloway, with his hands in that fight. So I really think Yair versus Calvin Kattar would be a fun fight, but you know the name I'm going to bring up, Craig. Who's the forever dark horse in this division who can end any fight with one punch? Josh Emmett.
Josh
Emmett, I really do think, and it's one of those cases of where who does he fight to get to a title shot? But isn't Josh Emmett low-key a bad matchup for Volkanovski? He's hard to take down. He's a good wrestler. He hits extremely hard. He has good cardio. Defensively, I'd say he's sound, although he can get hit by big shots. It's just, he's one of those contenders where you look at and you go, okay, Emmett's kind of a bad matchup for the champion. You just can't really draw the map to get him there. Like, it'd be really hard to say, oh, he could beat Yair and then Max Holloway and then do it. But I always think that's a name out there that's a difficult matchup for anybody.
So we get the final particulars. 35-year-old Chan Sung Jung, 33-year-old Alexander Volkanovski. Bruce Buffer giving us the intro for this one. Matt, again, when you look at the overall fight, it's the numbers. 21 is what Volkanovski's looking for. 10 wins in the UFC. And it's one of ththose rises that, like, from Mizuto Hirota until now. Like, it's just crazy to see the guys that he's fought, too.
I can openly say this. I remember when he fought Jeremy Kennedy, I told my buddy Adam Patterson, I was like, I think that guy might be a bad matchup for Max Holloway. And I never thought he'd fight him. And he didn't fight him at all the way I thought he would, but he did beat him. And I picked against him both times. But Volkanovski, again, some fighters live on that extreme. Again, I bring up like a Chris Davis. Shaquille O'Neal's sort of like the greatest example of this of all time. Because Shaq's strengths were so obvious. You give him the ball within 6 feet of the net, there's nothing you can do whatsoever. But there were some weaknesses too. You could foul the heck out of him. You could force him to become a shooter. He's one of those guys where you'll live with the massive strengths of his game because they'll overshadow some of his weaknesses. Volkanovski's not like that at all. He's almost like, and I know LeBron James, like I'm not trying to say he's the best ever, but you know what I mean? He's just so well-rounded. Can he play make? Can he shoot? Can he finish on the inside? Volkanovski can do everything at a very, very high level. And he did show that against Max Holloway. And isn't it interesting how sometimes guys win close fights and it's seen as like a massive feather in their cap and a huge resume booster? And then other people win close fights and it's like, okay, well, we wanted the other guy to win, so we won't give you that respect. I felt like Volkanovski didn't get the respect he deserved whatsoever after the first fight against Holloway.
100%.
The second time, more people did come around, even though I'm going to be honest. Their first fight, I thought Volkanovski not beat the brakes off Holloway, but I thought he won that first fight very convincingly. Their second fight, I think there is a very, very real argument for Max Holloway winning it, but Volkanovski was able to do enough, and I did feel like it was enough to sort of push him over the edge. This is the last thing I'll say. Volkanovski's not a huge personality, right? Like, he's not an insignificant one by any means, but like, Alexander Volkanovski, you can just sort of see as like a regular dude who just so happens to be very, very good at MMA. I have noticed a lot of just my friends who are only casually interested in this sport because their friend Matt probably never shuts up about it, but I've had a number of friends talk to me this week about like, hey, that Volkanovski guy is fighting this weekend. I watched his last fight against Brian Ortega. Does he normally fight like that? Like, that fight was great. I've got to watch him fight more. So I actually do think there's going to be a few more eyes on this fight than maybe we even suspect. I'd be curious to see. I know ever since the ESPN deal, pay-per-view numbers aren't that big of a deal, just because there's the guaranteed revenue from ESPN. But I would be curious to see what the numbers are associated with this pay-per-view, because not a lot of big names on here, but I will be honest, I've had a pretty high number of DMs, I'd say. I've had a high number of fans who don't like normally reach out to me about this fight.
I didn't have a lot of people talking about this one.
Fair.
And numbers-wise, it didn't do all that great. I mean, Shemaya Burns really took the cake. The Sterling-Yan rematch really did it. This fight, in particular, didn't do it. It didn't really bump the needle all that much. Now, a lot of people like Korean Zombie. I saw a ton of those t-shirts out there
cool
on social media. I think I've got one in my closet somewhere. I got a white one that I bought somewhere. But And I love a Volkanovski fight, but it's just not one of those ones that really gets the people going. Now, for some people it does, and for some people it doesn't. And we get set for our second title fight, and I will get set for the 5-minute timer. We have the opportunity to pause it, do whatever we need.
I just couldn't imagine watching this fight against Brian Ortega and being like, that's not for me.
Nah, I don't want it.
That's one of the best fights ever.
All right, we get set 5 minutes. Total 5 rounds at 145. Nate saying he lost to Holloway. Number 2, Phoenix saying classic wrestler versus boxer.
And their second fight was a lot closer than the first, I thought.
Ash saying Colby can't punch like Burns. No, he can't.
Certainly can't. Has better cardio than him.
Casbar Bear, I appreciate you. And then tomorrow, we get set for Luque versus Muhammad 2. Might be a later in the day thing. Late-ish in the day. Volkanovski looking to pressure forward. We're only 30 seconds in. Nice leg kick there.
Yeah, really good.
Inside.
And he timed it really well in the advance of Korean Zombie. Nice lead left hook by Volkanovski.
Volkanovski has already wobbled the Korean Zombie and made him switch stances, so it seems.
I think switch stance is a bit of a stretch, but...
TKZ looking to throw out some of those feints.
And that's the thing about the Korean Zombie. I know he has switched his style a little bit at this stage of his career, but he still is that, brooding forward kind of puncher.
He is eating a lot of shots for his troubles.
The hand speed of Volkanovski is really at another level. He's getting on the inside and really making him pay.
Nice leg kick from Jung.
He's going to try to catch Volkanovski coming on the inside, though.
Volkanovski, when he's closed the distance so far, he's landed some really, really good shots. 3.5 minutes left in the first round. We've had a lot of action so far.
We have.
Nice jab there from Volkanovski. Nice leg kick.
And just tell there's a fundamental difference to how these guys go about their fighting. For Korean Zombie, a lot more flat-footed, and then you see the movement of Volkanovski. There's not one of those, foot trackers in the UFC, but if there was, a distance traveled, Volkanovski would be in the kilometers compared to what Korean Zombie is.
That's a PFL stat you could probably find out
It
there.
is. They brought it up once. I remember when Gustafsson fought Daniel Cormier, they brought up the stat during the fight. They were like, Gustafsson's traveled almost 2 kilometers. But that's the only time I can remember them bringing it up in a high-profile UFC fight.
Volkanovski pumping it out there. Nice kick to the body.
And most of the time when fighters
Zombie
are
looking
active,
to counter here.
that was a nice jab by Volkanovski. Most of the time when guys are just really active, they don't have a lot of variety to their strikes, but Volkanovski showed that lead head kick too. He can mix it up too and throw some weird things from different angles at you.
Good leg kick from Zombie, but it was Volkanovski. Ooh, these guys are swinging.
Volkanovski's having a lot of success when he's just getting on the inside, throwing his hands.
Volkanovski, another good jab. He gets a big reaction out of Zombie, too, when he throws it. Left hook there lands for Volkanovski. Bit of redness there on the right side of Jung's face.
Surprised we're not seeing a few more leg kicks out of Volkanovski. Something he's used a lot in his last few fights, and Korean Zombie is someone who will stand quite straight up. He is very boxing heavy, so not a big leg kicker, not a big checker at the leg kick, I should say.
TKZ with the wraps, the sleeve around his right ankle. 155 remaining. Ooh,
Those
two
were
big shots.
Yeah, Korean Zombie's hurt. You could tell he couldn't really get his distance back after he got hit by those.
Yeah, Volkanovski's been able to tee off in this first round.
Zombie's got to get his respect on the feet. Because Volkanovski's able to fight this at whatever range he wants to. He's going on the outside, reset, and throwing a kick. And the second he gets into boxing range, he's really making him pay with his speed.
Sharif's asking the question everybody wants to know. It's 2:15 a.m. 125 remaining here in our first round. Good inside leg kick from Volkanovski, dipping himself out of the way. Clinch situation initiated by the Zombie. A good head position here from Volkanovski.
Who seems to be the much faster guy. That's really been the story of this first round.
Yeah, speed differential, not all that close.
Big takedown from Volkanovski.
Takedown, Zombie working from his back. Hook. Volkanovski looking to hold things in position.
Good job defensively for Chin Sung Chung to get back up to his feet. I really thought that if Volkanovski was able to get that top position, he'd just hold it for the whole round.
45 seconds remaining here. In the first round, it's been pretty well all Volkanovski so far. We've seen some of those blitzes, though. We've seen some of those exchanges between both these guys, but it's pretty well been Volkanovski winning out. Korean Zombie eating a knee and then a left hand for his troubles. 30 seconds left.
It's so interesting how many different characters Volkanovski can play in the same fight because he is always switching it up. He's never giving you the same look every single time he resets. There's always going to be a little thing that's different no matter what.
Left hook there from the zombie. Good body kick from Volkanovski. Oh, he drops him.
That hurt him bad.
That won't count as a knockdown on the stat sheet, but Volkanovski just wobbled Korean Zombie and then just about dropped him with a leg kick.
I would say that's
good jab, Volkanovski. The old easy 10-9 for Alexander Volkanovski.
Borderline 10-8 from the knockdown, though. Zombie didn't land much in that round.
Big time round for the champion. We'll get those total numbers. 33-13 are the strikes. They won't count that as a knockdown, but that was a knockdown.
That's a knockdown no matter what.
Good one for Volkanovski.
Great first round. He faced zero adversity whatsoever. And that's kind of what Volkanovski needs. Like, he's been in a few hard fights lately. Like, if he could have a fight and get out relatively unscathed, that's sort of what he needs for his career right now. Get him back in there sometime soon against one of those big matchups like we were sort of saying at the beginning. Because there's a lot of fun fights at 145. Like, they could run back Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 7 times, and guess what? Even if Volkanovski wins the first 6, I'm probably still going to be interested for number 7, so...
Fight until they're 50. That's what we want to see. Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz-esque.
Just timing Korean Zombie on all of his entries.
Good job there, though, from Volkanovski in that first round. Big time round. What people expected it to appear on.
Exactly, and I'll be the first one to raise my hand and admit that I was wrong. I really thought Korean Zombie would have more success, especially early on in this fight, but he didn't get anything going in the first round.
Looking to throw a lot of feints out there is the Zombie in the white trunks. Volkanovski in the dark, befitting a champion, as they say, 15 seconds in. Zombie looking to close that distance. Nice leg kick there.
But other than, 4 or 5 leg kicks in the first 2 rounds, he really hasn't been able to get much going. He tries to bang, for lack of a better term, with Volkanovski when he gets on the inside throwing hooks, but Volkanovski's so much faster getting to the target.
Speedy, and those inside leg kicks for Volkanovski really doing some good damage to the lead leg of the Korean Zombie. And for Chan Sung Jung, he just hasn't really had a response to the kicks. He hasn't really been able to check any of them either.
No, he hasn't. That was a nice jab by him, but he needs more. He can't just have that one little bit of success, grin, and not do anything.
Volkanovski looking to get wild here. Lands a big right hand.
Volkanovski's just so accurate, though.
Good leg kick from the Zombie. Good feint.
Zombie looks a lot bigger, but Volkanovski just real physical guy.
The 5'7" that they list the Korean Zombie as, got to be 5'9". Oh, he gets wobbled by a left hook on the entry.
Volkanovski's fighting a great fight right now.
Volkanovski. Good leg kicks here from Korean Zombie. It's going to be tough to beat Volkanovski on the leg kicks, though.
Nice jab, too, from Volkanovski. Like, normally when you have a fighter who will be winning a lot in, let's say, the big power shots, normally there will be a takeaway from another part of their game to where maybe they don't have great volume. That's what I mean when I say Volkanovski can play different characters. He can throw power shots and sit down on them. He can just play sort of that pitter-patter style. Nice left hook by Korean Zombie, though.
Korean Zombie looking to come back. Eats a right hook for his troubles.
Volkanovski's landing with power every time Zombie steps into the pocket. That was a nice front kick.
About 3 minutes remaining here in the second round. Title fight, there will be 5. And for Korean Zombie, he did have that nice left hook. He's had some good leg kicks. Volkanovski's been switching his stances here. Now he's working out a southpaw, giving him a different look. But again, for Volkanovski, that left kick right to the knee of the Zombie's been working for him quite well here through the first 2 rounds. 240 left over. Big right hook there for Volkanovski, mixing in the kicks once more. Makes it easy.
Oh my goodness, that was a
He hurt him!
This fight's going to be over if he can land a few more. That was a clean right hand by Volkanovski.
Zombie trying to tee and tie him up.
Good left hook by Zombie.
Looking to get crazy in that wildness. Volkanovski going takedown.
He had Korean Zombie in all types of trouble, though, with that right hand.
Volkanovski looking to work for the takedown. Looks like Korean Zombie's hurt.
That was a nice trip takedown, though. Getting his left leg wrapped.
There looked like there was a big wince and pain there from Zombie. We'd have to see the replay, but on that takedown from Volkanovski, he's working here from half guard up against the fence.
You know what fight I'm about to say.
Stacking.
This looks a lot like the Jeremy Kennedy fight, where he held him in the corner and beat him up like Mark Coleman.
Poor JBC. Volkanovski pulling away here. Might try and grab the back. He's trying to post up.
Just wearing on Zombie, though.
140 left. You don't want the illegal knee.
You don't.
Ooh, elbow attempt. Big time on the left hand there from Zombie. Volkanovski changing levels. Looks like it was a good idea. You got an underhook from Zombie.
Good takedown defense by Chan Sung Jung.
Look at the total strike numbers, though. Significant. 50-19.
Landing at almost a 60% clip. That's wild.
Low percentage from Zombie. Ooh, uppercut to a left hook from Volkanovski. Looks to land a right on the break. He's unable to get it, but Volkanovski really finding a home for his hands tonight. They're going to be warm in bed.
Yeah, he's looked phenomenal. Landing to the body, to the head. He can counter. He can lead the dance. Like, really showing us everything.
Big time right hand lands for Volkanovski.
Yeah, Zombie's been hurt numerous times. That was an awesome sideways trip takedown.
Yeah, the takedown defense there from Korean Zombie just hasn't worked out against such a high-level guy in Volkanovski so far tonight.
That was Joe Lozon-esque.
Kind of a big deal.
I love Joe Lozon.
Ooh, big right hand lands for Volkanovski. Can he finish it in this round? He's fighting a tough guy.
Maybe not this round, but it's trending towards a stoppage victory for Volkanovski. This has been a one-sided match so far.
But 20 seconds remain here in the second round. Big jab there from the champ. Korean Zombie marching him forward, swinging for all he's worth. Looking a day late and a dollar short for the Zombie so far in this matchup as we approach the final seconds. There we go, and there's the end of the second round. So it's been all Alexander Volkanovski so far.
2 great rounds for Volkanovski.
77-25, the strike numbers.
Not a great sign when a guy's just sitting on the ground, not on the stool.
Unless you're Alexei Oleinik.
I was going to say in the middle of the round, honestly, you could stop this fight in between rounds and I'd be fine with it. That's a very boxing thing to say. But Korean Zombie hasn't landed a single, let's be on, significant strike. I know he's landed 21 of them, but he hasn't landed a single strike that makes us think, wow, that hurt or that changed the outcome of this whatsoever. And he's eaten about 17 strikes that have genuinely wobbled him. So it's concerning body language out of Chan Sung Jung in the corner. And Volkanovski, not really known as someone who's going to get tired as the fight goes on. Normally builds, if anything, gets stronger.
JD, man, those last 2 fights really let me down going to decision. Proud of my boy, Alexei Oleinik, 60th win tonight. Alexei, where you at? Showing Jared Vandera how to do the move on the takedown after. I don't know if you saw that tweet.
I did.
It was weird.
Good
and then Jared wanted to hang around. 1 of 4 in the UFC in about a calendar year. Jared Vandera at heavyweight. 12-8 the record. Now, as Volkanovski looks to continue the run that he's had in these last 2 rounds, looking to make it perfect record.
Head kick from Volkanovski. That was clean.
Ooh, big time jab lands there for Volkanovski. Popping his head like a Pez dispenser, so they say. Ooh, Zombie.
Good left hook. It was a little looping. It wasn't the most technical, but it did land for Zombie.
Zombie doing a really good job here. Volkanovski looking for the kick. Lead leg of Chan Sung Jung out of the way.
Zombie having a little bit more success here these first 40 seconds. Landed a couple strikes.
This is where he needs to turn it on.
It is, but he needs a lot more than this.
Let's see the comeback. 50 seconds into the round. Nice leg kick there from Volkanovski.
It was. Just such a smart fighter as Volkanovski.
Good step-in jab attempt there from Korean Zombie. I don't think it was able to land. Nice uppercut there from Zombie. Couple of hooks. Volkanovski playing defense here. Big uppercut from the Zombie.
When Korean Zombie's throwing a combination, he's going to land whenever here and there, but he's got to really keep this pressure on. Because, again, he has to almost be flawless from this point on to win this fight.
Korean Zombie's really turning it on. Eats a jab.
Volkanovski's so much faster, though.
Volkanovski switching stances. Working from orthodox. Zombie with some uppercuts through that guard. Knee to the body there from Volkanovski.
Much better round, though, for the Korean Zombie in the third.
Ooh, big right hand there from
right
Volkanovski. Zombie continues to pressure forward, closing in 2 minutes through our third round so far. Zombie pressuring Volkanovski behind the black line. Nice leg kick on the inside there from Volkanovski.
That was
right
a nice
hand.
right hand that froze Zombie.
250 left. Zombie continues to pressure forward. Looking to land that left hook. He eats a left hand for his troubles.
Just such an accurate jab from Volkanovski. Every time you do think Zombie's starting to build some momentum.
Ooh, big dip in the level change from Volkanovski. Is he going to be able to get the takedown there? Looking like he's got it.
Honestly, though, the takedown defense of Korean Zombie looks massively improved.
Pretty darn good. Halfway through this third round, Volkanovski, Korean Zombie. Zombie's looking like he's wearing some of that damage now. Right side of his face swollen up.
He's eating a lot of clean shots.
Volkanovski pressuring, good head position here. Zombie trying to break out of it. Now we're out. Closing in on 2 minutes remaining in our third round. Zombie, Volkanovski. Couple jabs from Zombie, but they're not getting it done.
If the round ended right now, though, you could make a real argument Korean Zombie won the round, and you definitely couldn't say that in the first two.
Couple of great shots there from Volkanovski.
I say that and he walks into like 11 jabs.
Zombie looking to pressure forward. Level change there from Volkanovski. Gets him a knee up the middle.
That was a good knee to the body, too. I think that might have hurt him.
Zombie's whiffing. All he wants is a good steering wheel. Minute 30 remaining here.
Just a real smart fighter to Volkanovski. Every time he thinks Zombie's able to gain a little bit of momentum, he eats 3, 4, 5 jabs for walking forward.
Volkanovski made him guess on the jab, drop, and threw a right hook there. Minute 15 left. Good jab there from Volkanovski. Joe would like some of the Edmund Terverdian. Hey, Matt!
Someone's about to get knocked out, though, if you hear that.
Remember, if before a fighter goes onto the scale and goes, don't pick them to win.
No, we want adult laughs, or adult yells out of our adult fighters, not boy yells out of our adult fighters, okay? And if I ever meet Piotr Jan, I'll tell him that to his face. I'll be like, listen, you start yelling like a grown man.
Zombie with some really good shots there.
And then Piotr Jan beats my ass.
40 seconds left. Ooh, big time left hook there from Volkanovski. Big jab after.
Definitely a much better round, though, for Zombies. Be able to move forward a lot more, and that really has been the story. Whoever's walking forward is having the most success, but the difference is Volkanovski can strike on his back foot to where Korean Zombie really only has success where he's moving forward.
Oh, Volkanovski. Ooh.
Oh! Man, that hurt him bad.
Volkanovski drops him. He's going in for the finish. Herb Dean is watching this intently.
In every round. So in Zombie's best round by
That's
far,
it. That's got to be it, Herb.
He was just trying to get back up, I think.
7 seconds left. Zombie grabbing on legs. That's the end of that round. And Zombie's hurt.
Yeah, if I'm his corner, I stop it.
Yeah, Zombie's hurt. Why? We don't need more of this fight.
That's why I said after the last round.
He doesn't even know what...
Well, okay, let's not get too dramatic, but you're right. Like, this has been a bad fight. He hasn't even won a round. And this might be the boxing mindset, but, like, do you really think Korean Zombie's gonna land some, like, crazy knockout streak on a guy who's only ever been knocked out one time in his whole life at welterweight, up 2 weight classes, and he's a much improved fighter since then?
Ton of damage on the face of the Korean Zombie here. Had a better round in the third, but again, you gotta think it's 30-27 for the champ.
You could either say 30-25.
Pablo, who's disrespecting the champ? Who?
I feel bad for the disrespect for the champ. No, he doesn't like that the champ gets disrespected.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Who's disrespecting the champ?
A lot of people disrespect Volkanovski, though. They say Holloway should be... I don't know why you're making that face. It's a very, very big storyline surrounding Volkanovski.
I don't know these people.
What? You have Twitter just like I do.
Oh, the doctor's going to have a look. Herb Dean's good with it. We'll get set for our fourth round. Championship rounds. Korean Zombie needs a finish. Nearly got finished at the end of the third. We get set for it. We're tapping gloves. Volkanovski's ready to go. Does he pour it right on quick in the fourth?
Probably not. He's probably just going to wait for a big opening from Korean Zombie, because that's the big difference. It's weird because I always bring up this example of, like, people are like, what's the fastest knockout ever? And I never think of Ben Askren or Jorge Masvidal. I always think Martin Kampman, Korean Zombie. Because it's almost like Volkanovski's done the opposite to Zombie. Zombie made Kampman miss big and then countered him right down the middle. That's what Volkanovski's been able to do.
Volkanovski going to land that big-time right hand. Zombie out of range on that one.
He's not making him pay, though, after he does get out of range. You'd like to see some. That was a beautiful move by Volkanovski. Made him think the left hook was coming, but hit him with the kick.
That right hand landed.
Yeah, it's over. I'm happy
That
with
was the weirdest stoppage I've ever seen in my
I'm
life.
so happy it was made,
Herb
though.
Dean grabs the winning fighter, grabs him by the neck,
I'm really happy with that
pulls him
stop.
back. No, that's a good stoppage. Standing TKO victory for Alexander Volkanovski over the Korean Zombie. A giant win. Thank you so much for tuning in. You got the Luke, you got the Muhammad 2 stuff coming out tomorrow. Man, I'm tired. I really want to thank everybody.
Alexander Volkanovski looked incredible, though. Like, I just want to say that. Like, I know I said about Yanni might be the pound-for-pound best, but, like, Volkanovski is slowly becoming, like, one of the all-time greats in front of us, so it's always a pleasure to watch him fight.
Great win for Volkanovski. Great night of fights. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. You can check out that content. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. And as we always say, Fight Night Picks. Let's
get into it.
Oh.